Let's dive into one of the wildest manhole openings ever, where our main character falls from a plane, crashing straight through an office window and completely ruining a secretary's secret plans to seduce her boss. Completely exhausted, he decides to just lie there and rest for a bit. But his peaceful moment is cut short when a little girl asks if he is a starving beggar who needs food. The main character sits up, thanking her for the snack. But he is totally embarrassed because girls in this modern era wear such short, revealing clothes. It is way too much for him. Here is the backstory. Just 1 hour earlier, three thugs stood on a cliffside, telling a poor kid that he should hope for better luck in his next life. Suddenly, a massive explosion shakes the entire continent, releasing an energy so colossal that everyone feels it. Out of the smoke, a legendary cultivator leaps straight into the clouds. After training forever, he is finally free. But looking down, the world looks completely different from what he remembers. A strange voice calls out to him. Descending from the sky, he lands right in front of a high-tech hologram. The hologram explains that building Yi Wu's ultimate foundation took a staggering 2,000 years. In that time, the world's spiritual energy has almost completely vanished. 2,000 years? He only planned to train for 2 days. Absolute panic sets in. Once the projection fades, Yi Wu takes off to witness this futuristic new world with his own eyes. That is when he spots those thugs kicking a helpless kid off a cliff. Seeing him, the thugs do not hesitate. They open fire with weird weapons to silence any potential witnesses. But Yi Wu blocks their bullets effortlessly. Using a microscopic drop of his power, he redirects the attacks. The thugs cannot even react before they are blown back and end up dead. Landing beside the fallen boy, he spots a bizarre glowing device. Curious, he picks it up, only to hear someone screaming frantically through the speaker. There is zero spiritual energy in this thing, yet it transmits voices. Yeah, 2,000 years have definitely passed. Realizing this new era holds unknown dangers, he decides stealing the dead kid's identity is his best move. Watch what happens next. He promises to bury the kid, morphs into his exact look, and realizes this poor guy must have been carrying a mountain of trouble to end up like this. To repay him, he vows to get absolute revenge. Meanwhile, in a local shop, a young lady is utterly miserable because her grandfather is forcing her into an unwanted arranged marriage. Her best friend promises to protect her from this forced wedding. Back in the sky, Yi Wu's casually cruising when he is almost smashed by a giant metal flying monster, an airplane. That brings us back to the crash that ruined the secretary's romantic plans. After falling, he decided to rest, which is when that adorable little girl offered him her snack. Just then, a wealthy-looking woman spots her daughter. The little girl runs over, but one of the mother's elite bodyguards charges in way too fast, aggressively targeting our main character. The thug tries to pin his arm and slam his head into the bench. But with just a tiny burst of mental energy, the main character sends him flying meters away. The little girl happily claps, calling him super strong. Terrified, the mother pulls her back, asking what she is doing with this strange man. Once she hears her daughter's story, she forces the bodyguard to bow and apologize. He quickly bows to Ye Wu, claiming he honestly mistook him for a dangerous kidnapper. The mother politely thanks him, offering a small gift before heading to her car. But sweet little Yin refuses to leave without saying a proper goodbye to her new friend. Holding her tiny hands, Yi Wu detects a bizarre, life-threatening disease hiding inside her. Luckily, curing this is child's play for him. He whispers to her, handing over a powerful pill and telling her it is just a sweet candy to eat when she feels sick. He waves them goodbye. In the car, the driver mentions their appointment with the country's top miracle doctor is set, while noticing the young girl clutching a strange object. You and I know what is coming. Suddenly, a massive wave of pain hits the little girl and she faints. Panic-stricken, the mother screams at the driver to floor it to the doctor. Through the agony, the girl remembers Ye Wu's words and grips the pill tightly. At the clinic of the legendary Dr. Shu, the physician watches quietly from his window. Suddenly, the frantic parents burst through the doors, desperately begging him to save their daughter. Staying calm, the doctor reassures the panicked mother, stating it is his duty to help before beginning his examination. After checking her pulse, Dr. Shu sadly admits there is absolutely nothing he can do, telling the mother to prepare for the worst. She drops to her knees, crying and offering her own life to save Yin. But the doctor sighs, saying he can only help ease her pain. He explains that the only cure is the legendary 9-revolving rejuvenation pill, a mythical 2,000-year-old remedy with a lost recipe. But as he laments his incomplete formula, a fascinating, heavenly scent catches his attention, leading him directly to Yin's pocket. Holding the round pill, Dr. Shu realizes the smell and shape match the lost recipe perfectly, leaving the confused mother wondering where it came from. She suddenly remembers the strange young man who gave it to her daughter as medicine. Hearing this, Dr. Shu is stunned, realizing this is indeed the mythical 9 revolving rejuvenation pill. Overjoyed, the mother gasps, asking if her daughter will live. Throwing his hands up, the doctor dramatically declares his medical crown remains unchallenged. He guarantees that with some rest, she will fully recover. The tearful mother tries to thank him, but the doctor stops her, saying the real savior is that mysterious young man. He begs the mother to introduce them, but she admits she has no idea who he is. It hits her that the young man saw her daughter was sick and silently saved her life. Her husband mentions they first saw him near Haiju University, making the doctor wonder if this godly healer is posing as a student. The mother agrees they must visit the campus to repay him. Dr. Shu warns them that this divine master is hiding his identity for a reason, so they must help protect his secret. She agrees, noting that anyone carrying such a legendary pill is an absolute powerhouse, making it crucial for their wealthy family to build a strong connection with him. Meanwhile, Yi Wu is strolling down a busy street when his ancient phone suddenly rings. Mid-bite, he answers, and a loud voice demands to know why his escort lost track of him. The caller casually invites him out to lunch, and the familiar tone makes Yi Wu freeze as he instantly recognizes the speaker. Tears stream down his face as memories of a kind woman giving him sweets flash by. He promises to arrive on time, but internally wonders why his aunt's voice sounds identical to his master's wife. First, he meets a dead kid with his exact name, and now this. He wonders if this is all some massive coincidence or if fate is pulling the strings. Fortunately, his old master left some secret treasures locked away at Wanbao Lu, where he hopes to finally uncover some real answers. First, he heads to Yunwu Mountain Villa to meet Aunt Jo. Outside, he overhears someone complaining about his sudden visit, while another girl gossips, wondering if he is handsome. We are leaving it here as the girls tease each other about Student Council President Zhang Xiong. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how Ye Wu shocks them when he walks through that door. Alright, let's jump into a story about a hidden god living among mortals, starting with a mysterious voice asking for Aunt Jo. Peering through the peephole, Ye Wu doubts if this massive villa is actually his destination. Inside, 2 girls think the stranger outside is incredibly handsome, but they are terrified about being home alone with a random guy. One girl suggests unleashing their pet beast to chase him off, and though her friend worries he might get hurt, she eventually agrees. As the massive beast charges the gate, they wonder if this will terrify the visitor. The creature roars fiercely, and they remember this champion animal won a major national competition last year. Unbothered, Ye Wu walks right up, casually pats the beast and calls it a mere dog, until a woman calls out his name. Memories of his master's wife instantly flood his mind, making him wonder if it is really her. He calls out to her respectfully, but she laughs it off and insists he call her Aunt Jo, just like the old days. One girl rushes to hug her mother, while Yi Wu observes the striking resemblance. Soon, she complains about how easily their champion pet got scared. Her mother lightly taps her head, firmly scolding her for being disrespectful, reminding her how she used to follow Big Brother Wu everywhere as a kid. The shocked girl asks if this guy is really that same boy. Her mother chuckles, reminding her of her childhood promise to marry him. Aunt Jo then leaves to handle some business, telling her daughter to show the guest around. He tries to act friendly, calling her sister Xiao Ru, but she coldly tells him to keep his distance. Watching her leave, he remembers how her mother always treated him like family. Because of that deep bond, he swears to protect them like his own flesh and blood, even after 2,000 years. But pay attention here, he suddenly freezes. A sinister curse formation wraps around the villa, slowly draining the family's life force with the obvious intent of wiping out their entire bloodline. To him, this pathetic curse is amateur hour. Anyone from 2,000 years ago could break this without breaking a single sweat. The girl asks if he is blown away by the massive view, and he simply nods along. She proudly explains that this massive estate used to be the most abandoned wasteland in Haiju. But 18 years ago, her grandfather hired a mystical master to reshape the land. This turned it into a wealthy paradise. When Yi Wu asks if the master is truly powerful, she admits he is famous, despite her doubts. She mentions this master even saved her dying grandfather recently. To Ye Wu, a guy who altered the land 18 years ago and conveniently returns as a savior sounds incredibly fishy, and he decides to investigate him. Brushing the serious topic aside, she happily invites him to finish their tour of the mansion. As they stroll down the grand hallway, a servant arrives to announce that lunch is ready. He addresses him respectfully, but the young lady quickly snaps, telling the servant to just address him as plain Ye Wu. He just smiles, choosing to stay polite out of respect for Aunt Jo's immense kindness. Meanwhile, after eating, the exhausted young lady immediately collapses onto her bed. Sitting up, she angrily rants to her friend that this country boy is just a fake flatterer with bad intentions, especially now that her mother is letting him live with them. Her friend suggests she just stay at school, avoid her house, and join Professor Wang's research team instead. She loves the idea and plans to call the professor immediately, while also plotting to send all the servants on a month-long vacation to leave our main character completely isolated. Her friend calls it harsh, but she scoffs, saying he can easily carry bricks or scavenge trash to survive. Outside, Yi Wu overhears every word, but casually smiles and reassures Aunt Jo that everything is fine. He hands her a mysterious family heirloom pill, explaining its massive health benefits will be perfect for curing her grandfather's illness. Thanks to Aunt Jo's help, he secures a modern identity, planning to visit the local university after getting some rest. But wait, you and I can both feel the sudden tension as killers lurk nearby. Out in the woods, armed assassins seek revenge for their dead bosses, waiting to ambush Ye Wu. Yet our hero stands calm at the gate, fully aware of their presence. Suddenly, the assassins surround him from all sides. One of them flings a deadly dagger right at him, but Yi Wu effortlessly dodges it in a flash. The thugs rush in, furious and accusing him of murdering their allies. Their ruthless leader sneers, praising his courage but mocking his ultimate death wish before offering our hero two very simple choices to end his life. Choice number 1 is to kneel and end his own life. But before the boss can even finish his sentence, Ye Wu instantly vanishes into thin air, leaving them completely dumbfounded. They panic, telling their boss the target has escaped. Realizing the kid who took down his best fighters is no ordinary target, the leader commands his squad to split up and search, confident that Yi Wu is still hiding close by. Determined to finish the job, the boss pulls out his secret tracking artifact, which can find anyone hiding anywhere in the world. But to his absolute shock, the magic pointer spins and aims directly at his own chest. Before he can react, Yi Wu whispers right in his ear, making him realize too late that his prey is standing behind him. With a swift blow, Ye Wu knocks the boss flat on the ground. After tying the entire gang up, he demands they reveal their identities and explain exactly why they are hunting him down. They whimpered, admitting they got captured before they could even throw a punch. The boss realizes this kid's insane power easily surpasses any ordinary martial artist, making him realize the terrifying truth of his enemy. Knowing there is no escape, the leader decides to take his secrets to the grave. Suddenly, dark blood begins pouring from all their mouths. Yi Wu looks down at the lifeless bodies, deeply puzzled by who could possibly hate him enough to deploy suicide squads ready to swallow poison. Sensing the looming danger, he realizes he must train harder because the mastermind behind this is incredibly powerful. To understand this modern world better, he decides to officially make his way toward Haiju University. Meanwhile, deep inside his secret facility, a shady boss demands an immediate status update on their elite strike team after losing all contact. An analyst nervously reports that the vital signs of all 5 elite members have suddenly dropped to 0. A shadowy figure asks if they are truly dead, as drone footage shows a brief struggle but absolutely no other clues. He slams his fist onto the table in rage, calling them useless fools, before immediately sending out a high-priority target file to an even deadlier squad. This time, the hit contract goes to absolute professionals. Meanwhile, Yi Wu steps off a crowded city bus, marveling at how dangerous modern technology can be, reminding himself to keep a low profile to prevent any unwanted attention in public. Walking down the busy streets, he knows even his martial skills would struggle against modern machinery. Suddenly, a random elderly passerby heavily clutches his chest in agony. He turns around to help, but bystanders quickly warn him to back off, shouting that the old man is just trying to scam him. As the man collapses, you and I are left wondering, can our hero save him in this incredibly cold, modern world? All right, you and I are jumping into a crazy story where a hidden master enters the modern world. Remembering his master's words to fight injustice, Ye Wu feeds a magical pill to a dying stranger. Just like that, the guy jumps right back up, completely cured. Telling the crowd to just be decent people, he walks away. A bystander rushes over to help the healed man, asking if he is okay, while the survivor wonders how he is even alive after such a brutal attack. Deep in his mind, a flash of memory returns. He remembers a mysterious young man giving him a single pill, instantly washing all his sickness away. Determined to repay him, he orders his men to search everywhere for his savior. Meanwhile, birds fly peacefully over the bustling campus of Haiju University. Inside a classroom, Lin Xianxin is cheering because she finally escaped that annoying country bumpkin. Her friend, Jiang Xiaoru, is just glad school started so her mother would stop nagging her. When a classmate mentions a handsome new transfer student, Xiaoru scolds her for being boy crazy. Soon, the teacher demands silence and introduces the new transfer student. The moment he steps through the door, The girls gasp at his insane looks, finding him strangely familiar. Xiaoru and Xiangqian whisper back and forth, wondering if it's really him, before dismissing it as a total coincidence. The teacher then prompts him to introduce himself. Facing the staring class, he introduces himself as Yi Beichen, choosing to finally use his real name. The girls whisper about his cool, short introduction while the teacher looks for an open desk. Hearing his name, Xiaoru sighs in relief, glad that even with the same surname, his actual name sounds way better. One girl waves her hand, offering him the empty seat right next to her. But the teacher suddenly turns and asks Xiaoru for her thoughts on the seating arrangement. She quickly replies that she wants to sit next to him, too. As the teacher hesitates, trying to decide, Yi Baichen calmly walks down the aisle, completely ignoring the girls screaming for him to sit with them. He approaches a completely different girl, asking if the seat is free, and she happily agrees. Seeing this, the jealous classmates whisper that Xiaoru is interested and vow to teach him a lesson after class. Right on cue, a gang of tough guys corners Baichen in the hallway. Their leader asks if he knows who runs things around this campus. He warns Baichen to stay away from Xiaoru, and wanting to avoid annoying drama, Baichen quickly nods in agreement. He promises to stay 1,000,000 miles away, making the thugs think he is just a coward. Now pay attention, because here is where our main character teaches them a lesson. He secretly triggers a fire spell, and boom, the bully's hair is instantly ablaze. Panic screams erupt as they scramble to put out the flames, while Baichen casually walks away. He chuckles, thinking that using even half his power was overkill against ordinary humans who have no real cultivation. He heads to the library to research this modern era. Meanwhile, on campus, a girl complains to Xiaoru that Baichen ignored her invitation just to sit next to someone else. Suddenly, they spot Baichen walking right toward them, making them wonder if he's coming to apologize. Instead, he breezes past, barely giving them a passing glance. Right then, a bird flies over and poops directly onto his shoe. Reacting instantly, he drops to one knee right in front of Xiaoru to wipe his foot. To Xianqian, this looks like an incredibly romantic confession. Flustered by the sudden proposal, Xiaoru screams that she is too young to date and runs away blushing. Baichen stands up, utterly confused, grumbling that he was only trying to clean off gross bird poop. But from the shadows, the gang leader watches, convinced he just witnessed a love confession, and swears he will make Baichen pay with his life. One thug reports that the boy has entered the heavily guarded library, but his partner coldly tells him to relax while sharpening a massive blade. Squatting low, he sharpens the knife, planning to castrate the kid so he never bothers his goddess again. Meanwhile, inside the library, Baichen starts looking up books on cultivation. A group of students watches him, and Xianqian laughs, calling him an idiot for studying a basic kid's reading book. But then, his eyes lock onto a board with ancient inscriptions. I know what you're thinking, why is he reading basic kids' books? But watch, as he walks right into the forbidden ancient documents room, leaving everyone laughing. All the whispering ends up waking an old man who was napping against a bookshelf. He grumbles, demanding to know who is causing such a racket. A library guard quickly appears beside Professor Wang, telling everyone to be quiet. He asks if the professor needs help finding a book, but the old man explains he is here to collect ancient materials for his research. Approaching the door, Professor Wang notices it's open, prompting the guard to apologize for leaving his post completely unguarded. Losing no time, the guard storms inside, promising to arrest the intruder. He finds Baichen flipping through a book on combat and yells that unauthorized entry is strictly forbidden. The guard grabs his shoulder, ordering him to get out. Baichen calmly asks why he isn't allowed to read, but the guard scoffs, laughing that even the university professor cannot understand these ancient texts. Just then, Professor Wang walks up and gently asks the young man to put the priceless book back. The guard steps up to throw him out, but stops when the professor recognizes the boy's face. Staring closely, Professor Wang realizes this is his actual lifesaver. The guard still wants to punish him, but the professor angrily demands he apologize to their guest. The guard freezes, realizing he just offended an important person while trying to kiss up to his boss. Outside, a crowd gathers, complaining about how unfair it is that this new kid gets special treatment. Professor Wang just shrugs it off as childish jealousy. He sees this as the perfect chance to test if his savior truly understands the ancient scriptures. Turning to Baichen, he asks him to translate. Without hesitating, the young man begins reading aloud, describing advanced martial arts moves. The professor listens, his face frozen in absolute shock. As Baichen recites, the professor realizes every word matches his family's secret art, filling in the missing pieces perfectly. The guard collapses to the floor in sheer disbelief, while the watching crowd realizes the kid's translation is correct. Baichen stops and asks if the old man is okay, quickly catching Professor Wang as he nearly faints from pure excitement. Suddenly, the professor remembers him as the miraculous healer who gave him that life-saving pill. Baichen's sweat drops, thinking the old man is just faking a faint to beg for more free medicine. Making a quick excuse, he rushes out of the library, leaving the confused professor to wonder why his legendary savior always vanishes like the wind. Curious, the professor orders the guard to check what book the genius was reading. The guard returns, holding up a children's textbook on basic spelling. Professor Wang is stunned, believing there must be a profound hidden cosmic secret within that simple book, and vows to study it. Outside, the thugs spot Baichen leaving and tail him, unaware that he already knows they're there. He notices two separate groups tracking his every move. Smiling, he decides to play along and lead them on a chase. Hours later, he stops at the gates of Yumu village, turning to ask his stalkers if they need a break. Shocked that they were caught, three thugs jump out. The guy with the knife steps forward, shouting that it is time to ruin his life forever. But out of nowhere, an ally crashes in. A brutal kick sends the thug flying. And that's where we leave it. Get ready for what comes next. Let's dive into this wild scene where some random goons surround our main character, Yi Bacon, demanding he return their item. He just acts completely clueless, making them even angrier. Without waiting, one guy lunges to attack. In that split second, Yi Baichen floats right up and jokes that they've conveniently shown up just in time for some target practice. Someone screams to go after the escaping kid, but suddenly, they all freeze. Trapped by heavy chains, they realize they fell for a trap and start begging to be released. He explains that some mastermind in the village set up a sinister formation. To break it, he smartly redirects the trap's own energy to blast the whole array to pieces. Since they volunteered, he decides to put them to good use. He gathers all that stolen power and fires it directly at the core, triggering a massive, earth-shaking explosion across the entire area. Miles away, an old man coughs up blood, shocked that his array was shattered. Sitting in the smoking ruins, he desperately calls out for his top disciple. A young man named Alan steps forward, and his furious master orders him to go to Haiju immediately to investigate. Watching from afar, another man realizes the boy wiped out his entire squad and decides to request an elite hit team. Under the moonlight, a cold voice vows that no matter who this kid is or how strong he gets, anyone who gets in their way is going to die. Far away, Yi Baiken is strolling down a crowded street, wondering why he suddenly keeps sneezing. Just then, a young guy sprinting down the road can't stop in time and slams hard right into his back. The guy gets up and stares at Yi Baichen in total silence for a second. Then, without a word, he sprints off at lightning speed, passing him by. Watch this. Yi Baichen turns around, shouting that his wallet is gone. Meanwhile, the thief, Zhang Zuwen, sits in an alley throwing the empty wallet down, complaining that he totally wasted his time. Later, inside the male dorms at Haijiu University, Yi Baichen walks calmly down the hall. He stops right outside room 601, and a voice from inside asks who it is. Zhang Zuwen opens the door and freezes. Yi Baichen looks at him, feeling like he's seen this face before, and quickly recognizes him as the wallet thief. Meanwhile, Zhang Zuwen is sweating, wondering how this is even possible. Still, Yi Bacon decides to play dumb since they're roomies now. Wearing a friendly smile, he introduces himself as Yi Bacon, the new freshman who just moved into the dorm. Relieved and feeling guilty, Zhang Zuwen introduces himself and treats him like royalty, inviting him inside. Looking around, Yi Baiken notes it looks like a typical 21st century college dorm room. To celebrate roommates, Zhang Zuwen offers to grab some late-night food. Out in the courtyard, he admits it's nothing fancy, just a simple meal from a local spot. A young woman brings over their food, and Yi Baiken instantly recognizes her as Wu Ting. She's surprised too, asking what on earth he's doing here so late. She explains she works a part-time shift here. Suddenly, a customer at another table slams his fist, yelling about his late grilled fish. Wu Ting quickly apologizes, but the guy aggressively demands she pay for his wasted time. Insisting that an apology isn't enough, he keeps intimidating her, leaving her completely helpless and terrified. He sleazily suggests she pay him back in a hotel room, making her beg him to stop. The man stands up, looking offended, and asks if she's looking down on him. He grabs her arm, demanding to know if she has any idea who he is, and tries dragging her next door. But suddenly, Ye Baiken catches his wrist. The thug snaps, asking who dares to interfere, while his buddy steps up to threaten him. Zhang Zuwen frantically suggests calling the cops, but Yi Baiken refuses to watch this happen and coldly tells the thugs to back off. The angry customer commands his lackeys to attack. One thug charges forward, screaming for him to die, while another swings a heavy glass bottle straight at his head. I know what you're thinking, he's overpowered. And yes, he absolutely wrecks them with one hit. Zhang Zuan is left staring in shock, while Wu Ting wonders if her classmate is secretly a master martial artist. The leader can't believe his eyes. Yi Baiken casually holds one of the goons in place and quietly tells them that he's not someone they can scare. The guy still tries to threaten him with handcuffs, but Yi Baiken simply dangles the key in his face. Defeated, the bully drops to his knees and begs for forgiveness. Wu Ting thanks him, but he replies that classmates should look out for each other. Since it's late, he asks when she's heading home, and she asks him to walk her. He takes her hand as they walk together. Along the way, he asks why she works such late hours, and she reveals her mother is sick. Suddenly, Ye Baiken stops and gazes up at the sky. She asks what's wrong, but he brushes it off as being distracted. Once they reach her door, they say goodbye. But as she goes inside, he notices strange energy coming from her building. He instantly recognizes the aura as pure spiritual energy. This insane concentration of power means this place is highly unusual, and he definitely needs to investigate it further. Right then, a perfect plan hits him. The next day, Zhu Shang and his gang corner their target in a public restroom, declaring they're about to get sweet revenge. Sneaking up, they throw a giant sack over him and start throwing punches. Loud, painful screams echo out of the bathroom, catching the attention of everyone outside. Inside, the thugs are on their knees begging, while Yi Baichen calmly asks if they thought it'd be that easy. Terrified, Zhu Shang asks what it takes to buy their freedom. Yi Baichen grabs him by the collar, demanding a high price. Zhu Shang tries to bargain with $100 but gets slapped across the face. Asking if he's treating him like a beggar, the bully frantically raises it to 1,000. Another punch flies, leaving Zhu Shang wondering if his life is really worth so little to this guy. Sobbing in pain, he begs him to stop, asking if 1,000 isn't enough. But when Yi Baichen demands 10,000 instead, the guy is left completely speechless at the massive price. Counting his cash as he walks out, Yi Baichen notes that 100,000 is perfect for renting a house, while the bruised gang bows and bids him a respectful farewell. One of the thugs asks if they're really going to accept this humiliation, but Zhu Shang snaps that they should keep quiet. He says they need to treat their wounds first before figuring out how to deal with that monster. Back in the classroom, the teacher starts a new lecture. Yi Baichen leans over and asks Wu Ting if her family is renting out a room, mentioning he saw the sign on their front door. He offers to move in, completely throwing her off guard with a sudden request. He gets straight to the point, confirming he wants to rent it and already has the cash ready. Annoyed by the talking, the teacher yells at him and flings a piece of chalk right at his face. He easily catches it and tells her she should take some medicine, since her health looks terrible. Livid, the teacher demands to know exactly what he just said to her. Trying to calm things down, Yi Baichen tries to explain, but she kicks him out anyway. He decides to study in the library, reminding Wu Ting to keep the room ready for him before he walks out. Once he's gone, the teacher resumes the class, but suddenly her phone rings. It's Professor Wang calling her with an urgent request. He wants Yi Baichen for his elite project, so the teacher immediately turns to the class and asks who he is. And that's where we leave it. Things are about to get wild for him. All right, you and I are about to dive into the story of a hidden master. It starts with a panicked teacher who just expelled a beast, while our main character calmly reads in the library. She finally tracks him down, and he casually asks why she is not teaching. Walking on eggshells, she swallows her pride and deeply apologizes for her earlier attitude. Turns out, Professor Wang personally invited him to the elite team, forcing her to admit she completely misjudged him. Playing dumb, Yi Baichen acts like he could not care less. Undeterred, she tells him the project is at the History Museum and begs him to go check it out. But his only reply, he needs to finish his book first, leaving her totally embarrassed. Meanwhile, in the school clinic, Zhu Shang is recovering, while his lackeys crowd around asking for their next move. Plotting revenge, he decides to call the local underworld boss to teach our boy a lesson. Right then, one of his goons spots Yi Baichen walking right past the window. Phone in hand, Zhu Shang swears he will destroy him this time. He calls a heavy hitter named Chong, begging him to deal with a major problem. Eating at a restaurant, Chong demands the target's name, and Zhu Shang happily coughs it up. Moments later, the biker boss revs his scooter, telling his boys it is go time. He tears off so fast he literally knocks his own men into the street. Meanwhile, outside a massive building, Yi Baichen is searching for the museum when someone screams his name. Zhu Shang immediately accuses him of stealing his money. Totally unfazed, Yi Baichen turns around and asks if he wants another beatdown. Zhu Shang sneers, bragging that he called the legendary Chong to handle this. Now, pay attention here, because Chong's biker gang rolls up, and the boss immediately demands to know where the target is. Zhu Shang eagerly points right at Yi Baiken. But the second Chang sees his face, he freezes in absolute terror, wondering why on earth this monster is here. Flashing back to when Yi Baichen almost killed him, Chang realizes Zhu Shang is trying to get him murdered. Yi Baichen chuckles at the new reinforcement, while Zhu Shang screams for the attack. Instead, Chang turns and slaps Zhu Shang right across the face. Confused and bleeding, Zhu Shang can only watch as Chang bows to Yi Baichen, begging for mercy and ordering his goon to kneel. Watching this insane display, Zhu Shang is utterly horrified, realizing Yi Baichen is some kind of god-tier hidden boss. Stepping forward, Yi Baichen suggests that since Chang is too scared to fight, Zhu Shang should step up. Terrified, Zhu Shang immediately drops to his knees, begging for mercy. Yi Baichen asks why he came back after being spared once, while Zhu Shang keeps begging. Then, Yi Baichen demands to know how much he is paying for this mental distress. Zhu Shang freezes, completely shocked by the sudden extortion. Getting impatient, Yi Baichen warns him that things are about to get ugly, forcing Zhu Shang to offer another 10,000. Zhu Shang desperately hands over his credit card as collateral. Grabbing the card, Yi Baichen bids them goodbye, cheerfully inviting them to come back soon while Zhu Shang cries over his empty pockets. Spying from the shadows, a mysterious man mutters that the kid has some cheap tricks, but is nothing special. Strolling down the street, Yi Baichen suddenly freezes. He senses that his trap in Mist Mountain Village was shattered, meaning his master's wife is in grave danger. You and I both know he is fast, but watch this, he bolts across the rooftops while a spy reports his departure. Approaching the village, Yi Baichen notices a strange energy that has already faded. Curiously, he spots several intruders inside the mansion. Instead of panicking, he smiles, finding this whole messy situation incredibly entertaining. Alan spots him, pointing and ordering his squad to surround him. Instantly, the thugs box Yi Baichen in, weapons drawn, smirking. Alan mocks his courage and promises he will die for disrespecting his master. Grabbing him, Alan demands to know who broke their spiritual array, but Yi Baichen just plays dumb. Losing his temper, Alan calls him a fool and strikes, only for his heavy blow to get effortlessly blocked. Easily wiping out several fighters, Yi Baichen warns the rest to step aside if they want to live. Leaping past them, he laughs at how pathetic their strength is. Alan screams at his hesitant goons to stop staring and capture the kid. Listening to their leader, the remaining guys charge forward in an organized formation. Gliding above the trees, Yi Baichen chuckles at how another brainless gang is waiting for him. Nearby, a secret faction prepares to strike, desperate to reclaim their two sacred books. Seeing the target close in, the commander tells his squad to wait for the signal. The second Yi Baichen lands, he smiles and dares them all to fight. He loudly tells the cowards lurking in the shadows to show themselves. Watching from afar, Alan is shocked, thinking these newcomers are actually his allies. Annoyed, the rival leader curses the extra baggage but decides not to care, ordering his assassins to slaughter absolutely everyone in sight. Suddenly, a ninja drops dead, vanishing in smoke. Alan charges recklessly into the fray, while the rival boss screams at him to get lost. An incoming weapon blocks Alan's heavy axe, sparking a massive, chaotic forest brawl between the two rival factions. Chilling on a branch, Yi Baichen eats an apple and tells them to entertain him. The master spy monitors the chaos through his magical artifact, while Alan realizes his opponent is surprisingly powerful. Dropping down among the bloody bodies, Yi Baichen asks if they are finished or need his help. Alan spins around in shock, while the beaten rival leader growls that he finally showed up. He demands to know what Yi is playing at, swearing he will kill him. Suddenly, Alan's eyes widen as he realizes they have all been played like fools. Yi Baichen scoffs, asking who called him a brainless brawler, saying he was actually being quite generous. Suddenly, Chang yells out that he finally understands the scheme. Yi Baichen simply calls him a moron. Furious, Chang lunges for the kill, but Yi easily stops him, mocking his weak, pathetic skills. With a lightning-fast throw, he slams Chang headfirst into the dirt. Watching from afar, Alan is stunned by his incredible footwork. Struggling to his feet, Chang admits the kid has some real skill to take out his army. Bored, Yi Baichen yawns and tells them to all attack at once so they do not waste his time. Furious, Alan grips his weapon and warns him to watch his arrogance. He smashes the ground, roaring that he can easily tear the kid apart alone. Dodging easily, Yi Baichen admits it was a decent attempt but useless against him. With a casual flick of his finger, he hits Alan's head, instantly shattering his skull. Chang stares in pure horror, unable to comprehend this power. Standing over the body, Yi Baichen calmly points and says he is next. Chang calls him a freak and tries to flee, but Yi Baichen blocks him, mocking his escape. Trust me, you and I both know there is no running from him. Get ready, because you and I are about to watch a total beast of a main character. Yi Baichen easily crushes his foe, tells him to train harder in his next life, and leaps away toward Haiju University. In a campus room, Chu wonders what kind of guy the new recruit for the Zumbu project team will be. Right on cue, Jiang Xiaoru walks in, greeting her with a bright good morning. Chu tells the group they have a new teammate and asks for introductions. But Jiang Xiaoru looks around and asks where this guy actually is. Chu calmly says he is probably on his way. Suddenly, a guy appears at the door, asking if this is the Qin project team. Instantly recognizing him, Jiang Xiaoru shouts out, Yi Baichen. Chu stands up, confirming this is indeed the place. She realizes he is the new recruit, and the handsome youth introduces himself as Yi Baichen. Flattered by his looks, Chu happily welcomes him, saying it is awesome to have him on board. But watching this go down, a guy in a purple suit notices Chu is totally into the newcomer. Getting instantly jealous, he decides it is time to teach this rookie a harsh lesson. When Yi Baichen asks for Professor Wang, Chu explains he is busy in a meeting today. Meanwhile, someone sneaky reaches out and quietly swipes an object right out of our main character's pocket. The purple-suited troublemaker smirks, eagerly waiting for the drama to unfold. Just a moment later, Yi Baichen pats himself down, realizing that something is missing from his pocket. Right then, the guy in purple calls for security, yelling that there is a thief in the room. Two guards rush in, and without missing a beat, the jealous antagonist points directly at Yi Baichen. Yi Baichen turns to Chu, instantly realizing this is a setup to frame him. A confused Chu asks what could have been stolen, but our main character firmly denies taking a single thing. The loudmouth in purple keeps pushing, claiming he saw Yi Baichen swipe the Suho pearl with his own eyes, insisting the treasure must be hidden on him right now. Yi Baichen confidently tells the guards to go ahead and search him. The officer steps up and thoroughly pats our hero down, but when he finishes, he turns around and announces there is nothing there. Shocked, the schemer yells that it is absolutely impossible. But then, Yi Baichen calmly reveals the Suho pearl has indeed been found, warning that someone is going to pay heavily for framing him. Watch closely, because our main character is about to turn this trap right back on him. Yi Baichen challenges the furious villain to be searched instead, and after hesitating, the guy agrees, acting like he has nothing to fear. The security guard orders him to hold out his hands. As the search begins, the schemer is sweating bullets, completely confused because he personally slipped the pearl onto Yi Baichen's clothes. A second later, the guard pulls the pearl right out of the instigator's own pocket, announcing the discovery. Staring at the glowing gem, the corrupt villain gasps that this cannot be happening. Absolutely furious, Chu calls him out for being the real thief and trying to frame an innocent colleague. She deeply regrets ever trusting him, completely ignoring his desperate, stuttering excuses. He frantically blurts out that he had thrown the gem onto Yi Baichen's clothes, confused about how it got back. Our hero just smiles, asking if he really thought he could outsmart him with such a low IQ. We get a quick flashback showing how Yi Baichen masterfully reverse-pocketed the pearl, slipping it right back into the villain's own jacket without him feeling a single thing. With the truth exposed, Chu declares that framing a teammate is a serious offense. Making it clear they have zero tolerance for snakes, she fires him on the spot. The disgraced schemer begs Chu for mercy as the guards drag him out, but the officers tell him to shut up. Watching the trash get thrown out, Yi Baichen notes he simply reaped what he sowed. Chu apologizes for the crazy first-day drama, but he brushes it off since the truth came out. To make it up to him, she suggests a welcome dinner. You and I both know he is not turning down free food, so he happily accepts. Soon, the team is clinking their beer mugs in a loud toast. Feasting on delicious barbecue, Yi takes a long, cold sip, commenting on how incredibly refreshing the drink is. Curious, Chu asks why he picked a humble barbecue joint when there are fancy restaurants around. Yi casually replies that he wanted to support the business of a close acquaintance. Right on cue, Wu Ting serves up the hot dishes, and Yi asks when she's going to show in her apartment. He boldly suggests going tonight rather than waiting, and she shyly agrees. Jiang Xiaoru senses a spark of chemistry, wondering what is really going on between them. Yi then bids farewell to the group to go handle some business, and she smiles, saying they completely understand. He takes Wu Ting by the hand, declaring they are heading straight to her place. Watching them walk off, Jiang Xiaoru teases that those two definitely have a spark and look beautiful together. At the apartment, Yi admires the gorgeous view, while Wu Ting explains the rent is super cheap, costing only 500 yuan a month. Immediately, he hands her a card loaded with 10,000 yuan, promising the rest when he moves in. Wu Ting is left completely stunned by his extreme generosity. Seeing her shock, Ye explains he intends to rent for a very long time and this money is basically pocket change to him. Wu Ting agrees to settle any differences later, tells him to rest early, and waves goodbye as she departs. Left alone in the room, he immediately senses that the surrounding spiritual energy here is incredibly thick and flowing naturally inside. He sits down to cultivate, but his focus is instantly shattered by a bizarre noise outside. His expression hardens as he leaps up and rushes to the window to see what is causing the disturbance. Looking down, Yi wonders why the Lion King is out there. Suddenly, a massive, white-furred monster materializes right in the middle of the street, letting out an absolutely terrifying, earth-shaking roar. The massive beast charges at the lion, looking exactly like a legendary spirit beast. Observing the battle closely, Yi realizes this explains why the spiritual energy in this neighborhood is so insanely concentrated. Leaping down, he punches the ground, cracking the concrete with raw force. Keeping his eyes locked onto the giant beast, he gathers his inner power, priming his hands to unleash a devastating strike. Giving the monster absolutely zero time to react, he charges straight ahead. He unleashes a massive, high-flying kick, shattering the ground beneath them in a burst of dust. The giant white beast slowly fades into thin air, leaving Yi standing alone on the dark street. But as the fog clears, a tiny, adorable white wolf pup appears, staring right back at him. Not letting his guard down, Yi gears up to strike the tiny beast. He delivers a quick, forceful punch, immediately absorbing the pure, lingering spiritual energy vibrating in the air. Suddenly, massive spiritual wings sprout from his back, lifting him high into the night sky. Descending back down, the Lion King barks at his feet, making Yi tease him about eating his prey. Instead of answering, the dog rushes over to a trash pile, barking wildly. Confused by this behavior, Yi walks over to inspect the pile and discovers a glowing, hidden spiritual vein beneath the debris. Stunned, Yi realizes finding a spiritual vein here is a massive jackpot. It perfectly explains all the monsters and dense energy, making this the absolute ultimate spot for his secret cultivation. Eager to test his limits, he decides to activate the legendary Thousand-Mile Eye technique. The moment he concentrates, a mystical ancient book materializes directly in front of him. As his eye glows with power, the technique works flawlessly thanks to the rich energy. His vision pierces right through a door, catching Wu Ting in the bathroom, who suddenly senses she is being watched. The next morning, the loud wailing of an ambulance wakes Yi up early. Looking outside, he sees a panicked Wu Ting pleading with her unconscious mother to wake up, desperately trying to stay calm. The nurse coldly says the ambulance is full and suggests a taxi, leaving you and me begging to know what happens next. All right, you and I are diving into a wild story that starts with Wu Ting standing alone as the ambulance speeds off. Our main character, Yi, approaches her, only to hear that her mother was just rushed to the hospital. Desperate, Wu Ting begs him for a ride to the clinic. Inside the operating room, her mother lies surrounded by staff as a doctor delivers the devastating news there is absolutely nothing more they can do to save her. Another surgeon scoffs, claiming not even a legendary divine doctor could cure such a rare disease. But Ye suddenly steps up, telling them all to wait. Wu Ting runs straight to her bedside, crying out in panic. She begs the staff to try harder, sobbing that her mother is the only family she has left in this world. But they just tell her it is hopeless. Seeing her despair, Yi steps in, analyzes the patient, and realizes it is actually a rare clash of energies and yes, he can cure it. A doctor doubts him instantly, but Yi casually says he is just stating facts. When the chief surgeon demands to know where he studied to act, this arrogant, Yi simply replies that he is self-taught, leaving them speechless. The junior doctor orders him to get out, but Yi challenges them to let him try, pointing out that human life is on the line. The senior doctor cuts in, admitting that instead of believing him, he actually wants Yi to just pack up and walk away. But he offers a deal. Yi must get family consent and take full responsibility if things go south. Yi agrees instantly, ready for the gamble, while the junior doctor laughs off the idea of a miracle cure. Turning to Wu Ting, the doctor asks if she consents, and Yi asks her to trust him. Now, watch closely with a shaking voice, she agrees, knowing this crazy gamble is her mother's absolute last hope. With her approval, Yi tells the medical team to stand back. He unrolls his scroll, revealing a set of shining acupuncture needles. Without hesitating, he drives a needle deep into her meridian point to balance her energy. Suddenly, her mother coughs up thick, black blood. The panicked doctor screams that Ye has gone too far and literally killed her. But Yi just calmly asks, who said she died? The doctor tells him to stop lying and look at the monitor, but right then, Wu Ting gasps as her mother opens her eyes, leaving the staff utterly bewildered. She eagerly asks how she feels, and her mother whispers that she feels incredibly light and relieved, despite a lingering cough. Yi reassures them that the treatment is complete and she will be fully recovered in 30 minutes. The stunned doctor demands to know his true identity, but Yi casually replies he is just a normal student. The junior doctor bows, deeply apologizing for doubting his incredible medical skills. Yi tells him to skip the apology and just pay closer attention to his patients next time, which the doctor quickly promises to do. Looking over, the mother asks who this young savior is. Wu Ting proudly introduces her classmate, Yi Bai Chen, explaining that he just saved her life. Later, Wu Ting tells him she has no idea how to repay such a massive debt, and Ye says it is simple, just take him to her house. Confused, she asks why, but he only offers a mysterious smile. Cut to her kitchen, where Ye is devouring an absolute mountain of food, leaving empty plates everywhere. Patting his stomach, he announces he is finally full, while Wu Ting stares in shock at the towering stack of dishes. She asks if his idea of payment was just getting a massive home-cooked meal. Standing up, he playfully asks, was it not? With his appetite satisfied, he heads off to his room to get some sleep. Wu Ting watches him go, thinking this whole legendary favor was a bit too easy. Alone at the table, she whispers a soft good night. I know what you were thinking, and yes, she is totally falling for him, wishing she could marry someone exactly like this savior. While meditating, Yi realizes that cultivating in this room is twice as fast, meaning he can rapidly build his strength. But a sudden bark breaks his focus. The dog, Rai Leon, grabs his sleeve, making Yi wonder if the pup is warning him about a threat to Aunt Zhou inside the mansion. Realizing some trash actually dared to plot against his master's wife, a cold rage washes over him, and he vows they will pay with their lives. Without hesitation, Yi leaps right off the balcony with his loyal dog leaping alongside him, shifting our focus to a dark demolition site. At the ruins, a man tells a lady that Master Ye's timely warning allowed them to evacuate, saving the family from a massive disaster. But this other Master Ye sighs that their protective Yin Feng formation is ruined, declaring they must rebuild it immediately if they want to keep the old master alive. The woman insists she will give him anything he desires. Master Yi smoothly replies that he needs no gold, just a single drop of her heart's blood, easily drawn without any painful surgery. Desperate to save her father, she agrees to the sketchy procedure. With a sinister grin, he invites her inside to harvest her heart's blood. Hiding nearby, two shady cultivators watch the whole thing. One laughs at how easily she was fooled, while the other tells him to rebuild the array quickly. The younger cultivator tells his brother not to worry, boasting that he has mastered the Yin Feng formation and can erect it in seconds. He hurls a glowing talisman into the sky, which instantly multiplies to form a massive, glowing array right over the garden. The array ignites across the grass, and a massive vortex of dark energy swirls into the clouds. The young brother looks up, confused by such intense celestial storms hitting the area. Watching from the shadows, Yi mutters that he has finally arrived. The younger brother suddenly points up, screaming that someone is flying on a sword, but the older brother rubs his eyes, realizing it is actually a dog soaring through the air. Getting closer, Yi spots them, setting up the wicked Yin Feng formation, finally realizing why his pup was so restless. One brother laughs that they found a rare spirit beast to play with, but the other warns they cannot let anyone disrupt the array. Unleashing a volley of sharp, dark thorns, he screams for him to die. Black thorns erupt from the dirt, shooting straight toward Yi and his floating dog. Smiling, Yi raises his blade, slashing a massive wave of pure sword energy right back at the cultists. His strike easily shreds their attack to pieces. Sensing the overwhelming danger, the older brother screams to dodge, but the explosive impact sends both of them flying backward into the dirt. Yi Bai Chen touches down, calling them out for using the forbidden Yin Feng array, asking if they have a death wish. The older brother spits blood, realizing they were fooled by a human, while the younger one complains that Ye's dramatic entrance almost scared him to death. Enraged, the older brother commands a strike to kill Ye, mocking him as weak trash who only knows how to do cheap tricks. But Yi calmly asks who else is backing them, pointing out their own cultivation levels are way too low to build this array alone. Silently, the older brother unsheathes his weapon, telling his partner to activate the deadly Tong Yin Matrix to crush Yi Baiken, to which the younger brother readily agrees. The leader chants the celestial heart demon spell to shatter his opponent's mind, while his brother waves a dark banner to lock the deadly trap in place. The glowing matrix forms beneath Ye's feet, trapping him right in the middle. The older brother screams a prayer, summoning a demon god to help them slaughter their foe. Instantly, his flesh warps into a grotesque demonic form. Yi watches this transformation with amusement, noting how rare it is to find demon worshippers in the modern era. But before he even finishes talking, the demon gets blasted, its body starting to crumble. Desperate, the monster lunges forward one last time, screaming for Yi's death. With a simple breath, Yi blows a gust of wind that strikes the beast directly. The cultivator screams in absolute shock as his body turns to ash. Yi stands over the remaining cultivator, asking why he wasted his power on evil. Pinning him by the throat, he whispers that this was his choice, and trust me, you and I know karma is a beast. All right, you and I are jumping right into the action where Yi Baiken decides to do what is right. He violently tosses the younger brother aside, leaving him crashing hard while the elder sibling screams in absolute panic. Clinging to life, the younger brother gasps out a warning about this terrifyingly fast opponent. Terrified, the older brother spins around to run, but cannot resist taking one final, fearful glance back. He swears he will find their master and get bloody revenge. But in a flash, Yi Baichen materializes right in front of him, coldly questioning this master's existence while using shadow steps to completely seal his escape. Yi Baichen grabs him by the throat, demanding to know where this master hides, and if he was the mastermind behind the sinister Yin Feng formation. Terrified out of his mind, the elder brother begs the immortal for mercy, promising to spill everything. He instantly confesses that their master is hiding right inside the mansion and ordered them to deploy the array. When Yi Baichen demands to know who this mysterious master is, the man explains he was once a proud grandmaster of Longhu Mountain, expelled after breaking sacred taboos and falling into demonic corruption. After his exile, the master started his own rogue sect and gathered followers. He reveals that years ago, the master sensed a legendary treasure buried under the mansion that normally takes 100 years to rise. To speed things up, he hatched a dark scheme, secretly deploying the Yin Feng formation to harvest the residents' vital energy, forcing the treasure to mature at an unnatural pace. Groveling in the dirt, the elder brother begs again to be spared, crying that he has shared every single detail. But Yi Baichen just looks down, coldly asking if such trash even deserves to draw breath. Proclaiming that wicked cultivators only deserve death, he obliterates the man's soul on the spot. But there is no time to rest. Yi Baichen realizes his master's wife is in grave danger and rushes to find her. But showing his face directly would blow his cover and reveal his true cultivation level, so he needs a disguise. Meanwhile, Aunt Jo tells Master Yi she is prepared for the heart-blood ritual. Master Ye promises to start immediately. But when she grows suspicious of his gleaming dagger, he coldly claims it is just a tool for the extraction. Now, pay attention here, because she suddenly realizes he is lying, recalling his promise that no cutting would be needed. But Master Yi lunges with the blade, shouting that her realization has come far too late. Terrified, she shrinks into her chair, screaming for help. Just before the dagger strikes, Ye Baichen teleports in, catches Master Ye's wrist with an iron grip, and violently hurls the old villain straight into the wall. Shielding Aunt Jo, he stands tall and calls Master Ye a spineless old monster for daring to harm an innocent woman in broad daylight. Grinning under his breath, he is glad his ridiculous costume keeps his master's wife from recognizing him. Dragging himself up, Master Yi snarls, demanding to know what arrogant punk dares to interfere with his business. Without warning, he hurls a dark talisman at Yi Baichen, screaming that the boy has signed his own death warrant. Instantly, the paper erupts, unleashing a vicious spirit that lunges forward. Standing his ground, Yi Baichen mocks the wicked cultivator for defying the heavens. With one casual punch, he shatters the spirit into dust, then slams his fist down, declaring that this old fool's judgment day has finally arrived. Master Ye is completely dumbfounded that the dark spirit he spent 10 long years nurturing was wiped out in a single second. Stepping closer, Yi Baichen coldly asks what he is staring at. Scrambling, Master Ye conjures a defensive barrier, boasting that he will not be intimidated. But a single punch shatters the shield like glass, forcing the old man to realize this kid possesses some seriously terrifying power. Backed into a corner, Master Yi drops to his knees and summons a horde of malevolent spirits. Unleashing his ultimate trump card, he dares the young cultivator to try and survive this onslaught. Now, you and I both know he is totally overpowered. Yi Baichen summons the protection of thousands of gods, sending massive golden chains, whipping through the air to bind the shrieking spirits. Stunned by this godlike display of power, Master Yi gasps, demanding to know his true identity. Walking forward with a glowing chain, Yi Baichen simply laughs and yells that he is his father. Utterly frustrated, the old villain curses his luck on this terrible day. Without a second thought, he leaps straight out the window, screaming that he surrenders. Smirking, Yi Baichen challenges him to run as fast as his old legs can carry him. Panting heavily, Master Yi flees through the dense forest, celebrating his narrow escape from that monster. But his relief is cut short when an absolutely massive dog looms right behind him. With a lightning-fast pounce, the beast slams the old man down and pins him to the dirt. Yi Baichen casually strolls over, telling the Lion King that this fool called him a dead dog, whispering for him to finish the job. Baring its fangs, the Lion King lunges down at Master Ye. With the threat neutralized, Yi Baichen gently pats his loyal beast, praising its cleverness and officially inviting the dog to join him on his journey. Just then, he senses his master's wife approaching with backup. Near Master Ye's broken body, a commanding voice barks orders for everyone to clear out, telling the suited men to hunt down the old Taoist immediately. Aunt Jo rushes over, finding Master Ye lifeless on the ground. Realizing a legendary cultivator must have saved her, she murmurs that she will reward this mysterious hero generously if they ever cross paths again. Deep in the quiet wilderness, Yi Bacon tells the Lion King that his spiritual reserves are running low and that it is time to recharge. He sits down to cultivate, promising the beast some spiritual energy if it keeps watch. But before he can begin, a heavy hand grips his shoulder, warning him that he is trespassing in the wrong place. Looking back, Yi Bacon calmly asks who they are and why he should care. The burly man snaps back, explaining that they are the personal bodyguards of the powerful Mr. Huo. He adds that no one is allowed to disturb their master while he practices his legendary martial arts. Yi Baigen, scoffing, calls it nothing but flashy, useless footwork, deeply offending the guards who accuse him of heresy. The other guard snaps, snarling that the kid has a death wish. But before fists fly, the elderly master himself steps forward, commanding both of his men to stand down immediately. The bodyguard tries to stammer an excuse, but the old master silences him, saying he heard everything. Turning his sharp gaze towards Yi Baiken, the elder asks what exactly was wrong with his ancestral technique. Yi Baiken casually explains that the movements lack flow and hold zero real power. Insulted, the old master barks that this style was passed down by his ancestors, vowing no mercy unless the boy can prove it. Unfazed, Yi Bacon offers a deal he will perfect their family style if they let him use this prime training spot undisturbed for his own cultivation. Calling him a cocky brat, the old master accepts, promising to bow and recognize him as a true grandmaster if he actually succeeds. Without missing a beat, Ye Baichen accepts the challenge. He warns them to watch closely because he is only going to show them this once. Taking a deep breath, he slides into his starting stance. The old master's jaw drops as he witnesses his own family technique unleashed with 10 times more explosive power than he could ever muster. Sweating bullets, the bodyguards whisper how incredibly lucky they are that they did not try to fight him. Stepping forward, the humble master admits he finally sees the true path, bowing deeply to his new teacher. He offers his sincere thanks for the guidance and begs forgiveness for his earlier doubts. When a bodyguard asks if they are seriously handing over their sacred training grounds, the old master snaps that he is a man of honor, declaring the entire mountain belongs to Ye Baiken from now on. Nodding, the young man requests they leave immediately so he can finally get some peace and quiet. Honoring his wish, the master orders a full retreat, and they quickly file out. Once they are alone, Yi Baiken sits down and commands the Lion King to guard the perimeter. Meanwhile, heading down the mountain, the master quietly whispers to his men to investigate the boy's mysterious background. While meditating, Yi Baichen reflects on everything. And trust me, you and I are about to see this complex mystery unravel. All right, you and I are about to dive into a crazy mystery. At this moment, he realizes Aunt Jo and his master's wife are identical, just like those two cultivators he met. Is all of this just a massive coincidence? Grabbing his phone, he decides he needs to get some real answers. He immediately calls Senior Sister Chu, asking if there is any place in the school to find records about events from 2,000 years ago. She tells him those records are rare, but mentions her research group is heading to an ancient tomb from that exact era. She then invites him to tag along with them. Yi Bacon accepts the offer and agrees to meet her tonight. He wonders if the truth he has been searching for is waiting inside that 2,000-year-old tomb. Arriving at the location, he asks Senior Sister Chu if this is the place. She nods, and he quickly asks about the other people standing around them. She explains they hired bodyguards because the tomb is dangerous, and a past group vanished here. Nearby, Zhang Xiaoru whimpers, saying she never should have come to this terrifying place. Senior Sister Chu tells everyone to stop complaining, ordering the group to stick together as they head down. Moments later, they step into the pitch-black cave. Stepping into a massive cavern, the girls gasp in awe at its size, noting it is much bigger than their own homes. Senior Sister Chu reminds them of their main goal, find the lost research team and bring rare relics back to the school. Suddenly, Ye Baichen whips his head around. Sensing his tension, she asks what is wrong, but he quickly brushes it off as just a sudden wave of dizziness. Meanwhile, lurking in the shadows, 3 masked men spot the group. They note that their organization ordered them to secure the ancient treasure at all costs. The leader grips a strange weapon, whispering that no one gets out of here alive. Suddenly, he throws the device, sending a volley of sharp needles flying toward the team. Instantly, Yi Baiken yells a warning, shoving Chu out of harm's way. Moving like lightning, he catches the flying projectiles with his bare hands. Now pay attention, because this is where things get wild. Stunned by the failed attack, the masked man freezes. The guards draw weapons, shouting into the dark as three figures step out of the fog. Terrified, one of the girls shrieks that they are facing ghosts, but Chu tries to calm her down. Raising their guns, the guards scream at the intruders to halt or get shot. The masked leader just laughs, daring them to shoot. One bodyguard barks that they have a death wish and immediately pulls the trigger. The masked killer surges forward at insane speed, throwing his deadly needles. Though the guards unleash a hail of gunfire, they are instantly struck down by the flying weapons. The girls hold each other, crying that they are doomed. One thug looks at the women, smirking to his brother that they look cute, and they have not had this kind of fun in ages. The leader grins wickedly, suggesting they each take one for a little fun before ending their lives. Hearing this, Yi Baichen steps up, asking if they completely forgot he was standing there. Shocked, one of them spins around, muttering that the kid's presence was so weak they barely even noticed him. The other thug offers to handle it, telling his brother this kid looks like a complete weakling. Calling Yi Baichen a pathetic show-off, he throws an explosive sphere. Yi Baichen just watches with disdain, calling him arrogant as the weapon flies closer. He catches the sphere easily, mocking that the thug's strength could not even snap a twig. The orb suddenly detonates in a thick cloud of smoke, and the killer laughs, thinking he fell for the trap. The three girls cough, shielding their faces in the dark smoke. With a casual wave of his hand, Yi Baichen blows the cloud away, calling the attack pathetic. Stunned, the thug gasps, wondering why he is unharmed. Yi Baichen smirked, asking if the man really thought a cheap smoke trick could ever bring him down. Furious, the masked fighter draws his dagger, screaming that he will pay for this humiliation. He charges, aiming for the kill, but Yi Baichen catches the sharp blade with just 2 fingers. The dagger shatters like glass. In a flash, Yi Baichen taps the man's neck with his fingertips, dropping him instantly. The remaining 2 realize they messed with the wrong guy. I know what you were thinking. Who is next? Yi Baichen stares coldly, asking if they will fight together. Terrified, the younger brother asks what to do, but the leader tells him to hold firm. He claims he still has the upper hand, pulling out a hidden secret weapon. Recognizing the artifact, Yi Baichen asks if that is a soul-sealing lamp. The leader sneers, telling him that since he knows its power, he should get on his knees and beg. The other brother mocks him, laughing that the kid must be absolutely terrified. He sneers that kneeling at their feet might save his life, but before he can even finish, Yi Baichen shuts him up with a brutal kick to the groin. Howling in agony, the thug screams at his brother to kill this bastard. The leader roars, unleashing the power of the lamp, declaring that Yi Baichen has just sealed his own tragic fate. Unfazed, Yi Baichen murmurs that the weapon is actually pretty cool. As he pivots, ghostly chains begin to manifest and swirl around him. With a flick, he whips the chain, striking the other brother. Sensing the tables have turned, the leader panics as the target's soul is violently ripped right out of his body. While his brother screams, the leader tries to pull the chains back. But the lamp slips from his hands, hitting the floor and releasing a wave of spiritual energy. Desperate, the leader falls to his knees, sobbing apologies to his brother. Yi Baichen walks up, capturing the lamp's light, and coldly invites him to join his partner. Instantly, the leader's soul is snatched away too. Holding the glowing lamp as the chains drift around him, Yi Baichen suddenly senses a bizarre, powerful energy echoing from deep within the cave. Supporting senior sister Chu, Yi Baichen feeds her a special healing pill he brought, promising she will wake up almost instantly. Meanwhile, the other 2 girls slowly sit up, rubbing their aching heads in utter confusion over what just went down. Suddenly, one girl spots the bloody bodies on the ground. Shrieking in terror, she cowers behind Yi Baichen, pointing wildly at the dead thugs. The other 2 girls stare at the corpses. As senior sister Chu groggily asks what happened, Yi Baichen realizes he completely forgot to clean up this mess. Thinking fast, he lies. He claims their guard died, saving them, and he just got lucky grabbing a weapon to win the fight. The girls praise his bravery, but he humbly shrugs it off. Yi Baichen then points out a strange stone wall he noticed. Explaining that touching it opened a hidden door, he wonders aloud what secrets could be waiting inside. Excited, one of the girls gasps that this must be the main tomb entrance. Eager for adventure, the group decides to head straight inside to explore. Yi Baichen senses incredibly thick spiritual energy, wondering if other cultivators are actually hidden in this place. Pushing forward, the group stumbles upon a creepy sight, multiple skeletons sitting in a circle around an ancient sword stuck in the stone floor. Confused, they wonder what these people were doing here and how they all died. Ignoring the danger, senior sister Chu steps closer to the sword. She reaches to grab the weapon's hilt. Yi Baiken yells a warning to stop, but she ignores it and touches the blade, getting violently blasted backward by a shockwave. Yi Baichen catches her, warning her to be careful. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to watch a crazy lightning storm strike this mountain as Zhang Jiayun wonders if some ancient magic has just awakened. Right after, the spiritual energy inside the tomb spikes wildly, making her suspect a hidden treasure is close. But then, a panicked guard reports they have completely lost contact with the vanguard team. Wasting no time, she leads a backup squad inside while leaving guards at the entrance. Deep within the tomb, Yi Baichen checks on senior sister Chu, who quickly thanks him for saving her life. Terrified, the other girl cries out that real ghosts are haunting this creepy place. And right on cue, one of the ancient skeletons slowly begins to rise. Yi Baichen tells the girls to step back. The undead sentry demands to know who dares trespass in its master's tomb, but our main character just calmly asks for the master's name. The monster snarls that lowly servants cannot speak their lord's sacred name. Suddenly, a whole horde of skeletons charges forward, screaming for the intruders to die. Yi Baichen sighs, deciding that if they will not talk, they can catch these hands. He leaps straight into the swarm, unleashing an impact that sends bones flying everywhere. Shocked by his strength, senior sister Chu wonders how he can wield such incredible magic. Even the last broken skeleton on the floor gasps, asking who this monster is. Graining his sword, Yi Baichen tells them his identity does not matter. What matters is that they annoyed him. With one brutal slash, he completely shatters the rest of the undead. Looking at the ancient remnant's soul, he says its long watch is over and tells it to rest in peace. Senior sister Chu steps up again, desperately wanting to know his true identity. He just tells her to relax, promising he is one of the good guys. Suddenly, the ancient sword sealed in the middle of the chamber begins to shake violently. A massive burst of spiritual energy erupts from the blade. Yi Baichen realizes this might be a legendary thunder sword infused with raw lightning magic, while the girls look on in sheer disbelief. Now, watch closely because Zhang Jiayun's team suddenly crashes the party, smiling greedily as she realizes the rumors of a priceless treasure were completely true. Senior sister Chu is totally baffled, feeling like she is trapped in some action movie. Zhang Jiayun just smirks, pointing her blade at Yi Baichen and demanding he hand over the artifact they have been tracking for years. Not even flinching, Yi Baichen asks if they are just the next batch of targets. One of her thugs volunteers to handle him, sensing that our hero possesses some basic cultivation power. Without a second thought, Zhang Jiayun commands her squad to attack. A swordsman lunges forward, shouting that this territory belongs to them and telling Yi Baichen to get lost. He dodges the blade effortlessly, then retaliates with a heavy punch to the chest that floors the attacker. With a swift kick, he sends another grunt flying, casually asking if they really think they can rob him. Shocked by his raw power, Zhang Jiayun realizes brute force won't work and they need to play dirty. Suddenly, a thug grabs Lin Chengqian at sword point while Zhang Xiaoru panics. Showing her ruthless side, Zhang Jiayun tells him she is willing to overlook her fallen men if he cooperates. But she demands the ancient thunder sword in exchange. To back up her threat, she coldly warns him that his friends will pay with their lives if he hesitates. Terrified, Zhang Xiaoru begs Yi Baichen for help, crying out in fear. Playing along, he slowly raises his hands in mock surrender, telling them they can go ahead and take the sword. Zhang Jiayun orders her guards to watch the hostages. She leaps toward the glowing weapon, laughing in triumph as she believes the ultimate treasure is finally hers. But suddenly, magical chains burst from the floor, binding her thugs and ripping their souls clean out of their screaming bodies. Yi Baichen checks on the girls, and Chu confirms they are safe. You and I both know she messed up big time. Furious, she asks why he attacked after surrendering, but he calmly points out she is the only enemy left to crush. She admits his strength is impressive, but boasts that with the thunder sword in her hands, he is finished. Instantly, two massive lightning dragons coil out from the weapon. The beasts charge at him, but Yi Baichen just sighs at her bad manners. Mocking her weak control over the weapon, he rips a giant stone slab out of the ground for defense. Zhang Jiayun stares in utter shock at his insane physical power. Yi Baichen hurls the massive slab right at her, stepping forward to explain that he is about to teach her how a spiritual weapon is actually used. Furious, she screams that he is dead meat, swinging the blade with all her might. But she realizes too late that she only slashed a fleeting afterimage. Suddenly, Yi Baichen appears right next to her, asking what she is looking at. Before she can even react, he effortlessly snatches the sword from her grip. He tells her to watch closely, and a massive shockwave immediately blasts her backward. Now, he unleashes the true power of the Thunder Sword, drowning her in blinding lightning. Desperate, she tries to shield herself from the incoming strike, but the massive electrical surge hits her dead on. Yi Baishin catches her, wondering if she has a defensive spell active. Looking closer, he spots mysterious runes glowing on the sword. Suddenly, another massive energy discharge blasts her body high into the air. The two girls watch in horror, screaming because they think she is dead. But Yi Baishin reassures them she is still breathing and tells them not to worry. One of them timidly asks who he is and how he can use literal magic. He calmly explains that this is not magic but the power of cultivation, as a sword floats right beside him. He notes that finding the Nine Heavens thunder spell made this entire trip worth it. Outside, massive lightning bolts continue to tear through the dark sky. From afar, Master Yi watches the storm, wondering if a treasure has finally risen from the tomb. He grabs his phone to check if Jiayun secured the artifact. But the call goes straight to voicemail, signaling to him that something has gone terribly wrong. Meanwhile, back in the tomb, Yi Baichin opens his eyes and says he is ready. He looks down at Jiayun, who is coughing on the dirty ground, noting that she is incredibly tough to have survived such a devastating lightning strike. With no mercy, Yi Baichin grabs her by the throat as she begs for her life. Under pressure, she confesses she is from the Guanshen sect, sent specifically to secure the Thunder Sword. Releasing his grip, he muses that hidden cultivation sects are indeed still active in this modern era. He declares that the weapon is his now and tells her to get lost, but a desperate Jiang Jiayun grabs his arm and begs him to wait. He asks if she still wants the blade, but she begs to serve him instead, promising absolute obedience. Suspicious, he asks why, and she admits that failing this mission means certain death back at her sect. Coldly, he tells her he is not interested. He turns to the other girls, calling out to senior sister Chu that it is time for them to get out of here. Lin Xianqian cheers in massive relief, glad to finally escape this creepy tomb. Jiang Jiayun asks what he will do with his companions, and he calmly plans to erase their memories. He must protect his secret cultivation identity, so removing their memories is the only option. And that is where we leave things as morning comes. Alright, you and I are diving back into this wild story, where three girls are squeezed into one bed while our main character, Yi Baishin, reviews some totally worthless ancient tomb documents. Chu wakes up, totally disoriented. Yi Baichin turns around to explain that they are safe and resting inside the project team's office. She immediately asks about the tomb, but he explains that everyone passed out from a lack of oxygen. Suddenly, his stomach growls, making him groan in pain. Asking Chu to rest a bit longer, he hurries out to find a restroom. He asks an employee for directions, who casually points to an unmarked door. Yi Baichin rushes inside, relieved, but opening the door reveals a woman already in there. She instantly screams, calling him a pervert, and shoves him back. Furious, she corners him, demanding to know if he was spying on her. Before he can even explain himself, she lunges forward to attack. She strikes him with poisoned needles to paralyze him for a full day. Prepping a kick, she promises to leave him smelling like a pigpen. She boasts that he got what he deserved. Meanwhile, sitting on the toilet, Yi Baichin groans in misery. Down the hall, two students chat about their new teacher. They mention she is Jiang Xiaohua, a genius doctor in her early 20s. As they walk, one student tries to open the restroom door, but finds it locked. Her friend suggests it is occupied. Inside, Ye Baiken complains that the crazy woman blocked all his spiritual meridians. Refusing to be trapped, he forces his inner energy to flow, easily popping the poison needles right out of his body. He stands up, celebrating his quick recovery, and vows to find her. Meanwhile, in an office, the woman introduces herself as Jiang Xiaohua. Now, watch closely, because right as the new teacher accepts her files, the office door is violently kicked open by some uninvited guests. A man enters with two thugs, claiming he finally found her. The employee tries to stop them, but the leader tells her to shut up and pulls out a dagger. With a brutal slash, he stabs the poor employee. Liu Guixing grins, saying they can talk, while Jiang Xiaohua demands to know his business. He demands the rare celestial fragrance herb she bought at the auction. When she reveals she already gave it away, a furious Liu Guixing orders her bound. She is thrown into a car, screaming for help as they speed away. Passing by, Yi Beichen spots the commotion and realizes she is being kidnapped. Unable to ignore this, he follows them, arriving at a shady warehouse an hour later. Inside, Liu Guixing gives the tied-up Jiang Xiaohua a final warning. He demands she call to retrieve the herb, threatening her with a painful end, but she spit right in his face. She defiantly tells him he has no right to her herb. Enraged, Liu Guixing slaps her across the face, threatening to kill her, but she refuses to back down. He starts ripping her clothes as she screams in horror. Suddenly, the warehouse doors are blown wide open, forcing the villain to spin around in shock. Yi Baiken steps in, casually joking about the lively party. The two guards instantly step up, demanding to know who he is. Jiang Xiaohua is stunned, wondering how he can walk after being paralyzed by her poison needle. You and I both know Yi Baiken is built different, so he just tells the boss to kneel and beg, but the guy thinks it is a joke. Jiang Xiaohua begs him to run, warning that this man is a cold-blooded killer. But the henchmen have no intention of letting him escape. Yi Baiken shrugs, noting he gave them a fair warning. Liu Guisheng immediately orders his armed thugs to execute him. The young woman screams a warning. As a thug lunges with a knife, Yi Baiken catches the blade bare-handed and uses it to strike back. Liu Guisheng is shocked by his power. Turning to the boss, Yi Baiken announces it is his turn, launching the knife straight at him. Cowardly, the boss pulls Jiang Xiaohua in front as a shield. Yi Baiken halts his strike, glaring coldly at the pathetic man. When the second thug tries to ambush him, Yi Baiken shuts him down with a heavy kick, quickly realizing this opponent is actually a cultivator. Panicking, the young master calls in his top martial artist, Jiang Chang. Jiang Xiaohua screams for him to run, warning that this fighter is deadly. Jiang Chang boasts that he never misses his target, confidently promising that the boy will die right here. Yi Baiken just smiles, challenging the fighter to try. The martial artist charges forward with a deadly blade, aiming to slice our hero to pieces. Yi Baichen dodges, calling the skill average before countering. The spectators watch in utter disbelief as the expert is easily struck. On the floor, Jiang Chang realizes this young man is a fellow martial artist. Yi Baichen mocks him for failing to kill him, prompting a desperate second attack. Our hero effortlessly evades the strike and hits him from behind, ending the elite martial artist's life instantly. The young master panics, seeing his strongest bodyguard drop dead. Yi Baiken turns to him, prompting the terrified boss to drop to his knees. The coward confesses to his crimes, admitting he deserves death. Without a word, Yi Baiken slowly raises his blade over him. He swiftly slashes the villain's arm as punishment, ordering him to crawl away. The bleeding boss quickly scrambles out of the warehouse. Yi Baichen unties her, assuring her she is safe. Stunned, she asks for his identity, and he introduces himself, calling them colleagues. He admits he was the idiot who walked into her bathroom, and despite only wanting an apology, he ended up playing the hero. Suddenly, a roaring truck smashes through the wall, heading straight for them. Reacting fast, Yi Baiken shoves her out of the way and takes the full impact. A woman inside the truck orders her ally to check if he is dead. Meanwhile, a man named Lin Kunyi threatens the girl for the treasure. Yi Baichen stands back up, rubbing his head and complaining about the blind driver who hit him. And that is where we leave it today. Trust me, you are going to want to see how he survives this massive next showdown. Let's dive into this wild scene. Jiang Xiaohua rushes to Yi Baichen, asking if he is okay. He groans, his left arm broken and body numb. She desperately promises to find silver needles to treat him, but he smiles, saying his healing pills will fix him right up. But before he can swallow one, a sharp blade stabs right through his hand. Lin Kumi sneers, telling him he is dreaming if he thinks he can heal without handing over the treasure first. Yi Baichen stays completely calm, asking what happens if he refuses. The villain snarls that he will just take it himself, immediately launching a barrage of deadly daggers at them. As the blades rain down on them, Yi Baichen screams for her to watch out, throwing himself forward to shield her from the incoming attack. He tackles her to the floor as the daggers slam into the wall right behind them. Holding her close, he tells her to hold on tight while a massive cloud of dust completely blankets the room. Lin Kunyi mocks him, warning him that some treasures are off-limits. Coughing, Yi Baichen mutters that he cannot fight at full strength like this. Sensing an opening, the enemy rushes in to attack. He grabs Yi Baichen by the collar, demanding the loot once more. But out of nowhere, Jiang Xiaohua sneaks up behind and whacks him with a heavy piece of wood, yelling for him to let go. The hit lands right on his temple. Furious, he spins around, snarling at her audacity to attack him. Without hesitation, he lunges forward to stab her, shouting that she is asking for death. Clang! A massive sword blocks the lethal strike at the absolute last second. Yi Baichen glares daggers at Lin Kunyi, challenging him to try and steal the treasure now. The killer sneers, saying there is no going back now. But Yi Baichen just asks if he really thought it would be that easy, suddenly blasting him with a massive jolt of electricity. Lin Kunyi curses, crying foul about the cheap ambush. Charging straight through a barrage of flying weapons, Yi Baichen roars for him to die, but the nimble villain easily dodges them all. But one stray blade pierces Yi Baichen's chest. Suddenly, a spectral serpent erupts from the hilt, lunging and slamming into him with enough force to smash him right through the wall. Stepping closer, Lin Kunyi laughs, saying he expected a much better fight. He picks up the dropped sword, calls him a pathetic loser, and swings down for the kill, screaming for him to go to hell. But watch closely right here. Yi Baichen barely rolls away, snatching his healing pill. The villain raises his sword high, calling it a holy relic, and commands him to die. Yet, our hero catches the bare metal with his naked hand. He coolly explains he was only holding back because of his wounds. The villain is totally stunned, stammering that this is impossible. Done playing around, Yi Baichen calls him an idiot and lands a devastating punch. As the coward tries to flee, Yi Baichen laughs, asking how far he thinks he can run, before slashing him down. Looking at the bodies, Zhang Xiaohua panics, wondering if she should call the cops. But suddenly, Yi Baichen staggers, clutching his head as his depleted spiritual energy makes his vision spin out of control. She rushes to catch him, yelling his name. Lacking her silver needles, she frantically decides to dial for an ambulance instead. She connects with the dispatcher, reporting a critically injured patient. Fast forward 30 minutes, and the sirens are blaring as an ambulance pulls up. In the back of the truck, she squeezes his hand, begging him to stay awake. Once at the clinic, a nurse informs her that the head doctor is busy, meaning she will just have to wait. Checking his pulse, she finds it surprisingly steady, almost like he is just asleep. Suddenly, the medical staff are called away in a rush to deal with another emergency downstairs. Left alone, she slips away to the traditional medicine ward to scavenge for needles to treat him. Meanwhile, Yi Baichen groggily opens his eyes, sits up, and wonders how he landed in a hospital. He quickly realizes he needs to find some spiritual energy fast, or he will pass out again. Meanwhile, outside, a massive banner advertises a grand medicine show starring a famous miracle doctor. Up in an executive office, an assistant reports that event setup is practically done. The shady boss immediately cuts in, asking if the actors are ready. Now, I know what you were thinking. Actors? Yep. The boss calls him an idiot and explains they hire fake patients to make the miracle doctor look good. Panicking, the assistant promises to handle it and bolts out. 30 minutes later, he rounds up a bunch of sketchy guys, promising double pay if they play their parts perfectly. Right then, a lost Yi Baichen wanders over, asking where the exit is. The assistant jumps, while our main character walks closer, thinking these guys look incredibly suspicious. Misunderstanding completely, the assistant grabs him, laughing that he does not need to try so hard to look sick. He praises his acting skills and shoves him right into a van. The van speeds off as the manager orders the driver to head to the venue. Back in the ward, Zhang Xiaohua returns with her needles, only to find an empty bed. Where did he go? Meanwhile, a massive crowd gathers to witness Dr. Xue perform live miracles. Inside the theater, wealthy VIPs in expensive suits sit patiently waiting for the show to start. The smug assistant assures his boss that all the fake patients are ready. Stepping onto the stage, he commands silence from the audience and announces the grand show is officially underway. He welcomes the famous Xu Zhen to the stage amid roaring applause. The doctor humbly thanks the crowd, declaring that his only holy mission is to heal the sick and save lives. He reveals a set of legendary silver needles, claiming he somehow replicated a lost ancient treasure. In the crowd, onlookers whisper about how mystical the tools look. The doctor shamelessly announces that promoting this treasure will save countless lives, offering to sell them today at a massive discount. One skeptical viewer wonders if it actually works or if it is just a big scam. Smirking, the doctor promises it is real and demands the first patient be wheeled out. The assistant rolls out a stretcher carrying our main character, announcing the patient has arrived. He hypes up the crowd, claiming these magical needles will instantly cure this dying man to prove their power. Just as Xue reaches for a needle, an ancient jade pendant in his pocket suddenly glows with mystic power. Pure spiritual energy surges directly from the gem right into Yi Baichen's body. Baffled, the doctor wonders why this hired actor is waking up before he even touches him. Meanwhile, our hero feels the sudden rush of power and wonders where it came from. His eyes lock onto the doctor's pocket, realizing the jade is the source. The doctor hushes him, demanding he play along like a professional or he won't get a single penny. Amused, Yi Baichen asks what act he is talking about. Right then, he connects the dots and realizes what is happening. Smirking, Yi Baichen agrees to play along, but demands that jade pendant instead of cash, threatening to expose their entire scam. Caught red-handed, the sweat-drenched doctor stutteringly agrees to the trade. Pleased, Yi Baichen nods. The doctor quickly pushes him back down onto the gurney, orders him to stay still, and taps a needle against him. Instantly, our hero leaps right back up. The crowd erupts. Two guys clap wildly, marveling at how insane the doctor's acupuncture is to cure him instantly. Behind the scenes, Dr. Sue fumes, snapping that the kid crossed a line trying to steal his heirloom. Unbothered, Yi Bai-chen demands the gem, inviting him upstairs to sign their little contract. 10 minutes later, the doctor sneers, asking if he actually thought he could keep the jade. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. All right, you and I are about to watch a greedy doctor try to play our main character. Sue Jiuzhen accuses him of stealing a pendant, but Yi Bai-chen just calls him out for peddling fake trash. Furious, the doctor asks what he is going to do about it and screams for his chief thug, Big New. Right on cue, Zhang Chang bursts through the door, ready to crack some skulls. Backed by two other goons, they completely surround our hero. The doctor sneers, asking if he is shaking in his boots, but Yi Bai-chen just calmly steps forward with an open hand. Bam! A savage slap sends the greedy doctor eating dirt. Furious, he screams for his men to take him down, and Zhang Chang charges in swinging a massive wooden club. But Yi Bai-chen effortlessly dodges, landing a brutal counter to his chest. He warns them to surrender the pendant before things get worse, but another thug grabs his shirt, talking tough. With a simple shrug, our hero tosses both goons aside like literal trash, telling them to get lost. The doctor watches in absolute horror, sweating over the kid's insane strength. Closing the distance instantly, Yi Bai-chen grabs him by the collar and demands the pendant. Shaking with fear, Sue Jiuzhen immediately folds and hands it over. Grabbing it, our hero remarks that some people only learn the hard way. Before walking out, he warns the scammer to stop selling fake garbage. Just like that, the scene shifts over to a quiet school courtyard. Inside, his classmate Zhang Ziwen asks if he is finally gracing them with his presence. He warns him about class attendance, but our main character just wants some quiet so he can nap. Shrugging, Zhang Ziwen decides to join him, putting his head down. Sitting peacefully, Yi Bai-chen holds his new pendant, noting it is the absolute perfect catalyst to train his divine clairvoyance. Meanwhile, Lin Kunyi asks his master if they can ship the valuable loot. The master explains they seized the construction site specifically for the underground treasures, revealing a stone fragment inscribed with the words, Treasure Pavilion. In an instant, Yi Bai-chen vanishes into thin air. His friend turns around, completely baffled to find the seat empty. Meanwhile, our hero is already sprinting toward the gates of that very construction site. Let's pay close attention here. He wonders if the ancient Qingyun sect's treasure pavilion is really buried inside. But as he arrives, two suspicious guards block his path, demanding to know his business. One guard asks if he is just another kid looking for a job. Sensing an easy way in, he nods. The worker sighs, noting everyone is desperate for work lately. He tells him to head inside and apply to carry bricks, which our hero gladly accepts. But suddenly, a massive shockwave from deep within the site rattles the heavy metal gates, shocking the workers. Yi Bai-chen suggests a major accident just went down, prompting them to rush inside and investigate. There, the workers stare into a massive, smoking crater, panicking that the site has collapsed yet again. They whisper about how many workers died during the previous cave-in. Right then, Lin Kunyi arrives with the powerful Master Yi, loudly ordering the crowd to clear a path. The crowd instantly recognizes the legendary Master Yi as he approaches the edge. The old man commands everyone to stand back, declaring he will descend alone to investigate the depths. Sensing the area, Master Yi notes an incredibly dense surge of spiritual energy. Lin Kunyi eagerly asks if there is any treasure down there, and the master confirms it is loaded. Excited, the young boss celebrates their massive luck. Master Yi orders him to take a crew to explore the site. Nodding, Lin Kunyi sets off to gather as many workers as he can find. A foreman yells to the crowd, announcing they found ancient treasure and need brave volunteers to go down. Several greedy workers jump at the chance, and Yi Bai-chen joins the lineup. With no time to lose, the foreman tells them to gear up for the descent. He reports to Lin Kunyi that the expendable crew is ready, and the boss greenlights the operation. Lin Kunyi orders them to stay sharp as they head down, while the hype foreman promises they are all getting rich. Inside, the boss notes this massive cavern is far too grand to be a simple tomb. Meanwhile, Yi Bai-chen senses the spiritual energy is practically suffocating here, just as a terrified worker points toward the darkness. Out of the shadows, a towering, ancient underground palace looms. Lin Kunyi stammers in shock, realizing they have stumbled upon a legendary, treasure-filled ruin. You and I saw this coming, right? The greedy workers rush forward, but Yi Bai-chen instantly recognizes the architecture of the legendary treasure pavilion. One lucky guy finds a chest overflowing with glittering jewels and cheers, but in a flash, he is violently snatched upward, vanishing into the dark. The confused foreman screams, fearing another cave-in. Suddenly, a ghostly figure descends from the ceiling, demanding to know who dares trespass in the Yang Shen Palace. Hiding nearby, Yi Baichen instantly senses this is a 1,000-year-old soul. Lin Kunyi breaks into a nervous sweat, wondering if his mind is playing tricks or if ancient spirits are real. The terrified workers lose their minds, screaming and scattering in pure panic. Right on cue, two more hostile spirits emerge, howling for the intruder's blood. They attack mercilessly, tearing through the workers, leaving the desperate foreman begging Lin Kunyi to save them. With a smug smirk, the young master leaps forward, unleashing a deadly storm of flying daggers right at the ghostly guardians. The blades strike true, making the foreman cheer that they are saved by a true master. But one spirit barely flinches, glaring at him and asking if he is a cultivation practitioner. Arrogantly, Lin Kunyi demands the location of the true vault, threatening to torture the spirit. But the ghost scoffed, calling him a foolish brat before manifesting a spectral dragon around his arm, commanding the beast to tear him apart. The dragon unleashes a devastating beam of pure energy. It hits Lin Kunyi dead on, blasting him backward through the air. Brandishing a spectral sword, the spirit declares all trespassers will be executed. Terrified and desperate to save his own skin, Lin Kunyi grabs the nearest worker to use as cover. He shoves Yu Baichen directly into the line of fire, cowardly hiding behind him. The enraged spirit lunges, unleashing a massive, lethal slash that strikes our hero dead on with a massive explosion. Realizing the spirits still possess their full cultivation power, Lin Kunyi flees, smirking that he found the perfect scapegoat to die in his place. The blast leaves a thick cloud of dust, but when the dust clears, Lin Kunyi is shocked to see the young man standing completely unharmed. Suddenly, Yi Baichen appears right behind the spirit, mockingly asking if it enjoyed that strike. Instantly, an array activates on the ground, summoning giant spectral swords that trap the ghost. Proving he is no pushover, the massive blades impale the spirit, causing it to detonate into stardust. Lin Kunyi watches, utterly stunned by this insane display of raw power. Furious over their brother's death, the remaining spirits swear vengeance, launching a terrifying, giant snake-shaped energy blast straight at our hero's throat. But Yi Baichen calmly activates his lantern, shattering the seal. Massive, glowing chains burst forth, binding the snakes. Terrified, the spirits recognize the legendary soul-capturing lantern. They scream at each other to run, but it is too late. The divine chains hunt them down, binding all three tight. The foreman watches in disbelief, wondering if this kid is some legendary warrior, while Yi Baichen casually admires his powerful soul lantern. Lin Kunyi struts over, offering to train him. He smiles, but trust me, you and I know who the real master is here. Yi Baichen just humbly thanks him, playing along. All right, you and I are diving right into the action where these sycophant workers are showering Lin Kunyi with fake praise, but he sees right through it, telling them to shut up and keep moving. They push forward into the grand hall of the palace. There, a miserable spirit is crawling on the floor. Lin Kunyi casually steps on its spine, ordering his men to loot everything. Yanking the spirit up by its hair, he admits it is surprisingly tough. He demands to know its identity and where the treasure pavilion is, while Yi Baichen listens closely in the back. But the stubborn spirit refuses to talk. Lin Kunyi completely loses his patience, growling that this creature is begging to be destroyed. Suddenly, the spirit triggers a self-destruct, vowing to drag them to hell. It blows up, knocking Lin Kunyi flat. He screams a warning just before a massive secondary blast sends him flying. The terrified workers rush to their fallen boss. The foreman scrambles to pull him up, asking if he is okay, but Lin Kunyi violently shoves him away, claiming he is completely invincible. When the thick smoke finally clears, a worker shouts for his master to look. Both Lin Kunyi and Yi Baichen turn their eyes toward a brand new passage blown open in the rock wall. Yi Baichen can feel a massive wave of spiritual energy pouring out of the gap. Instantly, Lin Kunyi commands everyone to drop everything and follow him. The foreman threatens to kill anyone who hesitates, forcing the reluctant workers to comply. As Yi Baichen leads the way, they step into a massive cavern glowing with endless crystals. Yi Baichen quickly realizes this is actually a spiritual mine, leaving two clueless workers scratching their heads about what spiritual ore even is. Losing his temper, Lin Kunyi smacks the foreman and barks at him to scout ahead. The trembling foreman asks if it is safe, earning himself a swift kick that sends him stumbling forward. The guy carefully crawls on his knees, eyeing the cavern. Shimmering crystals cover the entire floor. Relieved, he stands up and yells back to Lin Kunyi that everything seems clear. But pay attention here because a massive leopard silently materializes right behind him. It lunges, tearing into his throat as the remaining workers scatter in absolute panic. The beast roars, turning its gaze toward the fleeing men. It leaps onto another victim, opening its jaws to charge up a terrifying sphere of raw energy. The blast shoots directly at the escaping group, exploding on impact. Watching this chaos unfold, Lin Kun-yi wonders what kind of insane place harbors such powerful spiritual beasts. The leopard locks eyes with him, warning that all human intruders must die. Refusing to show fear, Lin Kun-yi charges forward, unsheathing his twin daggers. To his utter shock, the beast easily deflects every single strike with its bare paws. Before he can react, a heavy claw slashes his arm. He clutches the bloody wound as the predator stands tall. Desperate, he turns to the disguised Yi Bei-chin, begging for help. The young man slowly removes his helmet, asking with a smirk if he still recognizes his face. Lin Kun-yi gasps in horror, demanding to know how he got here. Yi Bei-chin reminds him that escape was never an option. Terrified, Lin Kun-yi spins around and runs for his life. He glances back in pure panic, but it is too late. A sword impales him clean through the chest, dropping him lifeless to the dirt as the leopard watches in complete confusion. Yi Bei-chin casually approaches, praising the beast for reaching such high intelligence. But the leopard growls, warning him that empty flattery will not stop his execution. It boasts that since his inner energy is valuable, it might leave his corpse in one piece. The young man simply laughs, calling it an ignorant, brainless beast. Rather than fighting to the death, he proposes a mutually beneficial deal since they both seek something here. Intrigued, the beast asks for details, and Yi Bei-chin offers a trade abundant spiritual energy for the answers he wants. The leopard scoffs, asking if a mere human thinks he is worthy of negotiating with a beast. It lunges forward, screaming at him to go to hell. I know what you are thinking. Is he done for? Well, watch this. Yi Bei-chin unleashes a wave of pure pressure that instantly forces the massive beast to back down. Sensing the overwhelming danger, the beast quickly apologizes and admits its mistake. With a calm smile, Yi Bei-chin asks to continue their talk, and the terrified leopard agrees to anything to stay alive. The young man asks a single question: does the treasure pavilion exist nearby? Confused, the leopard asks what that even is, warning him not to play any cheap games. But the moment it feels a cold blade pressed against its neck, it quickly sings a different tune. It points a paw, stammering that the place is definitely right over there. Yi Bei-chin leaps over, warning the beast not to lie, but all he finds is a pathetic pile of old bricks. Annoyed, he wonders if this heap is truly the famous Wanbao Tower. The beast explains these are actually spiritual bricks forged to build the tower. Yi Bei-chin sighs, muttering that he is looking for the actual tower, not raw materials. The leopard admits it has no clue where the tower is, growling that it would have torn him apart already if he did not seem so harmless, determined not to leave with nothing. Yi Bei-chin grips his jade pendant and begins to absorb every drop of spiritual energy in the cave. The leopard watches in absolute shock as the energy is rapidly drained. To top it off, the young man grabs all the gold and silver, knowing it will be useful in the outside world. The desperate beast begs to be taken along, pleading that it needs spiritual energy to survive. Yi Bei-chin agrees, musing that the Lion King might enjoy having a new companion. Waiting outside, Master Yi growls, wondering why Lin Kun-yi is taking so long. Sensing a nearby presence, he demands to know who is there as Yi Bei-chin kneels before him. The master demands his identity, and the young man plays dumb, claiming to be a simple temporary worker. When Master Yi asks where the others are, Yi Bei-chin coldly replies that they are all dead. He explains that terrible monsters attacked and everyone died trying to shield him. But as he turns to leave, Master Yi grows highly suspicious, his hand suddenly transforming into a sharp claw. Lunging forward, he roars that a mere brat cannot fool him. Master Yi demands the absolute truth, and in that instant, Yi Bei-chin realizes he has walked right into a trap. Still hoping to extract clues about the Wanbao Tower, he begs for mercy, spinning a tale about how Boss Lin found gold but died fighting vicious spirits and monsters. Master Yi demands to know what treasures lie in the tower, but the boy claims he only saw some weird bricks. This bizarre detail leaves the master visibly confused. Yi Bei-chin asks what the Wanbao Tower actually is and why he wants it so badly. Believing the boy is as good as dead, Master Yi reveals that years ago, they discovered ruins of the Qingyan sect containing records of the tower, which houses countless legendary cultivation techniques. Yi Bei-chin simply stands up, asking if there are any other clues. Infuriated, the master demands to know how he dares to stand before him. Smiling, the young man admits he hoped for useful clues, but everything he heard is total garbage. Master Yi snaps, screaming to ask if he is being mocked. He roars that the kid must truly want to die tonight, but Yi Bei-chin instantly summons his sword. The blade collides heavily with the master's claw, As the young man asks if he actually believed he had a chance. A sudden shockwave blasts the master back, slamming him to the ground. Shaken, Master Yi asks who he truly is. While Yi Bacon points his blade at the man's throat, offering to spare him if he bows down. He reveals he is Yi Wu of the Qingyan sect. Master Yi gasps that it is impossible. Trust me, you and I cannot miss what happens next. All right, you and I are jumping right into a wild deal where Yebichen offers to let the old man live in exchange for helping him investigate the tower, and he finally agrees. The young man coldly orders him to open wide, instantly throwing a mysterious pill straight down Master Yi's throat. Clutching his neck in pure panic, the old master gasps, desperately demanding to know what he just swallowed. Yebichen casually explains it is a deadly poison that triggers every 10 days, warning him to investigate that tower and stay completely in line. Reflecting on the wild night, he knows he burned through tons of spiritual energy, but it was not a complete loss. Suddenly, his stomach starts acting up again, forcing him to desperately hunt for a quiet place to relieve himself. Squatting in the thick forest bushes, Yebichen turns around only to spot Jiang Xiaohua on the ground, frantically covering her eyes in shock. Calling him a pervert again, she throws a massive punch that sends him flying. She furiously accuses him of spying, but he insists it is just a huge misunderstanding. He asks how she even tracked him down here. Blushing, she replies that if she had not been worried about him dying, she would never have gone around searching for him. Apologizing, Yebichen promises to treat her to food, drinks, or whatever she wants. When she doubts he has any real cash, he suddenly reveals a massive pile of glowing treasures and asks if this is enough. He tells her to pick whatever she likes. Surprised, she asks if he is serious, and he smiles, promising he is definitely not holding back. Pointing to a small first aid kit, she asks to keep the left side. Instead, he generously hands over a whole chest filled with glittering jewelry and treasure. Mentioning he has even more loot to sell, Yebichen pulls her along. When she suspiciously asks if he stole all this, he ignores her, grabs her hand, and tells her to just stop asking questions. Landing at an antique shop, he drops 2 rare pieces on the counter and asks for their value. As the owner inspects them, Miss Jiang notes that old relics are worth a fortune nowadays. Now pay attention here, because this greedy shopkeeper thinks they are just clueless students and plans to rip them off with a lowball offer. Pretending to sigh, the owner calls it a pity. When Yebichen asks why, he claims the items are well preserved but not ancient, making them almost worthless. Unfazed, our main character takes them back, saying he will just go elsewhere. The panicked shopkeeper quickly stops them as they turn to walk away. Grinning, Yebichen looks back and asks if he is planning to force a deal on them. Admitting he was only negotiating, the owner asks for a price. When he cheapskates with 5 million, Yebichen immediately counterattacks, demanding a massive 50 million instead. Stunned, the owner hesitates. But as Yebichen walks away, he grabs him, desperate to close the deal. He quickly hands over a check for 50 million, keeping it simple. Cash for treasures, plain and simple. The young woman stares at the massive check in absolute shock, while Yebichen cheerfully suggests they go celebrate somewhere fun as they head out. On the phone, the greedy merchant tells his boss he found a massive target with endless treasures. Meanwhile, in their taxi, she asks if he is secretly some wealthy heir. Smiling, he says she is not entirely wrong. Suddenly, a white sports car tears down the road, its obnoxious driver screaming at everyone to move because he is late. Swerving violently, the reckless rich kid cuts right in front of their taxi. Anticipating the crash, Yebichen instantly pulls Jiang Xiaohua close to protect her, shouting for her to hold on. The taxi rear-ends the sports car. Furious, the wealthy driver stomps out, whining about his brand new ride before angrily storming over to the taxi driver's window. He violently grabs the driver, screaming about why he did not move, ignoring the poor man, explaining it was a solid line. Without warning, he violently slaps the driver. Demanding instant cash for his car, the rich punk loses his mind when the driver says he has no money. He lunges to throw a punch, but someone suddenly catches his wrist midair. Yebichen steps in, telling the punk he was the reckless one and to keep dreaming about any money. Furious, the spoiled kid swings at our main character instead. His wild punch hits nothing but thin air. Confused, he looks around, wondering where Yebichen went, only for our hero to instantly appear behind him and land a heavy fist to his face. Crashing to the ground, the guy whines that not even his parents have hit him before. Blinded by rage, he pulls a knife and charges forward, screaming in absolute fury. He easily blocks the blade, but don't blink because a deadly arrow suddenly streaks through the air directly at them from out of nowhere. Sensing the danger, Yebichen reacts instantly. He shoves the punk aside, but the high-speed projectile ends up burying itself deep into the spoiled kid's back instead. The body collapses as the driver and Xiaohua watch in total horror. Not wasting a single second, Ye Beichen tells them to stay put and rushes toward the assassin's direction. Atop a nearby roof, a masked assassin slips away into the shadows. Ye Beichen scans the area but finds absolutely nothing, realizing the shooter has already vanished. Panicking, Xiaohua runs over, asking if he is tangled up with some dangerous mob. She grabs his hand, desperately insisting they need to get him somewhere safe right away. Leading him down a quiet hallway, she brings him inside a room, explaining it is her private dorm and that he can safely hide out here for now. Smirking, Ye Beichen asks if she is worried, but she claims she is just returning the favor for saving her. Pointing to her bed, she tells him to get some rest. Confused, Ye Beichen asks where he is supposed to sleep, but she bluntly tells him the floor is his only option, tossing a warm blanket his way. Under a starry night, both of them lie awake, completely unable to sleep. Breaking the silence, she asks if he has been lying to her about his identity this whole time. He asks why she thinks that, and she points out that no regular person could pull off what he did. Smiling, Ye Beichen finally admits he does keep a few secrets. Xiaohua nods, saying everyone has secrets, including herself. She then asks if he knows why she actually came to this academy, and he guesses it was just to study. She honestly admits her family was forcing her into an unwanted marriage, which made her run away here. Intrigued by her confession, Ye Beichen smiles and asks her to tell him more. The following morning, a sudden banging on the door jolts them awake. Ye Beichen jumps up, demanding to know who it is as a loud voice commands Xiaohua to open up immediately. Shocked, she wonders how he tracked her down. On the other side is a guy with flowers, thrilled to have found her, but she addresses him as Jiang Bing, declaring they will never be together. He refuses to back down, claiming her parents already blessed their union and that they are absolutely perfect for each other. Annoyed, Xiaohua slaps the flowers away and boldly declares she already has a boyfriend, but he laughs it off, claiming she cannot trick him so easily. Right then, Ye Beichen wraps his arms around her from behind, smoothly asking what is going on. Xiaohua is completely stunned to hear him call her my dear as he introduces himself as her boyfriend. Trust me, you and I won't want to miss what happens as Ye Beichen kneels, opens a ring box, and actually proposes to her. Let's dive into a wild story where a simple proposal escalates into an all-out battle. Jiang Xiaohua is stunned by Ye Beichen's sudden help, while Jiang Bing stares silently at the massive ruby ring. Smiling confidently, she agrees to marry Beichen. Furious, Jiang Bing rejects her choice, boasting he has something way better than a mere ruby. In an instant, he whips out a massive diamond ring, bragging that it is easily worth over $10 million. Completely unfazed, Ye Beichen casually tosses a whole handful of priceless jewels onto the dirt. As the glittering gems scatter everywhere, a stunned Jiang Bing can only stare while Beichen asks if this is finally enough. Having no other moves, the arrogant young man realizes he is completely outclassed. Totally defeated, he points an angry finger at Beichen, muttering that his rival won this round. Saying goodbye, Ye Beichen makes it clear he hopes they never cross paths again. Jiang Xiaohua turns to him with deep gratitude, thanking him for the rescue. He just shrugs, calling it a minor favor. Outside, Jiang Bing sees with pure rage, humiliated by a mere student. But his anger is cut short as a dark silhouette creeps up silently behind him. Startled, he spins around, demanding to know who is there. Without uttering a word, the assassin strikes, launching a swift finger technique. 2 deadly projectiles instantly pierce his head and back. Meanwhile, a completely oblivious Jiang Xiaohua invites Beichen out for dinner, which he happily accepts. Suddenly, the ringtone of his cell phone interrupts them. Politely, he asks her to wait just a second while he answers the call. It is senior sister Chu, calling about an urgent project group test in room 601. Hanging up, he apologetically tells Xiaohua he has to run to an exam, so she suggests they meet for dinner later. Inside the classroom, the proctor starts the exam and asks if the final student has arrived. Hearing his name, a cocky classmate scoffs, muttering that anyone named Ye Beichen must be a total loser. Another student defends him, noting the professor personally chose him, but the bully snaps back that it means nothing. Right then, Ye Beichen steps through the door, politely introducing himself as he arrives for the group test. The professor confirms his identity, while a student smugly hands him the test. Pay attention here, because the exam is actually over, leaving only one highly difficult pre-filled paper on the table for him to solve. Calmly, Ye Beichen hands the completed paper back to the smug student, saying he solved it. The shocked young man just tells him to go find his seat, pointing out the pens laid out on the tables. Before letting him sit, the bully insults him once more, calling him a useless waste of space. Time flies by as the classroom clock ticks away. But in a flash, Yi Baiken stands up with his paper, declaring he is already finished. Blown away by his speed, the professor and the arrogant students spin around in disbelief. Baichen casually places his answer sheet on the desk, explaining he has a dinner date he cannot miss. With that, he waves goodbye and leaves. The smug classmate immediately scoffs, assuming Baichen just guessed on everything and turned the test in early because he gave up completely. Suddenly, the professor rushes over, frantically asking if anyone saw the legendary classical Chinese test he left behind. It is an incredibly brutal exam meant only for top academic experts to solve. The student claims he knows nothing. But then, the professor spots a paper on the desk, wondering out loud if that is his lost exam. The student laughs, saying that is just the garbage paper Baichen turned in. Looking closely, the professor gasps as he realizes it is indeed his classical Chinese test, while the student sighs, complaining that the useless new kid must have ruined the paper. After grading it, the professor drops his jaw, announcing that every single impossible answer is correct. The arrogant student freezes, finally realizing that Baichen is not a loser, but an absolute academic god. Strolling away, Yi Baichen feels great, happy that the exam was over so quickly and that he can now enjoy his dinner date with Miss Jiang. But danger lurks ahead. A mysterious man in a suit blocks his path, gripping a sharp dagger. Suddenly, the assassin lunges, but Baichen swiftly dodges the blade, stepping back to analyze his opponent. Now, I know what you are thinking. Is this the same assassin from earlier? Well, Baichen recognizes him too, but the silent killer just lunges again, screaming for our main character to die. While blocking the strikes, Baichen senses something off about his movements. The guy's physical aura feels completely unnatural. Within seconds, Baichen finds an opening and sends the suited attacker crashing violently into a brick wall. Staring at the limp body, Baichen wonders if he finished him. But the creepy assailant snaps back up, charging wildly once more. In a flash, a sword manifests, and Baichen reaches out to grab it. Gripping the hilt tightly, Baichen thrusts the blade straight through the attacker's chest. Yet, defying all human pain, the crazed man violently bites down on his arm. Shocked by the bite, Baichen reacts instantly, delivering a heavy kick that sends the suited attacker reeling. Looking down at the body, he realizes something is deeply wrong. The guy is still twitching despite fatal wounds. Nearby, a hidden woman controlling the puppet sneers, dismissing Baichen as a mere weak cultivator. Baichen sharpens his focus, instantly realizing that his opponent is being possessed by dark sorcery. The mysterious woman smirks, declaring her target is finally found. But as the puppet struggles in his grip, Baichen unleashes a burst of spiritual energy, completely shattering her dark control spell and shocking the sorceress. Annoyed, she whips out dual daggers to finish the job herself. Baichen leaps forward, shouting that she cannot hide anymore. Their weapons collide in a shower of sparks as sword meets daggers. His landing is so powerful it cracks the solid stone beneath them. The trembling assassin wonders how a student can possess such monstrous strength. Pointing his blade directly at her throat, Baichen demands answers. Losing his patience, Baichen slashes her shoulder, calling her stubborn silence completely foolish. Preparing the final strike, he notes that countless killers have tried and failed before, wishing her better luck in her next life. Meanwhile, at a nearby antique shop, a nervous lackey informs his boss that their top assassin was eliminated. Furious, the boss screams at the manager, calling his entire team a bunch of useless trash. The old manager bows, apologizing profusely for not realizing their young target was a master martial artist. The enraged boss demands to know who this kid is, prompting the manager to slide over a surveillance photo. It clearly shows Yi Baichen standing right next to Jiang Xiaohua. The boss gasps in sudden shock upon seeing the face. The manager asks if he recognizes the boy. The boss reveals this kid is the prime target the Juki Bureau has hunted for years. Stunned, the manager asks if this is the thief who stole the legendary key. The boss nods, admitting that multiple elite hit squads have already been wiped out by him. He orders everyone to keep Baichen's location a secret, planning to steal all the glory for themselves. Meanwhile, Baichen and Xiaohua enjoy a luxurious banquet, with her happily declaring that the feast is her treat. Their peaceful dinner is ruined when several intimidating men in suits surround their table, demanding she come with them. Baichen immediately stands, pointing a finger and telling them to unhand Miss Jiang. Xiaohua quickly calms him down, explaining that these men are just her family's private security. Right then, a stern older man steps forward, demanding she return home and asking what trouble she has caused now. Shocked, she turns and calls him Dad, wondering why he has come all this way. He just glares coldly, asking if she even respects him as a father anymore. Confused, the young woman begs to know what is going on. Her father asks if Jiang Bing found her earlier, and she nods. He then drops a bombshell, revealing the young heir is dead, leaving her utterly horrified. He explains that the powerful Jiang clan is blaming their family for the murder, unleashing a devastating economic war against their business empire. Grabbing her arm, he insists they must apologize immediately, but she resists, crying out that she did nothing wrong. Suddenly, Yi Baiken steps in, confessing that he is the killer and promising he will personally handle the fallout. Her shocked father questions him, while Xiao Wei begs him to stop. He calmly smiles, assuring them he has it covered. And trust me, you and I are going to love seeing how he handles this family war. You and I are starting this wild ride with an old man warning our main character that the Jiang family's assassins will kill him. Yi Baichen does not care at all. He proudly claims his own actions, declaring that fate is ours to decide. Meanwhile, Xiaohua's father asks about this mysterious youth. When she reveals he is only a classmate from school, her dad is stunned by the young man's sheer audacity. Cut to the massive Jiang group headquarters, where a restless crowd is gathering. Rumors fly as two girls gossip about Jiang Zhang's son being killed. They realize this fancy banquet is actually a cover to recruit deadly hitmen. Moments later, Yi Baichen strolls right up to the front entrance. The two girls approach him, curiously asking if he's here for the grand Jiang family banquet. Calmly, he tells them yes. One girl whispers that the place is crawling with dangerous assassins, asking if he's one of them too. Yi Baichen just smiles back, keeping them guessing. She playfully asks if he knows who took out Jiang Bing and if the guy is handsome. She explains that the evil Jiang family has tortured this city for far too long, and everyone secretly praises the mysterious hero who ended the young master. Now understanding the bigger picture, Yi Baichen asks with a grin if this family is really that detested by everyone. Right on cue, heavily armed guards push back the crowd to clear a path. President Jiang himself makes a grand entrance, thanking the guests for attending his special event. He gets straight to the point, announcing he is hiring elite black market mercenaries to hunt down his son's killer. A cocky hitman steps forward, eagerly asking if the rumored $30 million bounty is real. President Jiang smiles and corrects him. It's actually $50 million, transferred the second the killer's dead body hits the floor. Grinning, the mercenary leader declares that for $50 million, they are going all out. He turns to his squad, ordering them to hunt down the target within 3 days. Now pay attention, because a cold voice interrupts them, declaring there is no need to search because the killer is standing right in front of them. Everyone turns in shock as those two girls realize who he is. Instantly, a furious President Jiang points at the kid, screaming for the hunters to slaughter him if they want that massive bounty. The mercenary leader charges forward, dual-wielding deadly daggers. Yi Baichen stands dead still, just staring him down. The killer lunges for a lethal strike, only to freeze in shock as the kid effortlessly dodges his blade. With a devastating kick, Yi Baichen sends him flying, mocking the man's pathetic attempt. Immediately, 2 more attackers leap from above, shouting about his arrogance as they dive in. Unbothered, Yi Baichen watches them drop. In a flash, he catches both of their sharp steel blades with his bare fingers. The attackers stare in absolute horror at his indestructible grip. Calling their strength utterly pathetic, Yi Baichen shatters their metal weapons like glass. He reaches out, casually telling them to reincarnate and try practicing harder in their next life. Livid with rage, the leader slams his fist into the ground, swearing the kid won't leave this room alive. He channels his power, raising his hands to shatter the marble floor. Debris blasts outward, sending the terrified crowd screaming for cover. A massive cloud of smoke and rubble engulfs the entire hall. Watching the chaos, President Jiang grins, hoping the kid was crushed. As the dust settles, the leader smirks, but his jaw drops when he looks up. Floating calmly above the wreckage is Yi Baichen. The guests look up in absolute awe, wondering if they are witnessing some crazy magic. Seeing this, President Jiang pales, realizing he's dealing with a powerful martial cultivator. But the mercenary leader is too stubborn, screaming that the brat is dead meat for dodging his attack. Suddenly, the floating debris reverses direction, flying straight back at them. The mercenary leader gets hit dead on and crashes hard. Yi Baichen sighs, muttering about how utterly useless these hitmen are. We can't even blame those 2 girls for swooning over his unreal power and insanely good looks right now. Yi Baichen slowly approaches Jiang Shang, who cowers in sheer terror, begging him to stay back. Grabbing him, Yi Baichen admits to killing his son and demands he stop harassing the Jiang family immediately. Stunned, Jiang Shang tries to act tough, asking how he dares threaten him here. But before he can even finish, Yi Baichen shuts him up with a brutal slap, telling him to stop talking trash. He gives him a final warning to back off from the Jiang family, or face immediate death. Terrified, the man is left completely speechless. Meanwhile, we cut over to the Jiang family mansion. In his private office, Xiaohua's father looks over documents with a deeply worried face. He sighs, complaining that their rivals bought up all their businesses, leaving them totally ruined. Right then, his daughter walks in and tries to comfort him, insisting that their enemies cannot possibly control everything in this city. Still, he blames her for escaping her arranged marriage, ordering her to stay far away from that shady kid, Yi Beichen. Xiaohua quickly defends him, explaining he saved her life, but her father scoffs, calling him nothing but a broke high schooler. Suddenly, the desk phone rings. On the line, his secretary excitedly reports some unbelievable news. The hostile takeovers have been completely canceled, and their business is saved. Utterly shocked, his jaw drops as the secretary explains that a young man named Yi Baikin single-handedly crashed the banquet and settled everything. Hanging up, the father is left completely speechless, wondering what kind of powerhouse this young man truly is. As Zhao Hua eagerly asks what happened, he smiles, revealing her classmate was the one who saved them, leaving her stunned. Deeply impressed, her father asks her to invite him over so they can thank him in person. Happy, she promises to call him right away. Strolling down the street, Yi Baikin realizes those seemingly untouchable tycoons are actually total pushovers. Suddenly, his phone vibrates in his pocket, and he pulls it out to check the caller-ID. Answering the call, Xiao Hua warmly thanks him and invites him to her home. Curious, he asks for her address, and she tells him Fuyuan Estate. A few minutes later, he flags down a passing cab on the street. Hopping in, he tells the driver to head to Fuyuan Estate. The driver just smiles, telling him to buckle up. But suddenly, the driver locks all the doors and floors the gas pedal. Yi Baichen looks at him, calmly asking if he is driving a bit too fast. Smiling, the driver replies that they are just getting started. Suddenly, the driver leaps out of the speeding car, telling him to enjoy the ride. A second later, the taxi explodes into a massive fireball, sending thick smoke into the sky. The assassin lands smoothly, laughing about how easy that job was. While Alan praises his quick work, the driver reminds him their target is a martial artist, meaning he is likely still alive. Alan is ordered to bring the kid back alive so they can interrogate him about some mysterious key. Nodding, the driver turns back to secure the target. But as he approaches the flaming, ruined car, a dusty hand suddenly bursts out of the cracked asphalt. Yi Bacon climbs out of the crater, calling him a sneaky little rat. Annoyed, he warns the assassin that he is actually mad now. With one colossal punch to the face, he sends the driver blasting straight into the stratosphere. Alan mutters that they completely underestimated this kid, who walked away from a car bomb without a scratch. Turning around, Yi Baikin immediately recognizes the old man. He confronts him, asking if stealing his precious jade pendants wasn't enough, and now he is resorting to murder. But Alan snaps back, calling those relics useless trash and demanding the mysterious key instead. Yi Baikin just stares, totally clueless about what he is talking about. As Alan pulls a blade and gives him 10 seconds, trust me, you and I are about to see a massive beatdown in the next episode. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild standoff where a young man warns some armed goons to back off or die. Annoyed by his pride, Alan lunges with his weapon, but his blade hits an invisible barrier, freezing in midair. Shocked by the defense, Alan stands frozen while Yi Bei-chen effortlessly slips away, ready to deliver a devastating counterattack. With a swift kick, Yi Bei-chen sends Alan flying backward, knocking the weapon right out of his hand. The old master watches the entire clash in utter disbelief. When Yi demands answers about the key, the old man claims the secret is way beyond his league. Annoyed, our hero points at the elder, calls him completely useless, and decides his time is up. A single finger flick to the forehead is all it takes to end the old man. Looking down at his ring, Yi Bei-chen decides he needs a loyal shadow to dig into this mystery. He sends an energy message across space, reaching a white-haired master, meditating in deep silence. The order is simple: uncover every dark secret behind this mysterious Bureau of Rarities. Meanwhile, over at the Zhang mansion, Xiaohua's father asks if Yi will show up, but she reassures him. Right on cue, the young man arrives, waving casually and apologizing for the delay. The grateful father welcomes him with open arms and a massive smile. Shaking his hand warmly, he expresses endless gratitude for everything Yi has done to protect his family. They head inside to a grand banquet prepared in his honor. Sitting at the table, Xiaohua's father mentions once again that without Yi, their family would have faced utter ruin. Raising a glass, the father offers a heartfelt toast. Yi Bei-chen graciously accepts, saying it was his duty to fix the trouble he caused, and downs his drink in one shot. The father pushes his daughter to keep up with their guest, but the butler whispers a warning. He reminds the eager host that the young lady cannot handle her alcohol at all. Now pay attention to this hilarious plan. The dad whispers that if they do not get drunk, romance won't bloom. Trust me, He is determined to secure this amazing son-in-law. As the night rolls on, Yi and Xiaohua keep matching each other drink for drink. Seeing them completely wasted, the scheming father tells the butler to lead them to a bedroom. When the servant looks confused, the father snaps at him, demanding they be taken directly to his daughter's room. The butler quickly instructs a maid to guide the pair there. The maid tucks them both into the bed, wishing them a good night. Half conscious, Yi mutters a question about being called young master, but she just smiles and locks them in. As they sleep, Xiaohua snuggles close and sleepily asks about something hard next to her. Yi wraps his arms around her, telling her to quiet down and sleep until morning comes. The next morning, Xiaohua slowly opens her eyes. Turning over, she spots Ye Bei-chen sleeping peacefully beside her. Gasping in shock, she sits up and buries her face in her hands. The sudden panic wakes him, but before he can ask what is wrong, she slaps him hard and screams that he is a pervert. Dazed and confused, Yi demands to know how. All right, you and I are diving right into a crazy situation, where this girl demands to know what he did last night. He denies everything, but she points at his underwear, asking why on earth he isn't wearing pants. He doesn't even argue, just scrambles to get dressed, claiming it is all a huge misunderstanding. He grabs his gear and bolts, telling her to just go back to sleep. Outside, two guys watch him leave, with the older one whispering that the job is already done. Now far away, Yi scratches his head, desperately trying to remember last night. Suddenly, Dr. Xue pops up to greet him with some massive news about the Wanbao Tower. Now curious, Yi asks him what kind of information he managed to find. Dr. Xue reveals they found a spot with bricks matching the ones from before, and Yi demands to go there immediately. Soon, they pull up right in front of a massive commercial building. The doctor confirms this is it, explaining his men found the bricks inside. Not wanting to waste a single second, Yi decides to investigate personally, and they head for the entrance. Watch closely here because as he tries to walk in, he slams straight into an invisible barrier. Confused, he asks what's up, and Dr. Xu explains you need permission. Right then, a suited guy walks up and swipes a key card, opening the way. Finding this high-tech barrier pretty interesting for modern times, Yi steps inside the facility. They soon discover a room where three guys are sitting in a circle, with one boasting that the power of some treasure is going to level up his strength. When Ye asks where they are, Dr. Xue reveals the bricks were found right here, and those guys are actually cultivators. Peeking inside, Yi wonders if this entire building is just a cover. Suddenly, one of the guys barks out, demanding to know who is there. Yi tells Dr. Xue they are busted and not to panic, calmly stepping out into the open. He approaches the group to talk, but as they demand to know who he is, Yi just fires back, demanding the location of the Wanbao Tower. This completely shocks them. One of the guys uses his energy to make a sword levitate, grabbing it to prep an attack. In response, Yi Bacon decides to test his brand new technique, knowing he can't let these guys live. The others laugh, thinking one strike from their swordsman will end him, but you and I know Yi Baikin is about to propose a deal. Information on the tower in exchange for surviving this clash. The others mock his insane confidence, but the swordsman eagerly accepts the challenge anyway. The fighter charges ahead, with his blade raised, unleashing a heavy strike. Yu Baikin casually blocks it with his forearm, the heavy impact blowing them both backward. Right then, the buddies realize our main character is also a cultivator. The swordsman growls that since his opening move was blocked, the real fight starts now. He charges up a much deadlier technique, warning Ye not to blame him for being ruthless. A massive glowing tiger energy beast roars toward him, so Ye materializes a sword to defend himself. With one clean slash, Yi intercepts the tiger beast and completely vaporizes it. The onlookers are left utterly speechless, seeing his ultimate move shut down so easily. Calmly, Ye Baichen tells him his strike was way too weak and demands a surrender. His blade stops just inches from the guy's throat. Yi warns him that he lost, and if he wants to live, he needs to talk. The guy agrees, but instead of speaking, he slowly backs away. Then he pulls a dirty trick, spinning around to attack from behind. Yi Baiken, sighing, asks if he's really still trying to resist. Trust me, you and I are going to love seeing how he deals with this next time. Let's dive into this wild fight as two thugs charge, stabbing their blades right into Ye Baichen's neck. The boss sneers, thinking this legendary cultivator was just a massive disappointment. The rest of the gang laughs, mocking him for trying to provoke them. But the celebration is cut short as Yi Baiken's body dissolves into smoke. The clone completely vanishes, leaving the men utterly dazed and wondering if it was a decoy. Suddenly, the real Ye Baichen appears right behind them, warning that since they broke their word, he has no reason to be polite. With zero hesitation, he lunges forward, slashing his sword. The heavy strike collides with one of their protective barriers, shattering it into tiny pieces upon impact. The blast sends both men flying. Crawling back, the survivor gasps, wondering just how high Ye Baichen's cultivation level really is. Yi Baichen slowly approaches, declaring their little agreement officially dead. All right, you and I are stepping right into the action where he slashes with his sword, calling it their payback. The two men dissolve into pure ash, leaving the last survivor absolutely paralyzed with shock. In a total panic, the guy bolts, screaming for help. But Dr. Sue blocks his path, telling him nobody leaves without his master's say-so. Snared between them, the young man realizes he is completely trapped. Yi Baichen drops him with a heavy punch, reminding him he never gave him permission to run. Groveling on the dirt, the guy begs forgiveness, while Yi Baichen demands answers. Desperate for his life, he begs for mercy. Yi Baichen demands the cold truth about the legendary Wanbao Tower, and the trembling survivor admits it actually exists. He explains that years ago, Longxing Group's boss bought this land for a project, but during construction, the crew unearthed a mysterious bronze door and curiosity drew them straight into a hidden cave. Deep inside, they stumbled on an altar holding a strange gem. It radiated a bizarre energy perfect for power cultivation. A specialist later decoded a nearby stone stele, revealing the name the Wanbao Tower. Fast forward to today, Yi Baichen demands the location of this altar, but the guy freezes up, too terrified to speak. Suddenly, the guy convulses, coughing up blood from his nose and mouth. Dr. Sue panics, but Ye Baichen realizes they've been watched and someone just silenced their only witness. Pocketing the mysterious gem, he notes that things are getting way too complicated. He orders Dr. Sue to move out immediately. Meanwhile, in a dark chamber, a white-haired elder meditates. His eyes snap open. He summons an assassin, a young woman who demands to know his will. His order? Erase a specific target, and fast. Curious, she asks who the unfortunate soul is. Showing a projection of Yi Baichen, the elder marks him for death. The girl nods, vanishing into the shadows to hunt. Cut to a sunny morning, where a classmate happily greets our hero. He waves back, reflecting on how his once normal student life is turning into an absolute chaotic mess. With shadowy factions like Banjamin Jukuju and Longxing lurking, it is obvious that martial arts cultivation never actually died. It just changed its branding. He knows Jukuju wants his mysterious key, though its purpose remains a total mystery. Where is the key? And does he have amnesia? No answers yet. Later in class, their teacher steps up to announce some exciting news to the students. Now pay attention to this new transfer student, Sun Duo. She introduces herself with a sweet smile, but you and I know exactly who she really is. The classroom erupts into excited whispers. The teacher points her to an empty seat directly behind Yi Baichen. She nods quietly, taking her spot right in his blind spot. Sitting down, she watches him with a cold, knowing smirk. Right then, the bell saves the day. Yi Baichen stands up, stretches, and sighs with absolute relief. Suddenly, the new girl walks up, inviting him to lunch. Surprised, he asks if she is seriously talking to him. The nearby guys instantly burn with jealousy at his luck. Before he can decline, she grabs his hand, telling him not to be shy. Over at the restaurant, he gets suspicious of her extreme kindness, especially when she insists on paying. She claims it was love at first sight. Feeling highly skeptical of this sudden confession, he plays along, teasingly asking her to go grab him some chili. The moment he turns his back, she slips a mysterious powder into his bowl. Returning with the spice, she smoothly smiles and thanks him for the help. Saying he is starving, he happily digs in, devouring the whole bowl under her watchful, intense gaze. Time slowly ticks by. Mentally, she is screaming. Why is this deadly poison not working? Suddenly, a classmate interrupts, letting Yi Baichen know there is an urgent meeting in the dorms right now. Yi Baichen agrees, glad for a chance to bond with his peers. He asks his friend to lead the way, and the guy happily obliges. She calls out to him, but he is already out the door. Clenching her fists in frustration, her hand starts bleeding. Yi Baichen silently wonders what this deadly assassin will try next. She is furious her poison failed. Meanwhile, let's follow our hero as he arrives with his buddy at the meetup. His friend introduces him as the legendary missing roommate. The guys welcome him, but the peace shatters when a thug kicks the door wide open. Everyone spins around in shock. A cocky gang struts in, claiming they booked this entire hotel and demanding that the students get lost. One friend challenges their claim, while another flat out refuses to budge. They got here first, and this random eviction makes zero sense. Furious, the gang leader barks a threat, asking if he wants to die. Without warning, he lands a brutal punch right on the student's face. The red-haired classmate, absolutely enraged, gets ready to throw down. He lunges forward, throwing a wild punch, but the thug easily dodges, calls him pathetic, and delivers a brutal blow to his back. The force sends him flying through the air. His friends catch him, panicking. Losing all patience, the leader orders his thugs to break him. That is when Yi Bacon steps in, saying they cannot just beat his friend and leave. The thugs laugh, eager to thrash him next. His friend begs him to run, but Yi Bacon calmly demands medical compensation. The leader erupts in laughter, ordering his henchmen to slaughter him. The thugs charge like wild beasts. Effortlessly, Yi Bacon dodges the opening strike, mocking their pathetic speed. He slams one thug over his shoulder, promising to teach them how to fight. Without skipping a beat, he dismantles the rest. One swift throw sends another goon crashing through a wall, leaving the leader completely speechless. His classmates stare in awe, wondering if he is a secret martial arts grandmaster. Yi Bacon corners the leader, politely asking for that cash again. Terrified, the guy pulls out his phone, screaming that he is with the powerful Banshan Gate. He calls his boss, whimpering that a crazy kid is bullying their guys at the hotel. Yi Bacon just smiles, curious to see who this big boss is. 30 minutes later, Dr. Shu bursts in, demanding to see who dare threaten his crew. The thug cheers, pointing accusingly at Yi Bacon as the culprit. But Dr. Sue freezes, his eyes widening as he recognizes his master. Yi Bacon chuckles, asking if Dr. Sue runs this gang. Instantly, Dr. Sue drops to his knees, begging forgiveness. The thug is utterly dumbfounded. His classmate is stunned to see him command such a powerhouse. Dr. Sue beckons the trembling thug forward and grabs his arm with a cold grip. With a brutal snap, he twists the arm, declaring it is payment for disrespecting his master. Screaming in agony, the thug is ordered to scramble. The guy runs for his life. Yi Bacon nods in approval, and Dr. Sue bows, deeply honored. Finally, Yi Bacon asks about Wanbao Tower. No news yet, but Juki is hunting him for that key, and trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping into a crazy story where Yi Bacon spots a familiar name. When Dr. Sue asks if they know each other, our main character shrugs it off as a mere old acquaintance. He quickly sends Dr. Sue away to finish catching up with his roommates. One friend asks if he comes from some ultra-powerful noble family, but Yi Bacon just laughs and says he is totally ordinary. After raising a toast to his buddies, the night flies by. Hours later, the group finally calls it a night, saying their goodbyes as they head home to get some much-needed sleep. He waves them off, promising to meet up tomorrow. But as he walks down the dark street alone, the heavy alcohol makes his vision go blurry. Suddenly, boom. His classmate Sun Duo lunges out of the shadows with a knife. While Yi Bacon yawns and mutters about being tired, this girl suddenly leaps at him with a deadly dagger. He spins around, instantly recognizing her as his classmate, Sun Duo. She suddenly acts incredibly shy, trying to look harmless. He asks how on earth she got here when she is supposed to be back at school. Meanwhile, she is secretly plotting to take him down while he is still off guard. She grabs his arm and confesses her love, but he finds this whole display sketchy and demands to know what she is up to. Confident, Sun Duo strikes a pose, asking if he is absolutely sure about rejecting her. She claims she is totally sure, but Yi Bacon asks if she is actually a cross-dressing boy, given how flat she is. Livid, she asks if he is trying to insult her. Dropping the innocent act, she unsheathes her sharp dagger and charges forward, screaming that she is going to end his life right here. Before she can strike, he grabs her wrist, mocking her lack of control and pure inexperience. He notes she must have worked incredibly hard to infiltrate his school, just to get close to him. He immediately counterattacks, but Sun Duo manages to block the strike with her daggers. Even so, our main character spots a perfect opening and lands a devastating, precise kick right to her chest. The impacts sends her crashing to the ground. He demands to know her real identity, but she only asks when he first figured out she was an imposter. Now get this, he actually knew from the second she poisoned his noodles. She is totally shocked, realizing he was just playing along this whole time. So, what is her real goal here? He demands to know exactly who sent her, but she refuses to say a word. With a cold, subtle smile, he asks if she is absolutely sure about staying silent. Yi Bacon grabs her outfit and warns her that the gentle treatment is officially over. As she screams for help, he gets dangerously close, prompting her to break down in tears and promise to confess everything. He warns her that she only gets one shot to tell the truth. Terrified, she confesses that her boss is Mang Jiang, leader of the Longsing group and a high elder of the Juki Bureau. Yi Bacon slowly repeats those names to himself. Smirking, he whispers that, if that is the case, it looks like they are dealing with an old friend. Sun Duo begs to leave, but he will only let her go if she delivers a message, demanding Mang Jiang meet him near the school tomorrow. Confused, she asks what he is doing, and he explains it is an open challenge to settle their scores once and for all. Shocked, she asks if he has completely lost his mind. But with a quick flash, Yi Baichen vanishes, leaving her with a promise that they will meet tomorrow. An hour later, Sun Duo enters a hidden room inside a massive skyscraper to find her boss. The master assassin asks how the hit went, but she bows her head, apologizing for her complete failure. Furious, he crushes the paper in his fist, demanding how she dares show her face after failing. She quickly explains that she only returned to deliver a message, making him demand to know what it is. She delivers the threat, explaining that he is being challenged to a final, decisive battle tomorrow near the school to settle their bloody history. The boss wonders why this kid holds such a massive grudge, and Sun Duo explains he wants payback for being hunted by the Juki Bureau. Intrigued by what kind of beef a teenager could have against them, he reaches for his phone. The master calls the Grand Elder, asking if he recognizes the name Yi Bacon. On the other end, a voice instantly responds, asking if it is the same kid who stole their legendary key. You and I both know how lucky this villain feels right now. After searching everywhere, his target literally just delivered himself on a silver platter. He cannot help but smile at his luck. He accepts the challenge, sending Sun Duo away. Meanwhile, Yi Baiken sits down in absolute silence to meditate. Deep in focus, he whispers that tomorrow's battle will be massive, requiring preparation. Suddenly, a mystical book emerges from his mouth, releasing strange figures that dissolve into a glowing aura around him. A legendary sword materializes in front of him. He notes that combining this blade with the law of thunder can destroy even the oldest monsters. Instantly, massive lightning bolts streak across the night sky. Staring out the window at the storm, the master assassin wonders what powerhouse is cultivating. Feeling the crushing pressure, he realizes this power is beyond godlike, making the city incredibly dangerous. As the sun slowly rises over the skyline, several shadow figures land heavily on a rooftop. One of them looks around, asking if this is the agreed meeting spot. Just then, the master assassin arrives with Sun Duo in tow, confirming that they are indeed standing in the exact right place. The master tells Meng Jiang that capturing Ye Beichen will be a massive win, and Meng Jiang promises the kid is dead. But the master corrects him, stating the key is their top priority, and Meng Jiang nods in agreement. Without wasting a single second, he orders the squad to advance. The master and Sun Duo leap from the rooftop, telling her to stay close behind him. One thug grumbles that letting Meng Jiang handle this is overkill, while another laughs, confident that if Ye Beichen actually shows his face, he is as good as dead. Meng Jiang orders his men to set up a backup trap just in case things go south. They leap off to deploy it, while he checks his watch, wondering if the kid chickened out as lunchtime approaches with no sign of him. Soon, a henchman returns to report that the trap is fully set. Meng Jiang simply grunts and orders them to keep waiting. Another guy asks where this kid is, laughing that he must have run away. Sneering, Meng Jiang says a weak brat like him would never have the guts to show up, calling the whole thing pure talk. Meanwhile, the master wonders if they were played, but Sun Duo promises the threat was real, leaving him to think he highly overestimated the boy. Just then, Yi Beichen steps out of a nearby alley, casually asking who they are talking about. Shocked, Sun Duo spots him and alerts her boss. Up on the roof, the thugs chuckle at his lack of fear. Yi Baichen calmly asks if that man is Meng Jiang. The master chuckles, praising his immense bravery but offering to spare his life if he just hands over the key. But the young man snaps back, reminding them that he is the one who called this meeting, so they should be the ones begging for mercy. Yi Bacon claims he doesn't have the key, but warns it is time they pay for hunting him. Infuriated, the master draws his blade, asking if the kid takes him for an idiot who would believe lies at death's door. He unleashes a deadly strike, screaming to see how long the boy can play tough. But without flinching, Yi Bacon catches the flying weapon with his bare hands. In pure shock, the master and Sun Duo stare, unable to believe he stopped the blade barehanded. Up on the roof, Meng Jiang looks on. Surprised the kid actually possesses real power, Yi Baichen instantly shatters the weapon, sending fragments flying at the master. As he blocks them, he realizes the kid is incredibly strong, and trust me, you and I are in for an epic showdown next time. Alright, you and I are about to jump into a brutal fight. Flying debris blasts Sun Duo away, and right then, our main character appears with his sword, daring Meng Jiang and the Juki Bureau to step up. He strikes first, mocking them that a single opponent is too boring. The assassin leader barely blocks it, shocked by how fast Yi Baichen closed the distance. The heavy impact forces him back, disarming him completely. Yi Baichen readies another strike, telling the leader not to cry mercy now that his only chance at survival is gone. A barrage of rapid sword strikes follows, slamming the assassin leader hard into the dirt. Lying defeated, he desperately wonders how this kid can be so strong. Sun Duo rushes over to her fallen boss, who is completely incapacitated. Clutching his blade, Yi Baichen laughs, mocking the man for overestimating his own weak powers. Up on the roof, the scouts are freaking out. They thought Meng Jiang was already dead. Now they realize this kid has been hiding his real power all along. Meng Jiang snaps and orders his men to trigger the trap, wanting revenge. Meanwhile, Ye Baichen confronts Sun Duo, asking about the rest of the Juki Bureau, but she backs away in absolute terror. Suddenly, the ground collapses right under him, dragging him into the dark depths below, where he lands amidst a thick cloud of dust. Meng Jiang proudly declares this is the legendary Purgatory Formation, a deadly zone nobody survives, meaning the boy is finished. Down on one knee, Yi Baichen looks around, realizing he has been lured into a spiritual trap. He realizes the Juki Bureau was too scared to face him face to face, resorting to cheap tricks instead. Suddenly, 3 massive mud monsters rise from the ground. One giant beast lunges, but Yi Baichen dodges just as it smashes the ground. He wonders what these freaky things are, but there is no time as they quickly surround him. The muddy beasts press forward, smashing the earth around him. He wonders if they really think this trash can kill him. Gathering his energy, Yi Baichen prepares an attack, shouting Tian Zhen. The slash cuts right through them, slicing the monsters in half. Now watch this part carefully. He knows he cannot waste time here and needs to escape immediately. But wait, the mud begins to reform. Shocked, he wonders if these things are immortal as they fully regenerate and advance again. Realizing this, he decides that if they will not die, he will slice through the actual space around them. He readies his blade for another clash. He activates the first form of his Heavenly Thunder Sword. With a massive slash, one sword opens the heavens. He completely tears the monsters and the pocket dimension apart. Meng Jiang panics, screaming in shock. He and his goon realize their secure formation has been completely shattered by some insanely powerful sword energy. Meng Jiang watches in horror as Yi Baichen steps out of the rift. From her hiding spot, Sun Duo wonders just how high this guy's cultivation level must be. Yi Baichen yells, calling out the cowards of the Juki Bureau. He scans the rooftops, immediately spotting them, making Meng Jiang realize they are totally busted. One lackey suggests they swarm him, while another thinks they can win together. However, Meng Jiang warns them that this kid is far too dangerous to fight recklessly. He orders a retreat so they can regroup, and his men quickly agree. But suddenly, Yi Baichen blocks their path, taunting them to run. Meng Jiang instantly realizes that the tables have turned. Yi Baichen mocks them, asking why they are running when they came looking for him. One goon nervously asks what he wants. The young man calmly says he is here to settle the score with their lives. Meng Jiang snarls back, claiming they are not afraid just because their leader fell. One lackey calls him too arrogant to live, while another suggests turning his corpse into a puppet for their master. Hearing this, the young man simply repeats the word master with a cold stare. You and I both know how this ends. They charge, spinning a massive blade, but Yi Baichen blocks it effortlessly, telling them their strength is decent but still far too weak. He shoves one back as the other leaps for a mid-air strike. Back on the ground, they scream at him to drop his arrogance, bringing a blade down right at his head. Unbothered, Yi Baichen calls them both weaklings. He drives his sword into the ground, unleashing wild surges of electrical energy that form a massive lightning dragon roaring with pure power. The beast charges, blasting both men instantly. Meng Jiang stares at their lifeless bodies on the ground, terrified of this unbelievable power. Yi Baichen lunges forward, asking why he is hesitating since it is his turn to die. Furious, Meng Jiang calls him a fraud who fooled everyone. He conjures several glowing energy orbs, screaming that he is not afraid. He hurls the deadly projectiles at him, but Yi Baichen effortlessly parries them all with his sword. Smirking, Yi Baichen admits that Meng Jiang is slightly more entertaining than the rest. In a flash, he charges forward at blinding speed. Meng Jiang looks to the sky, desperately wondering if the kid literally vanished into thin air. Suddenly, Ye Baichen appears behind him, slicing his arm and forcing him to his knees on the cold ground. Holding his bleeding arm, he curses Ye Baichen for hurting him. Meng Jiang pulls out a secret pill, admitting he never wanted to forcefully boost his cultivation this way. Yet, he swallows it anyway, having no other option. Instantly, Yi Baichen senses his aura shift as a massive wave of dark energy explodes around Meng Jiang. Meng Jiang unleashes 2 massive, swirling energy tornadoes. Trapped right between the dual vortexes, Yi Baichen quickly realizes he is completely paralyzed and unable to move. Even under that heavy pressure, he struggles to break free. Meng Jiang laughs, mocking him for being so weak, but with a smug grin, Ye Baichen asks if he really thinks this is over. Shocked, Meng Jiang gasps that he should be dead, but Yi Baichen unleashes a devastating slash, declaring his enemy is the one who will die, landing a direct, brutal hit. Meng Jiang crashes violently into a wall, turning away. Ye Baichen mutters that the Juki Bureau was an absolute disappointment. With his revenge complete, it is time to handle other business. Suddenly, Ye Baichen drops to his knees. Sun Duo desperately begs for her life, but he tells her to quiet down since he has no plans to kill her. The young man approaches the dead assassin master. Touching his forehead, he senses clues about the legendary pavilion of 100 treasures and decides to search his residual memories. Glowing energy flows from his hand, triggering a sudden memory flash. He finds himself standing deep inside a cave, staring at a pool of mysterious, glowing liquid. A mustached man floats inside the pool, swearing he will never forget Yi Baichen before the vision fades. Returning to reality, Yi Baichen calls Jin Daiyu to check his location. Learning he is near the school, Ye Baichen tells him to wait at the front gate. Hanging up, he realizes the pavilion clues are too vague, meaning he must investigate it himself. Suddenly, Dr. Shui rushes over, bowing deeply to his master and awaiting instructions. Yi Baichen hands him a strange mask and a card, leaving the doctor completely confused. He explains they are a disguise mask and a fake identity. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens when he uses this to infiltrate the Longxing group. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild ride. First, our main character dismisses Dr. Shui to rest, while Wu Ting waits with a massive feast. Yi Baichen steps inside and announces he is back. She warmly invites him to eat, since his timing is perfect. Looking at the delicious spread, the young man grabs a bowl, completely skipping the polite small talk. Wu Ting tells him to slow down before he chokes. But suddenly, Jiang Xiaohua bursts in shouting his name. She furiously demands to know why he ran out of her room just to meet another woman. Ignoring his cries about his unfinished food, she drags him outside by the hand. Once they are out, he asks what she actually wants. Jiang Xiaohua explains she needs a special medicine to heal her meridians, pulling him into a massive shopping center where a vendor is loudly announcing their fresh stock of rare herbs. She is fully confident she will find it here because of the big conference today. But Yi Baichen points out that with all these mixed smells, identifying specific herbs is going to be tough. Suddenly, a strange scent catches his attention. Intrigued, he walks over to a table displaying unique ingredients. As Jiang Xiaohua watches, he picks up a bizarre, mysterious flower. His vision suddenly warps. He sees a mustached man lying in a pool of liquid with a flower growing straight out of his chest. And then, the corpse snaps its eyes open and screams. The illusionary flower shoots forward, hitting him in the chest. Jiang Xiaohua rushes to support him, but he plays it off as nothing, realizing the plant holds a powerful residual memory. Staring at the herb, he wonders if this thing can actually revive the dead. The vendor asks if he is buying, while bystanders whisper that anyone who touches this blood flower dies mysteriously. But pay attention here, the vendor demands 10 million if he is brave enough. Without a second thought, our main character whips out his card and buys it. Jiang Xiaohua asks if he is actually serious, and he casually replies that he never jokes. Smirking at his luck, the greedy vendor reaches out his hand to take the credit card. He swipes the card, laughing inside at this absolute fool. Annoyed at the situation, Jiang Xiaohua calls him useless for letting it happen, while the crowd whispers that the guy must have a mental problem. At the next stall, another vendor is shouting about his high-quality pills. Jiang Xiaohua asks what they do, and he claims they boost longevity and aid in cultivation. Excited, she rushes over, thinking she has found the solution. She asks the vendor for the price, but he smugly tells her that each pill will cost 100 million. She is completely shocked, demanding to know why a pill is so expensive. The vendor just tells her to get lost and stop ruining his business if she has no money. Right then, Yi Baichen steps in, asking how he dares to sell such low-quality trash for that price. Watching nearby, a couple gets intrigued and decides to see how this plays out. The vendor tells him to scram, but Yi Baichen doubles down, calling the product absolute garbage. Looking at him with deep disgust, the merchant asks if he can actually produce anything better. Yi Baichen replies that he does not have any on hand, but he can easily refine some right now, shocking Jiang Xiaohua. The watching couple mocks him, saying refining is not for amateurs. The vendor bets that if he succeeds, he will eat his own words while upside down. Without hesitation, Yi Baichen accepts, walking up to a massive cauldron as the vendor demands to know his plan. With zero effort, he lifts the heavy cauldron with a single hand, stunning the crowd with his raw strength before tossing a handful of rare herbs inside. Smiling, he tells everyone to open their eyes wide. Watch closely, because he tosses the cauldron into the air to show them real refining, leaving the vendor stammering, asking if he is a cultivator. The cauldron stops spinning, and nothing but thick smoke pours out. Jiang Xiaohua nervously asks if that is it, while the couple laughs, calling the entire show a massive failure. Suddenly, a bright beam of light shoots from the cauldron as a single red pill floats up. A heavenly aroma instantly fills the room, making the watching couple gasp. The woman whispers in disbelief, asking if it is a top-tier pill. The stunned vendor cannot believe his eyes, while Yi Baikin calmly smiles, confirming his success. He hands the glowing pill to Jiang Xiaohua as a gift. Clutching it, she asks if he is serious, wondering if she is dreaming because he actually knows how to refine pills. Yi Baichen notes that this shop has terrible ingredients anyway, telling her to just come to him next time. Nearby, the couple finally admits they were the real fools here. He turns to the vendor to remind him of their bet, but the man tries to play dumb. Stepping forward with an icy, intense glare, Yi Baichen asks if he is sure about that. With a single, cold command, he orders the merchant to kneel, forcing him straight to the floor. Terrified, the vendor cannot comprehend why his own body won't obey him. Yi Baichen tells Jiang Xiaohua it is time to go, and she quickly follows him out. Behind them, the humiliated vendor grabs his phone, swearing revenge, before calling his president to report a massive problem. Once outside, Yi Baichen asks if she actually needed that pill, and she explains it is for her father's treatment. Hearing this, he gently asks what kind of illness the man has. Jiang Xiaohua admits they are not sure because it is an incredibly rare case. Suddenly, a loud voice barks at them to freeze, causing Yi Baichen to turn and see who is calling. The vendor has returned with a squad of armed thugs, shouting that they cannot walk away after ruining his pride. He immediately orders his goons to attack and destroy them. But an older man, the association president, shows up with his own guards, commanding everyone to halt. The vendor points at our hero, but the president claims they need elite talent like him. The vendor is left completely baffled by this twist. The president extends a hand, inviting Yi Baichen to join their powerful group, but the young man instantly rejects the offer. Hearing the rejection, the president's face instantly turns dark. Yi Baichen casually tells them to step aside because he is in a hurry, but the old man issues a cold warning. He snaps that he does not fear cultivators, only wanting the boy's refining skills. Ignoring the threat, Yi Baichen tells him to shut up because he is too noisy, infuriating the proud president. Enraged, he orders his guards to execute him. 4 henchmen draw their blades, surrounding the couple and screaming for the young man to prepare for death. Yi Baichen calls them annoying, and instantly, massive lightning strikes the thugs down. The president is left completely stunned, quickly trying to claim it was all just a little test. He declares that the real show is starting as his top bodyguards step up. They slam their hands into the ground, sending massive pillars of fire and ice toward them as Jiang Xiaohua screams in terror. Unbothered, Yi Baichen summons a glowing sword, telling her not to worry. He charges straight into the danger, promising to protect her from anyone who dares to cross them. His sword strike surges forward with overwhelming force. The bodyguards are shocked by the legendary technique they have never seen before, and as Yi Baichen closes in, they realize the deadly danger. With one swift movement, our hero sweeps past both of them, slicing them down. The president watches in absolute horror as his strongest fighters are defeated in a single second. Yi Baichen warns them that they pushed him too far, and trust me, you and I know they had it coming. A single, devastating strike hits both the president and the vendor. He warns them that they get to live today, but there will be no mercy next time. Bleeding and confused, the terrified president can only wonder who this monster is. Let's dive into a wild story where nothing is as it seems. Our main character, Yi Baichen, is loaded with secrets, and Jiang Xiaohua is starting to notice. After he snaps her back to reality, they arrive at her home. Curious about her father's bizarre sickness, Baichen reveals he actually knows a thing or two about medicine. Xiaohua opens the door, calling out to her family as she steps inside. Inside, the floor is covered with unconscious men. Baichen immediately senses danger, questioning what went down here. Terrified, Xiaohua runs past them, screaming out for her father. She frantically searches the house, begging her dad to stop playing around. Meanwhile, Baichen activates a special eye technique, tracking strange energy trails leading away from the fallen men. He wonders how such pure power could exist in a place like this. Following the energy, his eyes lock onto a mysterious mustached man who quickly turns, demanding to know who is spying on him. Shocked, Baichen cannot believe his eyes. How could something like this survive for over 2,000 years? Desperate, Xiaohua begs him to use his powers to find her missing father, Baiken assures her he has a solid lead. Telling her to hold on, he sweeps her up in his arms and takes off, leaping effortlessly through the air. They land right outside a dark cave. When she asks if her dad is inside, Baiken nods, feeling the exact same energy signature he detected back at her home. She begs him to hurry inside. There, they discover a man floating in a glowing pool, with a strange object floating down toward him. Xiaohua gasps, confirming that is definitely her father. Baichen asks if her father has any mortal enemies, but she insists he is a gentle man with no rivals at all. Now pay attention, because this is where things get incredibly dangerous. Before she can run to help her father, Baiken yells for her to stop as deadly arrows fly straight at them. The arrows barely miss her. He leaps in front of her, conjuring an energy barrier to block the onslaught, but the force is so heavy, the shield immediately starts cracking. Watching from the shadows, the mustached foe realizes this kid is no ordinary opponent. He decides he needs to look closer into Baiken's true identity. Baichen holds her back, warning that the cavern is loaded with hostile energy. He tells her to stay put while he unleashes a massive energy projection of his own hand, sending it crashing through the darkness. Suddenly, two identical figures rise from the pool. Sensing another threat, Baichen pushes Xiaohua down, warning her that someone is tracking them from behind. An attack explodes right above their heads, making Xiaohua scream. Rising to his feet, Baichen sighs, complaining that he only wanted a simple rescue mission, not a massive battle. Drawing his blade, he decides to play along with his enemy's games. He unleashes a devastating slash that collides head-on with sharp spikes shooting out of the water. His attack manifests into a massive, glowing dragon that slams into the water. The mustached villain looks on in shock as the beast targets the meditating figure in the pool. The foe conjures a shield, amused that he was spotted. Meanwhile, Baichen pulls the father out of the water, handing him to Xiaohua, warning her that this kidnapper is highly dangerous. He orders her to take her dad and run, but she hesitates. Baiken snaps at her, demanding she go immediately before things get worse. Telling him to be careful, she drags her father toward the exit. Baichen watches them leave just as the mustached villain leaps into the air to strike down his summon. Mocking the dragon as a mere beast, the attacker strikes it directly, forcing the summon to disperse. Baichen stands calm, closely studying his opponent's battle style. Let's pause here. The enemy hovers out of the pool, staring down our main character with an intense look. He finally smiles, saying they have met at last. Baichen calmly asks who he is. The man scoffs, demanding how he can ask that after slaughtering so many members of his organization. Realizing he is from the Jukai Bureau, Baichen listens as the man admits he wants revenge. Baichen quickly puts the pieces together. The father was just bait to lure him here. The villain praises his sharp mind, but claims revenge isn't his main goal. Grabbing Bacon's sword barehanded, letting his blood spill, he reveals he only wants to steal Bacon's secrets. Suddenly, sharp spikes erupt and impale Baiken. Coughing blood, he drops his sword and stumbles backward, cursing the villain for using such a dirty, underhanded tactic. The bearded villain sneers, declaring that Baichen cannot escape as more deadly projectiles rain down on him. But Baichen simply chuckles, asking whoever said he had plans to run. He summons a fresh shield to deflect the incoming strikes. With a quick gesture, he recalls his sword, sending it flying right back at the shocked opponent. Defiant, the man covers himself in dark aura, refusing to back down. But Baichen's sword tears right through his barrier, completely shattering his defenses. Catching his sword, Baichen looks down at his defeated enemy. He demands his true identity, noting his ancient energy does not belong in this modern era. The man grins, recognizing the move from the Qingyun Gate. Shocked, Baichen asks how he could possibly know that secret sect technique. The man chuckles, stating he knows far more than just the move, beginning to explain his deep history. A quick flashback shows him standing before the ancient sect gates, muttering about destiny. Back in the present, he tells Baichen they are alike, yet they live in totally different worlds. Reaching out, he calls Baichen a mere kid. Baichen prepares for another clash, but the mysterious man simply waves goodbye, promising they will meet again before fading right into the solid wall. Staring at the empty stone wall, Baichen wonders if his foe really vanished. He sighs, muttering about how bizarre and confusing the guy was. He wonders if the whole encounter was just a test of his abilities. Meanwhile, out in a forest clearing, Xiaohua is desperately shaking her father, begging him to wake up. Checking his pulse, her face pales. His heart has stopped. Realizing they are running out of time, she quickly adjusts his collar to help him breathe. Baichen walks up, asking if her father has shown any signs of waking up. Crying, she says her father is not going to make it. Confused, Baichen asks what is wrong, and she explains her medical injection did not work at all. Checking him over, Baichen notes his life force is almost entirely gone. But just as she loses all hope, he mentions there might still be one crazy option left. She weeps, saying it is useless since her father is practically dead. Baichin pulls out a strange red flower, suggesting they try it. When she doubts the flower can save him, he notes it costs him a fortune. He places the magical flower near the dying man's chest. Suddenly, the father's eyes snap open, and he desperately screams at them to stop. He calls Baichin insane, warning that the flower is cursed. As a petal falls onto his chest anyway, Xiaohua panics, screaming at Baichin to get that evil thing away from her father. She turns back, but to her absolute shock, her father is already standing. He calls her name, looking around in confusion, wondering how they ended up in this forest. Crying tears of joy, she bows in deep gratitude. Baichin inspects the flower, noting that it drops a petal each time it saves a life, wondering if the curse claims the user once it goes bare. Xiaohua bows to apologize for doubting him. Then, she kisses his cheek, leaving him totally speechless. And honestly, you and I can agree. Miss Jiang knows how to surprise a guy. All right, you and I are diving into a sweet memory they shared. Right before Jiang, Xiaohua approaches and asks if she startled him earlier. She tells him not to worry, admitting she was just too excited, and he reassuringly replies that it is fine. Yi Baiken smiles, saying he completely understands. But suddenly, a dark figure darts past. He instantly turns, demanding to know who is there. Dr. Xue steps out, explaining he has urgent news for his master. Hearing that prestigious title, Jiang Xiaohua gasps in total shock. The doctor reveals he used the identity card to track a hidden location, possibly the legendary Wanbao Pavilion. Yi Baichen eagerly asks if it is true, thrilled to finally secure a solid lead. Turning to Jiang Xiaohua, he explains he has urgent business, and she readily lets him go. Dr. Xue urges him to move fast, and both of them leap into the dark night sky. Watching them vanish, she mutters that Yi holds far too many secrets. 3 hours later, they reach a desolate canyon. Yi Baichen asks if this is the clue, and Dr. Xue nods. He urges the master to look closely, noting the altar as a perfect match for the one under Long Sing. Yi Baichen agrees, realizing the resemblance is absolutely uncanny. Dr. Xue explains that the mystical bead they found should link with the altar and suggests a test. Yi Baichen stares at the sphere, wondering if it will actually work. Deciding to risk it, he starts the test. A massive pillar of light shoots from the altar, and Dr. Xue screams a warning as the ground beneath Yi Baichen begins to shatter. In a blinding flash of light, he completely vanishes. Elsewhere, a bird quietly perches on a branch. A mustached man holding the sphere appears, chuckling that the kid has so many secrets. Suddenly, Dr. Xue and Yi Baichen crash down from the sky, hitting the dirt at the exact same time. Rising to his feet, Yi Baichen stares at the massive gate ahead. He demands to know where they are. Spotting a group walking off, they overhear one mention an elder's command, while another agrees that something huge is going down. Dr. Xue asks what is going on, and he warns him that this place feels deeply wrong. Pay attention here, because something massive suddenly appears in the sky. Yi Baichen spins around, gasping, before shoving the doctor down and screaming at him to kneel. Both are pinned to the earth by sheer pressure. The trembling doctor asks what is happening, but Yi Baichen is just as lost. Suddenly, the entire landscape shifts, leaving him completely baffled. The doctor stammers, wondering if they met a ghost. But Yi Baichen clarifies it was only an illusion, and this new landscape is reality. Dr. Xue nods, finally understanding. Still, Yi Baichen senses trouble, feeling a chilling gaze locked onto them. Suddenly, a colossal beast looms before them. Dr. Xue shrieks in panic, but Yi Baichen has already drawn his sword. With zero hesitation, he lunges forward, landing a devastating strike. The doctor tries to thank him, but Yi Baichen cuts him off, sensing something even more bizarre lies just ahead. Suddenly, Yi Baichen freezes. A silent cultivator sits in deep meditation, surrounded by hostile beasts. He wonders if a single soul is still alive here. He quickly senses the man's life force is barely there, far too faint. Dr. Xue recognizes the beasts as dark spirits. As they close in, Yi Baichen warns they are incredibly powerful. But out of nowhere, the spirits are blasted and drop. The baffled doctor wonders what occurred, but Yi Baichen decides that saving this man might be their only shot at getting answers. The meditating cultivator slowly turns, shocked to see living souls. He rises to his feet, proclaiming with passion that he always knew hope for humanity was never truly dead. The stranger blurs right up to Yi Baichen, demanding to know his origins and sect, but when Yi Baichen counters by asking about this ruined place and the beasts, the man only becomes more disoriented. Grabbing his head in agony, the man screams about his splitting headache. crying out that he remembers nothing before collapsing onto the dirt. Suddenly, his wild eyes lock onto the sphere in Ye Baichen's hand. He leaps up, demanding to know where he got it, and lunges to snatch it back. But Ye Baichen effortlessly dodges. "Since you want to fight, do not blame me for being rough. Now, you and I need to watch this closely." The man's body swells with monstrous muscle as he lunges at Ye Baichen. Dr. Sue screams a warning, but Ye Baichen is faster, slashing his sword. The shadowy foe instantly dissipates and crumbles to the earth. Sheathing his weapon, Ye Baichen notes that if that was a phantom of pure obsession, some absolute nightmare must have unfolded here. Dr. Sue suddenly points upward, gasping in surprise. A glowing key materializes in midair, leaving Ye Baichen wondering if it is real. It flies straight into a wall, locking in place as a massive crack splits the stone open. Staring close, Ye Baichen senses an entirely different realm on the other side. He decides they must investigate, leading the doctor down a massive staircase descending into pitch-black darkness. Ye Baichen cautions Dr. Sui to stay alert in this mysterious depth. Reaching the end, they discover a breathtaking hall with massive pillars covered in ancient carvings. Ye Baichen explains they are memory inscriptions. When the doctor asks what that means, he explains that ancients used them to record history through visions instead of text. The doctor is utterly amazed. Without warning, a beam of raw energy blasts down from above, hitting Ye Baichen. He grips his temples, groaning as an intense headache strikes. Suddenly, a vision plays. A young cultivator approaches, demanding to know why he has not ascended yet. Confused, Ye Baichen wonders what ascension means, realizing he is trapped inside a memory inscription. The youth sneers, explaining this is their divine shot at ascending to the immortal realm, mockingly asking if he has not even reached the basic stage yet. Calling him worthless trash, the youth lunges with a sword to end him. But Ye Baichen grabs the bare blade with his hand, warning him to back off as the entire illusion starts to shatter. A massive, swirling vortex of energy appears in the sky, violently sucking in the levitating cultivators. We see one desperate man dragged helplessly toward the sphere. Ye Baichen watches in horror as the giant energy sphere slams into the earth. A terrifying beast emerges, slaughtering everyone in sight, as a desperate voice echoes that ascension is a massive trap. Snapping back to reality, Ye Baichen realizes he was temporarily pulled into the inscription, witnessing a horrifying memory left behind by the dead. He wonders if that disaster struck 2,000 years ago. Suddenly, he winces in pain again. Dr. Sue rushes over, deeply worried, calling out to ask if his master is all right. Ye Baichen assures him he is fine, making the doctor sigh with relief. The doctor then shows a strange item he found, and Ye Baichen asks what it is. Dr. Sue explains it is a manual from the Baibao Pavilion detailing how to open it. Intrigued, Ye Baichen asks for the method, and Sue reveals his master's sphere is one of 2 keys. Ye Baichen wonders if this is true. This proves someone is intentionally protecting these dangerous keys from falling into the wrong hands. He wonders why, and if it connects to the great disaster. Sensing a hidden gaze, Dr. Sue suggests they leave immediately. Ye Baichen agrees, commanding him to keep this place secret. The doctor bows as his master walks away. Half an hour later, the empty altar stands silent. They reappear. Elsewhere, a mustached man watches from a branch, asking if they have gone. "Trust me, you and I will see him soon." He chuckles, noting their trip must have been highly profitable, before vanishing into thin air. Meanwhile, back in a quiet classroom, time slowly ticks on. All right, let's dive into this wild story where Zhang Ziwen pokes a sleeping Ye Baichen on his desk. While Zhang Xiaoru and the class celebrate some crazy news, our main character could not care less. Outside, under a bright, sunny sky, a bus pulls up. The teacher leads the students out of the school and they head out, driving down an empty road. Suddenly, the asphalt cracks under the tires. The driver gasps as the road caves in, sending the bus plunging down a massive, steep slope into a giant crater. Passengers scream for help as the runaway bus slams hard into a tree. Inside the wreckage, pure panic erupts, with students screaming that they do not want to die. The teacher tries to process the disaster, yelling that everyone needs to evacuate immediately. But when he rushes to the exit, he realizes the door is completely jammed shut. Panic sets in as he sees the ruined bus and the knocked-out driver. Just then, Ye Baichen steps up, calmly telling him he will open it. The young man winds up and delivers a massive strike to the exit. Despite the teacher yelling it is useless, the heavy door completely gives way. Baichen tells everyone to get outside for some fresh air, and they quickly scramble out. One student gasps that she nearly died of fright. The teacher offers his thanks, but our hero shrugs it off as no big deal. He points out that the injured need medical attention. Highly impressed, the teacher promises the school will reward him, then orders the class to start treating their wounded classmates. Meanwhile, Baichin looks up at the steep slope, finding this sudden crash extremely suspicious. Suddenly, he spins around and pay attention here, because he asks what that noise is. The others look up and spot massive, creepy cocoons on the trees. A flash of an old vision hits Baichin's mind, while a classmate wonders where these came from. Another student grabs a thick branch, claiming the thing moved and he is checking it out. Before he can take a step, Baichin screams at him to freeze. The guy turns around, totally annoyed that he got startled. The blonde student calls Baichin a coward, while another classmate tries to calm things down, saying they are just cocoons. Ignoring them both, the blonde guy raises his branch to strike one. Suddenly, a sharp claw rips out and snatches the branch. Terrified, the student gasps just as a hideous creature bursts out and lunges right at him. The beast attacks, and instantly, the other cocoons start bursting open. Panicked students scream that monsters are real and begin running for their lives. The roommates wonder if this is a nightmare. How do these beasts even exist? As the monsters swarm, the teacher screams at them to run, and they bolt, begging for help. One beast charges forward with blinding speed. In a flash, Yi Baichin leaps in front of his classmates, launching a perfect, crushing blow at the monster. The two guys look back, completely stunned by his move. As Baichin stands off against the beasts, his blonde roommate wonders if this is really the same guy. Monsters drop dead around him as he lands, grumbling that he warned them not to touch anything. A student whispers that he is a kung fu master, while another calls him a cultivator. The blonde kid realizes Baichin knew all along, while his black-haired classmate quickly apologizes for laughing at him earlier. Suddenly, all the remaining cocoons begin to twitch, and Baichin knows they are in deep trouble. Monsters swarm the forest, chasing the screaming students as one gets ambushed by two beasts at once. Zhang Ziwen yells that taking them all on is impossible, screaming at him to run. But get this, Zhang Xiaoru just watches, wondering if he is just trying to show off. Right then, Yi Baichin summons his glowing sword, calmly noting that if they let these things escape, everyone in the forest is dead. Blade in hand, he cuts down a monster without hesitation. This immediately draws their aggro, so Baichin leaps onto a beast and starts mocking them to follow him. The terrified teacher screams, asking if he plans to lure them all away alone. The monsters turn, locking their eyes on him. With the plan working, he bolts. He leaps through the trees, yelling that the others are safe once he draws them away. A panicked student cries out that he is going to die. The teacher pulls out his phone, shouting they need rescue before they all get wiped out. But of course, there is absolutely zero signal out here. Yi Baichin stops and turns to face the swarm. Gripping his sword, he whispers that he can finally unleash his real power, blasting a wave of energy into them. A beast takes the hit head-on. Charging forward, he slices clean through its neck with a lethal strike. The monster's severed head rolls onto the forest floor. Looking at the bodies, he wonders what these things are. Suddenly, the severed remains begin to slide together, bubbling up as he watches on high alert. The flesh merges, reforming into a terrifying humanoid figure. The creature grins, whispering that it can taste something from 2,000 years ago. Wasting no time, Baichin slashes forward, demanding to know what it is. The demon lunges at him, hissing that its great master plan is finally within reach. Tracking its speed, he wonders what he is dealing with. The creature tells him to submit for a painless death, reaching for his throat, but Baichin blasts it back with raw energy. Baichin charges right back in, swearing to obliterate this thing. Rushing through a blinding flash of light, he strikes repeatedly. The monster snatches him, mocking his bravery as useless. It begins choking him, wrapping its dark aura around his body, while the young man desperately struggles. Suddenly, a mysterious mustachioed man appears with a strange relic. Walking up, he jokes about meeting again, placing the object on Baichin's head as the shocked teen gasps. The stranger reveals he was the one who sent them to this forest. Baichin demands to know if this was all a setup, leaving the man scratching his head. Meanwhile, the demon curses them for the pain, roaring that they are doomed. Thrashing wildly in the air, it readies another attack. The man promises to explain later, but first, they have to deal with the giant threat ahead. Raising a glowing crystal, he commands the beast to back down. The gem shoots a massive energy beam at the dark vortex. A shadow figure emerges, cursing in shock and wondering how anyone could hold such power. Baichin watches in sheer disbelief. The mysterious man warns the entity to retreat now or face total annihilation, forcing the shadowed figure to make a hasty escape. It vanishes into the sky, swearing they will meet again. The mustachioed man sighs that the threat is gone, but the young man demands to know why he saved him. The man retorts that he did not save him out of kindness, but for his own ends, leaving Baichin utterly confused. The man asks if he still does not get it. He reveals he was watching their bus, and trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild confession. This guy calmly admits he caused their crash by launching a direct power strike onto the road. With the crash bus smoking and people screaming behind them, our main character confronts him, demanding to know why he did it. If it's about revenge, he should target him alone. But the mustache guy laughs it off, saying it's all a big misunderstanding, he actually wants to be friends. Our hero is left wondering what this psycho is really plotting. He calmly says they both hold massive secrets, making them the same kind of people. Baichin admits the guy is mysterious, but shrugs and says he has absolutely zero interest in knowing him. Yet, the man warns that if they don't find the truth, they will both end up dead. He points straight to the sky, cryptically claiming that the people from above will destroy them. He honestly admits he doesn't know who they are, but he's absolutely positive they exist. He explains that 2,000 years ago, a massive ascension wave hit the cultivation world. Around 3,000 people ascended, but then a colossal cocoon suddenly fell straight from the heavens. It slammed into a temple and split wide open, unleashing horrific, blood-drinking monsters that feasted on the life essence of everyone nearby. Baichin has never heard of this, but the man says the story was buried. He wouldn't believe it either if he hadn't seen the beasts himself. When Bacon asks why he's here, the answer is brutally honest. Now pay attention here because our main character asks if that ancient, bloodthirsty disaster is actually happening again, and the man confirms that a brand new crisis is already heading their way. Baichin immediately demands to know how they could possibly survive an apocalyptic threat of that massive scale. Mustache admits he doesn't know either, but hopes they can uncover the truth together, revealing that this mystery is exactly why his secret organization was created in the first place. Still skeptical, Baichin says it's too bizarre to give an answer yet. Unbothered, the man tosses him a strange sphere, promising he'll track him down again sooner or later. With that, he vanishes in a flash of speed. Baichin tries to stop him but gets left in the dust. Meanwhile, back with the group, one classmate comments on how heroically Yi Baichin sacrificed his life to save them. Zhang Xiaoru tearfully adds that once they get back, they'll have to plan a truly massive funeral for him. The professor sighs, saying they must push forward, though he grumbles that there's still no phone service. Right then, Baichin suddenly speaks up behind them, making the shocked professor and Zhang Zuan whip around in disbelief. Overjoyed, Zhang Zuan sprints over and throws his arms around him, shouting with pure relief that he's actually alive. The professor stares, asking what kind of powerhouse can easily escape a swarm of monsters. He walks up to apologize for leaving him behind, but Baichin quickly cuts him off. Smiling calmly, Baichin announces he actually has a secure way to lead everyone back home. The professor gasps, stunned, asking if he's seriously capable of that. Baichin reaches out to help Zhang Xiaoru up the steep slope, pulling her up with one effortless, powerful tug on her wrist. The professor and a classmate quickly step in to support her shaky steps. Baichin politely apologizes if he pulled her too hard. The professor walks over, thanking him deeply and admitting they would definitely all be dead without his swift rescue. Our hero humbly replies that he was just doing his duty. But suddenly, a panicked scream echoes from the back of the group. A student in an orange hoodie is clutching a massive blood stain on his chest. The professor whips around in panic, and the kid gasps that his old wounds just ruptured open. He groans in absolute agony, holding his chest. Worried, the professor realizes there is no hospital around, meaning the poor kid could easily bleed to death right here. Okay, I know what you're thinking, can he actually heal someone? Baichin steps up to help the dying kid, confidently promising he has a way to cure him. Zhang Zuan tells him not to push himself. Sure, he's a great fighter, but healing a fatal wound is a completely different story. The professor agrees, terrified that a mistake could make Baichin an accidental killer, but our hero calmly tells everyone to relax, taking full responsibility if things go south. The bleeding kid angrily snaps at him for acting reckless, but Baichin stays cool and pulls out a single silver acupuncture needle. He tells him his hands are lightning fast, warning the boy to hold on tight before plunging the needles straight into his chest, triggering a painful scream. Zhang Xiaoru and another student wince, noting how brutal this looks. The classmate whispers that even if the kid survives, this reckless treatment might leave him completely crippled. Everyone thinks it's way too cruel. Panicking, the professor tells Baichin he can't let this madness continue and yells at him to stop what he is doing right now. But right then, the bleeding boy blinks in shock. The sharp pain is completely gone, and the dark blood stain on his shirt miraculously starts to vanish. Zhang Zuan gasps, pointing out how incredibly fast the wound is closing, while the stunned professor wonders if he actually healed him. The kid stands up perfectly fine, leaving the professor completely speechless. Baichin calmly tells him he is fully cured now and just needs to get some proper rest at home. Tearing up, the classmate thanks Baichin as his literal lifesaver. The professor admits that Baichin is a jack of all trades, acknowledging he completely misjudged his capabilities. Zhang Zuan nods in agreement, admitting she had him all wrong too. With the boy fully recovered, Baichin suggests it is finally time to head back to town. The embarrassed professor quickly agrees. 3 hours later, under a bright sunny sky, Baichin is strolling through the city when his phone rings with a mysterious call. The caller asks to meet up, so Baichin sits waiting patiently on a bench until a powerful presence suddenly materializes right beside him. Startled, Baichin looks over and greets his master, Dr. Zhu, who reveals he found the key to the Tower of 100 Treasures. He explains there's an even bigger mission and asks his disciple for help, projecting a holographic image of a strange object directly into Baichin's hand to investigate. Dr. Zhu stresses they must uncover where this item originated, but Baichin replies that he actually knows it recently appeared in a neighboring city. He explains that a bizarre object fell from the sky onto the streets hours ago, and a brutal monster emerged from it, easily overpowering the local police when they tried to stop it. During the chaos, the beast lunged at an officer. Baichin asks if they have found the origin of this beast yet, but Dr. Zhu admits they still know nothing. Our hero decides to head there to investigate, but his master warns him that the city is hundreds of kilometers away. He asks if Baichin expects to walk all that way, but as our hero watches the passing cars, you and I can tell he's ready for a wild ride. All right, you and I are about to watch a legendary powerhouse decide he needs a new ride. Strolling into a luxury car dealership, Yi Baichin is blown away by the endless rows of shiny, expensive rides. He spots a sleek black model and admires its design, but before he can even blink, a rude saleswoman screams at him to back off. Confused, he asks if he is not even allowed to touch the car he is literally buying. This lady just looks him up and down with pure disgust. She physically shoves him back and snaps that he should beat it because there is no way he can afford this. Our main character just smiles, asking if she really judges people solely on their looks. Without skipping a beat, she sneers that a broke student like him has no business drooling over a limited edition beast. She mockingly asks if he thinks he is some kind of big shot. The car is already reserved for a wealthy VIP named Brother Lee, so she tells him to scram before he ruins her commission. Right then, a loud voice cuts in. A wealthy bald guy struts over, demanding to know who is trying to buy his reserved car. Instantly, the saleswoman lights up, welcoming her rich client. She tells him not to worry about the annoying kid because this ride is all his. Pop. She throws the car door wide open and eagerly invites the bald guy for a test drive. But our main character is not having it. He steps in, firmly declaring that he is buying this car today and nobody else is allowed to lay a finger on it. Furious, she threatens to call security immediately. The bald guy just chuckles, throwing an arm around our hero and saying this sweet ride costs $3 million, way out of his league. He orders the kid to leave, and the saleswoman keeps yelling at him to get lost. But suddenly, a beautiful female voice rings out, demanding to know who is causing all this chaos in her shop. Now pay attention, because this is where the table completely turns. The saleswoman runs to a girl named Miss Jiang, whining that some broke student is trying to buy their top sports car. She claims she was just trying to kick him out before he ruined their business. Miss Jiang frowns and asks who she is talking about, and the lady points directly at Yi Baichin. Jiang Xiaohua immediately recognizes him and happily greets her classmate. He smiles and asks what she is doing here, and she reveals that her family actually owns this entire dealership. The rude saleswoman is absolutely stunned to find out they are classmates. Right then, she realizes she has completely messed up. Yi Baichin chuckles, saying things just got a whole lot easier. He pulls out his card, totally ready to buy the vehicle on the spot, but she tells him to put his money away, offering to just gift him the car. Still, our hero insists on paying, wanting to teach a lesson to people who judge books by their covers. Seeing his determination, she agrees to let him buy it. She calls over a different employee right away, ordering her to quickly finalize the paperwork for his purchase. A polite white-haired employee guides him to complete the paperwork. Watching them walk off, the first saleswoman is practically crying, deeply regretting the massive fortune she just threw away. She quietly whines that another coworker stole her commission. Overhearing this, Jiang Xiaohua turns around and coldly fires her on the spot, leaving her totally devastated. The woman collapses to the ground in shock. The ignored bald guy is left standing there, wondering what he should do now. Outside, our hero's brand new ride is parked and waiting. The polite staff member lets him know that all the official documents are resting inside the vehicle. He smiles, thanking her as she politely wishes him a safe drive. Let's pause for a second because his response here is hilarious. Jiang Xiaohua asks if he even knows how to drive, and he confidently says he read all about it in the library. Even though he has never touched a steering wheel, he thinks it looks easy enough. Curious, she asks where they are heading, and he reveals they are traveling to H City for an urgent matter. He needs to check out a strange event personally, but when she asks if he actually knows the way, he blankly admits he does not, leaving her completely speechless. She sighs and offers to guide him. Within seconds, the sports car roars to life and speeds off, swerving wildly through traffic as he tears up the avenue. Xiaohua begs him to slow down, screaming in terror as they head straight for the car ahead. He slams on the brakes, calmly explaining he was just testing out the performance. He hits the gas pedal, and off they go. After a long drive under the bright sun, they finally arrive at H City. But at the entrance, suited men have set up a heavy barricade. Spotting their fast-approaching sports car, one guard steps out and commands them to stop immediately. Our duo gets out of the car, demanding to know what is going on. The guard explains there is a major accident ahead, blocking the road. He strictly orders them to turn around. But suddenly, the barricade explodes. Two guards are launched through the air as massive, terrifying monsters leap out of nowhere to attack. Recognizing these beasts, Yi Baichen instantly tenses up. Xiaohua gasps, asking if those are real monsters, while a panicked guard screams for everyone to run before they all get slaughtered. The beasts ruthlessly tear into the downed guards. Then, with lightning speed, one of the monsters turns its focus and leaps directly toward the screaming survivor. He freezes, knowing there is no escape. But out of nowhere, two fighters dive from a bridge with a powerful shockwave, landing directly between the beasts with weapons drawn. Sensing danger, one of the fighters shoots a projectile, but it gets deflected. Frustrated, he curses aloud and prepares to unleash his full power against the charging threat. He rushes in, swinging his dual blades in a flash. But suddenly, Yi Baichen casually steps forward, telling the suited fighters to get back. The fighter yells, asking if he has a death wish, since even high-level cultivators can barely handle these terrifying beasts. Meanwhile, the other cultivator is already running for his life, screaming for help. Baichen ignores the warning, and before the guard can blink, our hero disappears from sight. The beasts pounce on the fleeing cultivator, who's crying and begging not to die. But in a flash, Yi Baichen blitzes forward, drawing his legendary sword at absolutely insane speed. With a perfectly timed strike, he blocks the monster's deadly claws. The stunned fighter watches, wondering if this kid just rushed to his death. Baichen swings his sword, telling the other beast to back off. Boom. A single, devastating slash slices the air, and the fighter is left speechless as the monster falls. The trembling cultivator wonders what kind of god just saved him. But as the dust clears, the monsters rise again. Sword raised, Baichen asks if they are ready to yield. He tells them to go to hell, unleashing a massive ground-shattering wave that hits both beasts. The fighter mutters in awe, realizing he severely underestimated this kid. Sheathing his blade, Yi Baichen approaches, demanding to know who they are and why they are hunting these beasts. The leader quickly apologizes for his rude behavior, but Baichen ignores the apology, demanding a direct answer immediately. He explains they are a secret task force investigating urban anomalies. Trust me, you and I are about to see this mystery go deeper than anyone expected. Alright, you and I are about to see if our main character can handle these beasts. When Jiang Xiaohua asks if monsters are the target, Yi Baichen agrees, earning himself an invite to join the investigation team. Yi Baichen instantly rejects them since he works alone. But the recruiter persists, pointing out that their official task force has massive resources that could make his life much easier. Now that gets our hero's attention. The recruiter celebrates, welcoming him aboard with a quick handshake. With the deal sealed, he leads Yi Baichen to meet their vice captain in a nearby building. Inside a lavish office, an older, gray-haired man sits behind a desk as the suited recruiter enters to greet Vice Captain Zhao. Zhao demands to know why he's back. The recruiter happily reports the monsters are dealt with and he brought a new recruit, pointing right at our two young students. The recruiter proudly confirms it, but Zhao immediately snaps at him for bringing mere students into his office. Desperate, the recruiter tries to explain that these kids are built different. Before he can finish, the arrogant vice captain cuts him off, demanding they get thrown out because he has no time for kids. Yi Baichen dryly remarks they should probably leave since they are clearly not welcome. But suddenly, a frantic bald man runs over, begging them to stay and promising to explain everything. He glares at the vice captain, muttering about wasting time on kids. Right then, another guard rushes in with urgent news they have found a brand new clue about the beast. Now, watch closely here. The guard reports a bizarre bronze gate discovered to the southwest, suspecting that the monster actually crawled right out of it. The vice captain sharply asks if he is absolutely certain, and the soldier nods with total confidence. Zhao orders the team to gear up immediately for an investigation. The soldier salutes, but hearing about this mysterious bronze gate instantly sparks Yi Baichen's interest. Curious, our hero decides to tag along. Soon, the entire group rolls out with the young duo tailing them closely as two black cars speed down the highway with Zhao in the lead. The driver spots the two students in his rearview mirror. A guard in the back offers to pull them over, but the vice captain shrugs it off. He claims if these kids want to die, it is not his problem. Meanwhile, Ye Baichen realizes they are falling behind, tells Miss Jiang to hold on, and hits the gas. Suddenly, a massive beast leaps right over the lead car, smashing onto the hood and lifting the entire vehicle off the ground with raw force. The trailing cars slam on their brakes to avoid a crash. Seeing the monster return, the vice captain watches as three of his top men jump out, ready for a fight. One soldier charges a glowing energy blast in his palm, shouting that the hunt is on before firing it directly at the creature. The arrogant squad struts forward, assuming the small beast is cooked. The vice captain smiles, praising his men for a job well done. But you and I both knew it wouldn't be that easy. The monster shrugs off the blast completely unharmed, counterattacking and slamming all three guards hard into the dirt. Stunned, the vice captain steps out of his car, demanding answers. One of his battered men struggles up, groaning that the beast's defense is just too insane. As the creature advances, the terrified driver screams a warning. Swallowing their fear, the three guards regroup to charge up one last desperate blast. They fire their spells together, screaming at the beast to freeze. But the monster just barrels straight through their magic, batting them away like flies. The beast halts right in front of the car, kicking up dust. Completely paralyzed with fear, the guards can only stare in horror. The bald man whimpers that it is game over. Zhao panics, wondering what options they have left, while his soldier flatly states they are dead meat. Wait, the bald man suddenly remembers they have a secret weapon. He sprints toward Yi Baichen, desperately begging our main character to save their lives. He screams that Yi Baichen is their only hope. Zhao looks at him like he's lost his mind, asking a terrified student for help. Right then, the beast pounces straight at the vice captain. Zhao closes his eyes, bracing for impact, but Yi Baichen shoves him out of harm's way. Our hero steps right between the beast and the old man. Shocked, Zhao stammers, asking why he didn't run and if he even fears death. With zero hesitation, Yi Baichen catches the monster's claws bare-handed, spins, and hurls the beast away. The bald man is totally hyped by this insane display of strength. Zhao finally realizes this kid isn't just some random cultivator, he's a beast. Yi Baichen calmly points out they need to investigate this area way more carefully. He turns to ask Zhao for the exact coordinates of the bronze gate and altar. Under the glowing sunset, the humbled vice captain sincerely apologizes. Yi Baichen just shrugs, telling him not to sweat it, he doesn't hold grudges. Relieved, the vice captain lets out a quiet sigh. Spotting a massive gate ahead, Yi Baichen asks if this is the spot. Zhao nods, and with one single kick, our hero shatters the double doors open. The guards stand frozen, stunned by the sheer power of that single kick. Yi Baichen immediately tells Miss Jiang to stick close to him. The bald man cowers, wondering if more beasts are waiting inside. Annoyed, Zhao shoves him aside and steps into the chamber, spotting a massive stone altar right there. The ancient stone structure rises in the center of the empty hall. Without missing a beat, Yi Baichen dashes forward and leaps onto the altar. He mutters that this place looks exactly like the Longshan group altar, pulling out a strange object to see if it reacts. Suddenly, the relic flashes and Yi Baichen completely vanishes. The group gasps in shock, and the vice captain screams, demanding to know where he went. In an instant, Yi Baichen materializes in a completely different room. Looking around, he realizes all of these altars must be portals to this exact spot. Just then, a small glowing stone clatters to his feet. He recognizes it instantly as the weapon he used earlier. Gripping it tightly, he smiles, knowing it's highly valuable. Deciding to pocket the treasure, he summons his sword. But the second he warps back into the altar room, frantic screams for help echo from outside. Our hero rushes toward the exit to see what is going on. Outside, a whole pack of monsters has suddenly surrounded the squad. One beast lunges straight at the vice captain. He draws his blade, shouting at it to back off, but the creature bites his arm. Refusing to run, Jiang Xiaohua throws a rock, ready to fight. The beast turns on her, but before it can strike. Trust me, our hero shows up just in time to slice it in half. Alright, you and I are jumping straight into this story as Jiang Xiaohua sighs in relief because Ye Baichen is finally back to protect her. Nearby, the surrounded vice captain screams for backup, but Bacon doesn't hesitate. With one clean slash, he tears through a whole pack of beasts. The onlookers can only stare in sheer terror, muttering that this kid is way more terrifying than any of those monsters. Just then, a dark, shadowy figure manifests, mocking Baichin about their reunion. It brags that the boy got lucky last time, but Baichin instantly fires back, reminding the creature that it was actually the one who ran away. The shadowy entity mocks him, bragging that without his master around, Baichin is done for, before instantly choking him with a creepy hand. Xiaohua panics and yells a warning, but Baichin is completely unfazed. He coolly tells her this trash can't hurt him, then blasts an absolute wave of energy that shatters the attack, sending one of the nearby men flying back. The shadow commands him to yield, claiming Baichin stands absolutely zero chance. But our hero doesn't back down for a second, telling the monster that it's the one who needs to surrender right now. Now watch closely as they charge. Their powers collide, and Baichin's blade slices right through the monster's shadowy tentacles. Pushing forward, he deflects every single counter. The shocked monster gasps, wondering where all this insane power is coming from. Baichin just mocks its fear before driving his blade straight through the creature's chest. Collapsing to the ground, the wounded beast still can't comprehend what just hit it. As Baichin slowly walks up, he coldly asks where all that big, arrogant talk went. He demands answers, wanting to know what it is and its origin. The creature whimpers that it has no idea, having been sealed in this spot since the very beginning. When asked why it attacks humans, it admits a mysterious voice is controlling its mind. Seeing that it knows nothing else, Baichin decides it's time to end things. With one final, decisive swing, he obliterates the beast. The shocked vice captain and his partner watch in silence, realizing this young cultivator is far more monstrous than the actual monster. Baichin notes the immediate threat is dealt with, but he still needs to track down some missing folks. He turns to leave, mentioning that Peach Blossom is searching for them too. Xiaohua rushes over, asking where he's heading. He gently tells her to go home and rest, while she begs him to stay safe. Moments later, he stands at a dark cave entrance, certain the old man is inside. Stepping deeper, he halts in front of a bubbling pool of red liquid, demanding the hidden figures show themselves. A mysterious, long-haired man rises, smiling as he welcomes Baichin. He asks if Baichin has thought about teaming up, but the young cultivator declines, stating he has another destination in mind. Intrigued, the long-haired man asks where exactly he wants to go. Baichin reveals his target is the legendary Wanbao Pavilion. Without missing a beat, the man agrees and offers to teleport them instantly. In a flash, both figures vanish into thin air. Baichin materializes beside a mustachioed man, confirming they've reached the treasure vault. The older man admits he visited before, but the heavy magic seals prevented him from taking a single item. Baichin explains that only descendants of the Qingyun clan can access these treasures. He then triggers an artifact, releasing glowing magical orbs that scatter wildly across the entire chamber. Suddenly, a glowing portal rips open beneath their feet, sucking them right into the legendary vault. They find themselves floating weightlessly amidst an endless sea of sealed divine treasures. Checking his surroundings, the boy asks if this is indeed the real deal, and his companion nods. Baichin steps closer, completely stunned by the sheer number of high-grade relics floating around. But as he reaches for a flask, a massive shockwave of energy zaps him, causing every nearby relic to resonate. The older man gasps, realizing Baichin is breaking the seals. The youth calmly notes these treasures belong to him anyway. Suddenly, a mysterious bamboo scroll on a high shelf catches his eye. He steps closer to examine it, wondering what it could be. The mustache guy warns him that this particular scroll is heavily locked and nobody has ever read its secrets. Without hesitating for a second, Baichin reaches out and instantly breaks the seal. An ethereal spirit begins to emerge from the scroll, and Baichin instantly recognizes his master. The ghost tells him to listen carefully, warning that the world is in grave danger because a dark force is plotting in the shadows. As the warning ends, the spirit starts to dissolve, telling him to remember every single word. Baichin desperately reaches out, calling for his master one last time. At that moment, the companion grabs his shoulder, demanding to know his true identity. The young cultivator simply looks back, stating his name is Yi Baichin of the Qingyan clan. The mustache man admits he always suspected a dark hand was manipulating things behind the scenes, and now he's sure. He asks about the next move, and Baichin vows to hunt down the culprits. All right, I know what you're thinking, they need a plan. So they teleport back, and as night falls, Baichin walks down a dark alley, desperately needing some rest. Suddenly, an eerie voice echoes out, claiming they've finally found him. Turning around, Baichin demands to know who it is. Out steps the leader of the Banshan group, looking for Lin He. Baichin calmly responds that he doesn't know anyone by that name. Smirking, the rival leader promises him a very special welcoming gift before launching a sudden, lethal strike. With a flick of his wrist, Baichan launches him straight into the sky. The other two lackeys charge from behind, yelling a warning, only to realize they just struck a hollow afterimage. The real Baichan manifests right behind them, warning that he isn't in the mood to kill today. With one quick, effortless swipe, he tosses both of them aside like ragdolls. Groaning on the floor, the leader admits Baichan's strength is no joke. Dusting himself off, he formally introduces himself as Lin He, the vice president of the prestigious Cultivator Association. Grinning, he laughs off the ambush as a harmless prank to talk business. Baichan bluntly asks what he wants, and Lin, he reveals that the association needs his help dealing with some weird incidents popping up at the new academy. Baichan demands to know what's really going on over there. Lin, he explains they're investigating monsters and a hidden force, but Baichan still wonders how the school is connected to all this. Lin, he explains that a critical player has emerged on campus. Since this target is exceptionally strong, they need Baichan to act as bait and lure him straight into a trap. Weighing the options, the young cultivator finally makes his move. Baichan agrees to cooperate, and the two shake hands to seal their temporary alliance. But first, Baichan demands some sleep, and Lin, he agrees to meet him tomorrow. The next morning, bright sunlight bathes the massive academy courtyard as a suspicious group of students gathers in a quiet corner. A poor student is cornered by bullies demanding cash, desperately pleading that his family has nothing left. The leader snarls at the backtalk and brutally punches the kid right in the gut. Collapsing in pain, the boy begs to be left alone, crying that he genuinely has no cash left. The bully coldly mocks him, stomping on his back while his cruel friends laugh and cheer. Watching from the shadows, Lin, he points out the bully as their target. Baichan is skeptical, asking if he's really just a school kid. Lin, he nods, warning him not to underestimate this brat since he's recently awakened insane powers. He reveals he sent a few elite fighters to test the kid's strength just days ago. But the bully instantly reacted to the surprise ambush and easily wiped out every single attacker. Fascinated, Baichan asks how a regular kid could suddenly unlock such power. Lin, he explains, they suspect a sinister, hidden organization is pulling the strings. But the bully spots them, accusing the duo of spying. He walks over with his crew, demanding to know if they're here to pay up too. And that's where we leave it, trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are starting with a crazy street fight. This thug pulls a knife demanding cash, but Yi Baichan grabs his wrist. The bully barks at him to back off, but Yi Baichan just squeezes his wrist tighter. A loud snap echoes, and the thug screams in sheer agony as his bones shatter. Livid, the thug slashes with his knife. But Lin, he shoves our hero aside just in time. Landing hard on the dirt, Lin he yells, demanding to know why he is hesitating. Yi Baichan calmly says it is not time to strike, since this freak might be too strong. Meanwhile, the monster rants that nobody can ever lay a finger on him. His panicked lackeys rush over to check on his healing arm, but he snaps at them to shut up. Grabbing both their heads, he drains their life force directly through his bare palms. Lin he watches in horror, realizing the guy has completely lost his mind, while the monster mutters insanely about his broken bones. Suddenly, the freak splits into 4 clones, surrounding our duo and promising 100 times the pain. But with one swift motion, Yi Baichan strikes 3 clones simultaneously. The main body coughs up blood from the heavy blow. Lin, he quickly restrains his partner, begging him to stay calm, while Yi Baichan demands some answers. Lin, he reminds him they are still on school grounds, so they must lure this beast outside first. Yi Baichan nods, agreeing to the plan. The madman rises from the pavement, screaming that this only ends in death. As he charges forward like a wild animal, Lin, he screams for them to run, and they leap away. The monster gives chase immediately. Darting across high rooftops, Yi Baichan asks where they are going, and Lin He yells back that they are heading straight for the trap. The raging beast follows close behind, shouting that escape is impossible. Moments later, the duo lands on a dark, empty street, and Lin, he calls out that they have arrived. Yi Baichan looks around for the trap. Watch closely here, because Lin, he just smiles, saying he will find out soon as their enemy crashes down right in front of them. Boom! Massive chains erupt from the pavement, binding the freak instantly. Smiling, Lin, he celebrates the trap's success, thanking his allies and calling them to show themselves. 4 hidden fighters rise from the earth, surprising Yi Baichan. One of them approaches Lin He, asking for the green light to take down the prisoner. The fighter immediately steps up and places his hand on the monster's face, but he suddenly gasps, sensing something terrifying, and is violently blown backward by a massive wave of energy. Our heroes watch in absolute shock, trying to process what went wrong. Suddenly, the beast shatters his metal chains like paper. Realizing the target has gone completely berserk, the men brace themselves and charge. The monster just laughs, shouting that they are all about to become his next meal. He literally drains the power of the fallen fighters. Fully charged, he lunges forward, screaming for more, while the survivor warns his friend to avoid a direct hit. Desperate to halt his charge, a warrior swings, but the beast dodges effortlessly. Summoning two glowing swords, he mocks them for being far too weak. He slices through one fighter, laughing that they stand no chance, before striking down the second. Lin. He watches, realizing they completely underestimated this guy's power. The monster leaps at our duo, screaming for them to die. They dodge backward just in time, while the wounded squad groans that they cannot win this. The beast glares at them, saying they have been tracking him. Yi Bacon draws his blade, telling him to surrender since he already knows the truth. I know what you're thinking, but our hero is confident he can win. Lin He remains highly skeptical, reminding him that the entire squad was wiped out. Without a word, Yi Bacon lunges forward with a powerful slash. The villain blocks with crossed blades, shouting to back off, while Lin He watches the insane display of power. Mocking him, the monster challenges him to survive his next strike. Their blades clash in a blinding flurry of sparks. Leaping back, Yi Bacon knows he must end this. Remembering the special treasures he took from the pavilion, he decides it is time to use them. He flings a mysterious artifact directly at his enemy. The monster tries to slash it, but the artifact instantly wraps around his body, trapping him. With the beast helpless, Yi Bacon calmly declares that it is over. Lin He watches in shock as the raging monster is slammed hard onto the concrete. As Yi Bacon walks over, Lin He wonders who this guy really is. The injured soldiers can't believe he defeated a beast they couldn't even touch. Yi Bacon leaves the target with Lin He, who promises a full interrogation. Lin He orders his squad to secure the prisoner. Exhausted from using too much energy, our hero yawns, says goodbye, and asks to be updated on any news. The squad bows deeply in respect. Finally, back home, Yi Bacon hopes for a peaceful sleep, but Jiang Xiaohua suddenly runs up to him, calling his name. Confused, he asks what is wrong. She panics, explaining her father is terribly sick and needs his help. Yi Bacon agrees instantly, and they rush off. An hour later, they reach a massive mansion. Entering the bedroom, she reassures her bedridden father that he will be perfectly fine now that Yi Bacon has arrived. Checking his pulse, Yi Bacon notes the man is incredibly weak, but out of real danger. He pulls out a special pill, promising it will fix him. She gratefully feeds the medicine to her father, praising our hero's skill. The moment he swallows it, his eyes widen as the painful pressure instantly vanishes. Yi Bacon tries to leave for some much-needed sleep, but she suddenly holds him back. She suggests he rest in her empty room tonight, leaving him completely stunned by her sudden offer. Inside her bedroom, she whispers that she has always wanted to repay his kindness. Yi Bacon stammers back that this really is not a good idea. Ignoring him, she pushes him onto the bed, declaring he is the first to make her feel like this. She leans in, claiming him for the night as he hesitates. She kisses him softly, telling him not to be shy because she truly loves him. As the night passes, she whispers in bed that he is her very first. The next morning, a sleek black car idles by a brick building as girls admire it. Walking past them, Yi Bacon tiredly tells his companion that last night was completely exhausting. Blushing, she scolds him to stop speaking nonsense. But their walk is cut short when suited guards block the path, declaring the zone restricted. Yi Bacon halts, wondering what is happening, when a shaved-headed young man approaches and remarks that he has finally made it. Recognizing Lin He, our hero asks about the lockdown. You and I are about to learn the crazy secrets they dragged out of that captured thug last night. All right, let's dive into a story where 10 days ago, this same young man was cornered by thugs demanding cash. He claimed he was broke, but one bully grabbed his neck, demanding the truth. All right, you and I are jumping right into a crazy story where this poor guy is getting thrashed by thugs wielding heavy sticks. They take off, warning him to bring cash next time. Left bruised and alone, the beaten youth groans about how life is just completely unfair. But then talk about bad luck, he slips on a manhole cover and plummets straight down. Lin. He explains that this bizarre fall actually awakened wild powers in him, sparking theories that something sinister is lurking under the school. Hearing this, Yi Bacon wonders if that forbidden zone is indeed the manhole, and Lin He nods. He adds that the association sent 2 cultivator squads down to investigate. Finding the situation pretty amusing, Yi Bacon is immediately intrigued, prompting Lin He to ask if he wants to join the dive. Without missing a beat, Yi Bacon agrees and tells Jiang Xiaohua to wait up. She warns him to stay safe, and just like that, he turns to Lin He and says they are ready. Meanwhile, over at the manhole, the gathered squad learns this is a high risk, a level hunt. Lin He arrives with Yi Beichen, greeting the crew and apologizing for holding them up. A blonde guy immediately questions who the new face is, so Lin He introduces Yi Beichen as a curious companion. When a red-haired cultivator asks if he is actually solo, our main character casually confirms he is going down completely alone. They both warn him that an A-level zone is suicide even for 2 full squads, urging him to back off. But Yi Beichen just dives headfirst into the abyss, claiming he is more than enough solo. The shock on their faces is priceless. They think he has a death wish, but Lin, he tells them to move. Landing below, Yi Beichen notes that this cavern feels like an entirely separate world. Once the others catch up, they bark at him to fall back and let the pros lead. Suddenly, Lin he spots movement up ahead and screams a warning. One guy panics, wondering if a swarm is coming, while another realizes their squad's size is dangerously small for this. Terrified, they scream for him to pull back, but watch what happens next. It is absolutely insane. In a flash, blinding, razor-sharp slashes rip through the darkness before anyone can even react. The entire place begins to shake, making the team fear a massive earthquake. But when they look ahead, the squad leaders can only stand frozen, utterly dumbfounded by what is unfolding right before their eyes. Moments later, Yi Beichen casually walks out, complaining that those beasts were way too weak and yielded 0 clues. The 2 elite fighters stare in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend how he slaughtered a massive horde solo. Around them lies a mountain of dead beasts, prompting the remaining warriors to draw their weapons in suspicion. The blonde warrior admits he is seriously impressed, while the red-haired guy confesses they completely underestimated him. Sword in hand, our hero just walks on, leaving the corpses behind. But just as he moves, a strange vibe fills the air. Hearing an odd sound, he spins around to investigate. A massive shadow creature rises, groaning about more pesky humans. Lin, he panics, realizing the beasts are still breathing, while Yi Beichen readies his blade, sensing a highly familiar presence. Roaring that he killed its hosts, the beast lunges to strike. Unfazed, Yi Beichen raises his sword to finally settle this grudge. But suddenly, a pitch-black energy wraps around him. Lin, he screams out in terror as the dark vortex swallows their solo ally. Panicking, he turns to the squad leader, yelling that this is way beyond a standard A-level mission. The blonde cultivator admits the situation has gotten insanely out of hand. Enveloped by the dark aura, Yi Beichen is pulled under until the blackness fades, leaving him in a massive, empty void. Scanning the darkness, he wonders where he ended up. Suddenly, a bright beam of light pierces the void, catching him completely off guard. A figure in traditional robes materializes, utterly confused by the surroundings. Just then, terrifying shadow creatures and humanoid monsters creep out from the dark, heading straight for him. Yi Beichen quickly realizes this must be the beast's spiritual domain. As the horde charges, he unleashes a massive, circular slash with his sword. The blow annihilates the swarm instantly. Now, let's pause for a second. Our hero is standing alone, finally realizing he was dragged straight into the monster's inner mindscape. He mutters to himself that he almost bit the dust in that void. Snapping back, he sees the shadow demon overpowering the squad, sending one fighter flying. The red-haired leader charges the beast, landing a heavy sword strike. But the monster barely flinches, mocking him for having more courage than actual brain cells. It absorbs his power effortlessly with a single hand, before blasting that exact energy right back, hitting the young warrior dead in the chest. Realizing they are completely outmatched, the remaining crew falls back. Labeling them pathetic ants, the demon charges, roaring that they are all going to die. But right then, Yi Beichen flashes in front of them to block the hit. With absolute precision, his sword deflects a hail of deadly projectiles. A relieved Lin, he gasps his name. Shocked, the demon demands to know how he shattered its mind core, completely unable to accept his survival. Yi Beichen admits he has no clue what kind of abomination he is fighting. Regardless, he declares this is the end, lunging forward with a devastating, direct sword strike. Bleeding, the demon tells him he is too cocky, charging back like a madman. Yi Beichen just responds with another perfectly calculated slash. Stepping forward, he actually apologizes to the beast. As it curses him, he raises his blade for the kill, but suddenly recognizes the creature's true form. Utterly confused, the monster recoils, but in one clean sweep, Yi Beichen slices it into a million pieces. Watching the ashes dissolve, he regrets not keeping a sample during their last encounter. This time, he snatches a glowing remnant, vowing not to let this clue slip away. Yi Beichen tosses the glowing piece into the air, sealing it instantly inside his mystical gourd. Job done, plain and simple. Lin, he admits they would be toast without his help. Yi Beichen just tells him to seal up this sewer entry, and the captain nods. Saying his goodbyes, Yi Beichen leaves the cleanup to them and leaps right back to the surface. Up top, Jiang Xiaohua is pacing with worry, but our hero suddenly pops out of the manhole. She rushes over, thrilled he is safe, while he casually explains that things got hairy down there, but he handled it. He takes her hand, offering to walk her back. But as they stroll, a glowing paper talisman flies over, carrying urgent news from Dong Hai. Catching it, he wonders why the old man is suddenly reaching out. Sensing trouble, Jiang Xiaohua asks if it is bad news. He nods, telling her he must leave tonight before launching into the sky. At a quiet theme park, Yi Beichen perches on a carousel horse, demanding his contact show up. A cloaked figure materializes, prompting our guide to praise his speed. The contact asks why he is always rushing around. Flashing his gourd, Yi Beichen says he just caught a prime spirit, then asks for the scoop. The contact explains he is tracking a target who leaves a trail of pure chaos. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see who this masked fugitive really is. This makes him suspect a mysterious force is pulling the strings. Yi Beichen asks why they met here, and his ally reveals the target is actually hiding right inside the park. Shocked, Yi Beichen wonders if things are really that bad. The man explains he brought him here so they could team up and drag this fugitive down. With a solid lead in hand, Yi Beichen knows it's go time. Vowing not to let the target slip away, he releases a massive wave of energy that sweeps across the entire area. The pulse slams right into the fugitive's hiding spot, making him freeze. Smirking, Yi Beichen declares he has already found him. Immediately, the duo charges toward the target. Trapped inside a strange cocoon, the panicked fugitive struggles to break free, screaming in terror as the masked man senses the approaching threat and turns around. Yi Beichen and his mustache ally close and fast. His partner praises him for actually finding the guy, while the fugitive mockingly asks if they're tired of chasing him already. The mustache man asks if he even realizes who he's messing with. The masked villain just scoffs, saying life is dull, and he's only playing around with them. Pointing his finger, Yi Beichen demands to know who this freak is and why he summons beasts. The villain claims his identity is way beyond their understanding, summoning multiple clones to end this chase once and for all. The ally raises a powerful defensive barrier, blocking every strike. Turning defense into a counterattack, he calls them insolent and launches energy projectiles that wipe out all the clones at once. Yi Beichen barely blocks the main blow with his blade, but the sheer force drags him backward. The masked villain calls him naive as Yi Beichen loses his footing and crashes to the dirt. Down but not out, Yi Beichen raises his hand, refusing to lose today. Suddenly, a massive stone hand erupts from the earth, smashing right into the masked villain and injuring his arm. Despite his bleeding arm, the masked villain grins, finding this twist amusing. Right on cue, the mustached ally summons yet another massive hand, bragging about the sheer power of his technique. He launches the crushing attack at the villain, yelling for him to die. The enemy is completely flattened under the heavy blow. Now watch closely. Yi Beichen stares at the pool of blood, wondering if it's over, as cracks web across the floor. Suddenly, his ally screams at him to watch out. Sharp stone spikes burst from the ground, forcing Yi Beichen to leap back. The masked freak rises from the earth again, forcing both heroes to scatter and dodge the deadly eruption. Hovering in the air, the villain mutters that they would make excellent sacrifices, but he's running short on time. His partner warns Yi Beichen that this guy has too many secrets to let slip away. The villain sneers, telling them to enjoy their pathetic little lives while they can. Yi Beichen raises his sword, charging forward to clash head-on with the enemy's dark energy. Simultaneously, the mustached ally unleashes his own skill. The colliding powers spark a massive, earth-shaking explosion that consumes the entire area. As the smoke clears, the villain is gone. The mustache partner sighs, worried they just exposed their hands, which could easily be used against them later. But Yi Beichen just smiles, having already planned for this. Meanwhile, from a safe distance, the smug villain mutters for the kid to stay down, revealing he secretly slapped a talisman onto his back. Plot twist. The talisman is actually stuck to the villain's own back. His ally laughs, praising his cleverness, but Yi Beichen just calls it basic survival skills. His ally urges him to give chase before the guy escapes, but Yi Beichen plays it cool. He says there's no rush once the target is exhausted. They can easily take him down together. With that, the mustache partner says goodbye, heading off to prepare while asking to be kept in the loop. Watching him leave, Yi Beichen mutters, "What a cunning old fox." Later, Yi Beichen heads home, assuming Jiang Xiaohua has already left. But surprise, surprise, she pops up, complaining that she's been waiting for him forever. She drags him inside, whining about starving and demanding he cook. But once inside, he sees a table overflowing with food and asks why she made such a massive feast. Smiling, she pours him some wine and insists it's her treat. Without thinking twice, he downs the whole glass, praising how incredibly delicious the drink is. I know what you're thinking, she totally poisoned him, right? Instantly, he loses all strength and collapses. She walks over, giggling about how he really can't handle his liquor as she helps him up. The next morning, Yi Baikin wakes up in bed, totally shocked to find Jiang Xiaohua sleeping right on top of him. Sitting up, he asks what on earth she's doing in his bed. She sits up, asking what the big deal is, and slides closer. Planted a soft kiss on his cheek, she tells him there's no need to be shy since they've already lived like husband and wife anyway. She hops out of bed, offering to go make breakfast. But before she can leave, he stops her, suggesting they just head out and grab a bite together instead. Nearing the door, she asks why he's staring, and he calmly tells her she'll understand everything soon enough. She just laughs, noting he's always such a busy guy. Left alone, Yi Baichin sits down to meditate, trying to piece together his blurry memories of the previous day. Stretching his hand out, he forces a memory vision to open. In a secluded spot, the masked villain feeds a pack of wild beasts, promising them a grand feast inside a massive complex of ancient buildings. Snapping back to reality, Yi Baichin wonders if the villain is actually a state official. Holding up his talisman, he confirms the target's secret location has been exposed. Staring out the window, he realizes he hasn't even called his partner yet. Suddenly, the tracking talisman flies off toward the massive building complex. Waiting on the rooftop, the mustached partner shocks Yi Baikin by revealing the target is indeed right below them. To lock down any escape routes, the partner throws 4 formation flags down into the courtyard. The flags sink deep into the dirt, locking down the perimeter. His partner notes that Qingyang Gate hides endless treasures. Declaring the barrier active, the partner leaps off the roof, with Yi Baikin right behind him. Inside, the masked villain stops feeding his beasts as he senses a sudden disturbance. Spinning toward the entrance, he senses their energy. Instantly, Yi Baikin and his partner smash through the doors. The villain sneers, recognizing his unwanted guests. He mocks them for coming directly to his doorstep since yesterday's battle was cut short. Summoning the phantom of a massive, roaring tiger, he warns that he won't be holding anything back this time. His ally notes the enemy has gotten even stronger, but Yi Baichin confidently declares he can still take him. Dashing forward like lightning, the young hero cleanly slices the tiger beast in half. Instantly, the mustached partner fires off a lethal energy blast, screaming for the villain to drop dead. Suddenly, the masked villain teleports right behind him, questioning his identity. A massive geyser of energy erupts as he screams for them both to perish. Hovering in the sky, he summons an epic, giant sword, declaring mercy is officially over. And that's where we leave things today. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. But pay attention here, he hurls his giant sword down, telling them not to blame him for playing dirty, while the mustache guy raises his hands and screams in terror. The sword slams into the dirt, causing a massive explosion. Knowing he cannot hesitate, Yi Baichin bites his own finger, raises a paper talisman, and commands the spell to activate. Raging lightning bolts rain from the heavens, striking the entire building complex. The masked man looks up in disbelief, wondering if this is just a normal storm. Multiple lightning bolts crash all around him. He looks up and screams that this is bad. Trust me, you and I both know he is in serious trouble.